Week 4, we are back Sunday morning. We are in London time this morning, everyone. We are in London time this morning. We got a game kicking off in literally just 45 minutes, and there is some big news out of that game that we need to be aware of. Alvin Kamara is out today, so we got to bench Alvin Kamara. Get him out of your lineups. There's going to be a tremendous amount of people today that still have Alvin Kamara in their lineups that are not going to wake up in the next 45 minutes. And that's why at the end of the day, we outgrind them. We beat them in fantasy because they don't know it's London time this morning. We know we are on London time this morning. Game starts in 45 minutes. Guys, Alvin Kamara's out. Get him out of your starting lineups. I'm not feeling great about Mark Ingram. We've been down this path. This is not the first game that Alvin Kamara has missed. It is a great day for some football. That is absolutely true. I'm going to be breaking down all my thoughts on today's games. As always, on the YouTube Live, you can find my top 10 rankings, every single position, my picks against the spread, every single game. By the way, we're 59% against the spread this season, which is absolutely insane. Probably won't stay that high. I'm aiming for like 54, 55%. We do got to look at the weather, man, because I've seen some rumblings of some bad weather. So we will take a look at the weather today. Don't think it's going to impact this first game, though. Baltimore Bills game, though, I have seen some rumblings about that one. And obviously that's the game that could really break this slate. The Bills versus the Ravens. Lamar Jackson on his MVP campaign against what is, I still think, the best team in football. Right now, looks like the weather, honestly, not that bad. There's going to be some light rain throughout the game. So there is going to be some precipitation in this Bills-Ravens game. There's supposed to be wind, but not that much wind, guys. 14-mile-an-hour wind. That's nothing that we should be scared of. I'm not that scared of this. I'm not that scared of this weather report. I'm not going to lie. 14-mile-an-hour winds, light rain. I think both Lamar and Josh Allen can do just fine in those conditions. So I'm not going to overreact. And it doesn't look like the over-under on this game has moved much, which is even more confidence not to overreact. I do want to get to as many start-sit questions as I can about this first game. There's a game again in about 40 minutes playing in London. And no, we're not starting Mark Ingram this week. I don't feel good about Mark Ingram. Again, we went through this the last time Alvin Kamara didn't play, and we were pretty on the money. Mark Ingram did lead the backfield in touches in that game. He had 10 carries. It's not great. 10 carries, 2 catches, 12 total touches, 63 scoreless yards for Mark Ingram. Granted, that game was against the Bucs, though. That game was against the Buccaneers. This game is not against the Buccaneers. This game's against the Vikings. Obviously, that's much better. Let me pull up really quickly just how the Vikings have done against running backs. For just a final thought on, they've done really bad. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points to running backs this season. They got torched by A.J. Dillon. He went for almost 100 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones went for another 70 yards. Miles Sanders had an easy 80 yards. Jamal Williams, 87 yards last week. I guess Mark Ingram is playable. I still don't think his ceiling is that high, though. I think Josh Reynolds has a higher ceiling than Mark Ingram. I would probably lean Josh Reynolds. But there's so many injuries this week, guys. There is a lot of injuries that you just need to be aware of. It really, really changes things drastically. Like all of a sudden, by the way, let me pull up my tight end rankings. All of a sudden, TJ Hawkinson's a top 6 tight end, like pretty easily this week. There is no Among Us St. Brown this week, and there is no DeAndre Swift this week, and there's no DJ Chark this week either. They're missing really their 3 best passing options. And then there's TJ Hawkinson, who I think you could even argue he's a top 5 tight end. This week, I have him at number 6. Again, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. And if you come to the YouTube live, if you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. And I promise you guys, you're going to see some weird names in there this week. Names that we have not seen in my top 10 this entire season, especially in the running back group. I think Jamal Williams is pretty easily a top 10 running back this week. And I think Khalil Herbert is a top 10 running back this week also. The Khalil Herbert versus Jamal Williams decision in DFS this week, they're going to be probably the 2 highest rostered players in DraftKings and FanDuel this week. I initially was leaning Khalil Herbert over Jamal. I think Khalil Herbert's more talented than Jamal Williams pretty easily. But the situation for Jamal is just so much better this week against the Seahawks, a horrible, horrible defense, maybe the worst defense in the entire NFL. Plus, we know the Lions' offensive line is really good. Plus, we know they're without DJ Chark and DeAndre Swift and Among Us St. Brown. So I do like Jamal Williams, I think, more than Khalil Herbert this week, but both are really good starts. Another guy that's returning, supposedly tonight, I think it's the night game, Chris Godwin is supposed to be back. Mike Evans is going to be back. Russell Gage is supposed to be playing. All of a sudden, the Bucs look like they might have some firepower. Again, that's going to be really interesting to watch. Godwin's definitely a little sketchy to trust in his first week back, but I'm not playing Gallup over him, Brandon, and I'm not playing Mac Hollins over him either. I'm bracing for all the Mac Hollins questions this week, and he's not a safe play, guys. Yeah, I know he was really good last week, but I don't think Mac Hollins is a safe play, even though obviously Hunter Renfro's out again. I actually don't know. I think Hunter, he's on this list. Hunter Renfro's out too. Taysom Hill or Albert O. I'm going with Taysom Hill. I'm starting Taysom Hill this week. And again, this game starts, this Saints-Viking game starts in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So you got to get these decisions locked in for the Saints game. And if you're on the fringe with these tight ends, again, come to the YouTube live. You can see my top 10 rankings for my tight ends. The link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. Do appreciate all of you tuning in early this morning. We're on London time this morning, guys. If you're tuned in right now, like, you're locked in. You're locked into your fantasy league, and your league mates should be worried. Because if they're not on London time this morning, like, they're just behind the ball. But if I'm not starting like any of these top 10 tight ends, really any of these top 10 tight ends, I think you can play Taysom Hill. I don't have him ranked 11th, but I think he does have some intriguing upside. There's no Jameis Winston this week. What other tight end has the potential to throw passes this week? And I don't think Taysom Hill throws even 5 passes, but he could throw 1 or 2 passes in this game, and nobody will be surprised. And I would be shocked if he didn't get at least a few carries too with Alvin Kamara out. Like, there's so many paths to Taysom Hill being involved in this game that I would be shocked if we didn't see him get a few chances at some big plays. And that's a pretty big deal in your tight end slot. Like, Albert O is not going to have very many chances at very many big plays. Taysom Hill does. So I think they're both their floors are pretty much 0 points. That's what we're working with at the tight end position. But yeah, I'm okay trying out Taysom Hill. I am trying out Taysom Hill, who, if you guys remember, I added him a lot back in week 1 off the waiver wire. He's one of my favorite waiver wire ads after week 1, after we saw him get some carries, 80 rushing yards back in week 1. I think we could see something similar today. I'm happy to start Taysom Hill, but I'm not going to start him over any of these top 10 tight ends that I'm showing on the YouTube live. I'll read through them really quickly for all those listening on the TikTok live. Yeah, you should play Chris Olave this week. I definitely would be playing Chris Olave. But yeah, I'm not starting him over Kelsey, Andrews, Waller, Pitts, Kittle, Hawkinson. Obviously, those 6 tight ends I think are really in their own tier. I think Higbee's knocking on that tier. I would not play Taysom over Higbee or Goddard or Ertz or Gerald Everett. But then I'm okay trying out Taysom Hill. I actually like the move this week to play Taysom Hill. And again, only over guys that also have 0-point floors. We have a lot of Olave questions in the chat. Obviously, again, this Saints game starts very, very soon. I'm starting Chris Olave in most situations this week. I think we've him projected right around 14 points. There is no Alvin Kamara in this game. There is no Michael Thomas in this game, and there's no Jameis Winston in this game. So obviously, like, those 2 receivers being out, that bodes pretty well for Olave's workload. Not that his workload's been bad as is, but he's going to lead the team in targets today. Almost definitely it's going to be him or Jarvis. By the way, Olave leads the league in deep targets through 3 weeks. He's averaging 3 deep targets per game. Deep target classified as any target that goes over 20 yards down the field. He has the most air yards in the NFL through 3 weeks. That's Chris Olave. So yeah, you really should be starting Chris Olave. But Jason, if we go back to your question here on the YouTube live, I'm not going to start Chris Olave over Michael Pittman, and I'm definitely not going to start him over Justin Jefferson, both of which I have as top 10 receivers this week. Actually, both of which are top 7 receivers for me this week. And Drake London is another guy that I really want to be starting. I'm okay starting Olave over London. I think it's really close. London has a good matchup this week, though, against the Browns. And this is one of these games that has a surprising over-under. The Browns versus the Falcons is actually a matchup that bodes really well for both offenses. There's no Myles Garrett in this game. That's something to keep in mind as well. But let me just pull this up actually on the TikTok live really quickly. If you take a look, guys, the Browns offensive line ranks 1st in the league this week, and the Falcons offensive line ranks 4th in the league this week. I mean, it's tough to get better than that. Both top 5 offensive lines this week. I feel good about both offenses in this game. I would be looking at this game in DFS too. I wouldn't have a DFS lineup, I don't think, without thinking about at least one guy from that game. And Drake London's definitely one of those guys that has a really, really high ceiling. So I'm okay going London over Olave. I'm okay going Olave over London. Personally, I'm playing Olave, though. Again, he leads the league in air yards. That's the number one metric I look at to quantify volume for receivers. So in my eyes, Chris Olave has the best volume at wide receiver through the first 3 weeks. I don't know if that's going to stay the case throughout the season, but still very encouraging sign for the rookie. And I'm excited to see him play in literally just 30 minutes because we're on London time this morning, if you guys didn't hear. Thielen, Garrett Wilson, or Mike Williams. Yeah, again, this Vikings game is about to come up. I'm not playing Thielen over either of these guys. Keenan Allen is out again this week. I actually don't know if I have that one on the TikTok live guys that are out. Keenan Allen's out again. That's really good for Mike Williams. Garrett Wilson's also in play, but with Zach Wilson starting, all of a sudden we have huge question marks on how the targets are going to get distributed for the Jets. I won't be shocked if they even become more run heavy. I would lean Mike Williams, I think, in this one. We got a question here of really like the battle of the backup receivers. And there's a lot of backup receivers in play today. I would play Gabe Davis over Josh Palmer over Josh Reynolds, right? But Josh Palmer and Josh Reynolds, the Joshes, I mean, they're definitely in play in deeper formats. But yeah, I'm not playing them over Gabe Davis, who he's dealing with an injury of his own. I think Gabe Davis is pretty risky, but I'm still playing him over Josh Palmer, over Josh Reynolds. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. And if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season. We're trying to hit 200,000 TikTok followers this season. Everyone hit that like button and the follow button. I really do appreciate that. Helps me out a ton. It takes you like 2 seconds. It actually helps me out way more than you realize. Helps out the stream, helps out the account. Why not Cordero? So Cordero's questionable today. And the latest report was positive, but I don't know how positive this report actually is. The latest report about Cordova Patterson is let me pull this up here because I just saw it on my timeline. Let me see if I can find this again. Yeah, here it is. Adam Schefter reports Cordova Patterson. He plans to play. Cordova Patterson's planning to play in week 4, which means there's a real chance he doesn't play. And also, so this is the game against the Browns. Again, very good offensive line matchup for Cordero, in which case you're going to want to start him. But I do think he has a lot more risk this week because he's dealing with a knee injury that's supposedly causing him a decent amount of pain. And that's a little scary. Cordova Patterson's coming off his best rushing performance of all time. It was his best rushing game ever. He had never had that many rushing yards in the game as he did last week. By the way, we were on Cordero's prop last week. He tripled his prop line last week. Absolutely crazy from Cordero, who had 153 total yards. He had 136 back in week 1. There's only 2 running backs in the league with more rushing yards than Cordova Patterson. I posted a TikTok video about that, I think this week. But yeah, he hasn't played more than 60% of the snaps. He had 17 carries last week. I don't think he's touching 17 carries again with this knee injury. I think this does cap his volume. I would be pretty surprised if he had more than 15 carries in this game. So I think his floor and ceiling are down this week, even in a good matchup because of the knee injury. We don't want to overlook this news about the knee injury that is causing him pain. It reminds me a lot of the Swift situation when Swift was playing, and we knew Swift was hurt. He had an ankle injury that they were talking about all week. He ended up playing, but he only saw the ball 12 times. He only touched the ball 12 times, which is way less than we would expect Swift to touch the ball at full health. I think it could be a similar thing for Cordero this week, which is why I'm a little nervous about him. Obviously, you can play him in must-start situations, but if I have a good running back option, I'm playing Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert over him 100,000%. Vikings defense is not the worst. I don't know how big of a drop-off Andy Dalton is from Winston, though. I'm going to be really interested to see that in this game that starts in about 30 minutes. Let me pull up my running back rankings again on the YouTube live. Stevenson or Ingram? I'm not starting Ingram. I'm not starting Ingram. I would go Stevenson. I don't feel great about Mark Ingram. He could easily score a touchdown. He's going to lead this team probably in touches. But the last time he had to start, I think he had 12 touches. We just had it up. He had 12 touches, 60 scoreless yards. I don't feel great about Mark Ingram. They just signed Latavius Murray too, who has a track record here. I won't be surprised if he plays a little bit. 2 of 4, double super flex, full PPR. Wow, Zach, you're doing it right, man. Carson Wentz, Andy Dalton, Zeke, Adam Thielen. Definitely got to start Wentz. And I'd probably start Andy Dalton too over Zeke, over Adam Thielen. I'd start 2 QBs. I would start 2 QBs in most situations in Superflex. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Kylo. Hope you're doing well and hope everyone has a good week 4. Love the positivity, Kylo. That's what we need, man. We need this positivity from you. I start Thielen or Judy PPR. This one's definitely a tough one. Judy's a tough one. He really is. It feels like Judy is this year's Tyler Lockett for Russell Wilson. And a lot of you might hear that and think that's a bad thing. A lot of you might hear that and think that's a good thing. And that's sort of what it is. It's both. He's going to be extremely boom bust this season. He had 3 points last week, 2 points the week before that. He did get hurt in that game, though, so we shouldn't really look too closely into that. But he did have 100 yards, 20 points back in week 1. That was also against the Seahawks, one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. But guys, the Raiders defense has not been very good. The Raiders defense has not been very good. They have allowed the second, I think they're top 10 in points allowed to receivers this season. I feel pretty good about Judy this week. I think I like him better than Thielen. I think his ceiling is higher than Thielen's for sure. Njoku, Everett, Conklin. I'm going Everett, then Njoku, then Conklin. I know Conklin's seen like very consistent targets. Again, this comment comes from the YouTube live. If you're watching live on the TikTok live, on the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position, all my picks against the spread this week, and so much more. Plus, I can pull your comment up on the YouTube live, and the link to the YouTube live is literally right in the TikTok bio. So you're right there. And yeah, start Chris Olave. I'm seeing that a lot in the chat. Start Chris Olave, guys. I'd lean Gerald Everett. I have Gerald Everett as my number 10 tight end this week. I think I have Njoku at number 11. It's a good matchup for Njoku. We know Njoku, they've straight up said Njoku is going to have big games and he's going to have complete dud games, completely dictated by the coverage. And I feel like this is probably a game where the coverage is going to dictate good things for Njoku against the Falcons defense, which is one of the bottom defenses in the league. They haven't been very good against tight ends this season, but with no Keenan Allen, I feel pretty good about Gerald Everett and that offense in general. It does sound like Justin Herbert is closer to full health than he was last week. He practiced fully the last couple of practices too. I would go Gerald Everett personally, and then Njoku, but it's definitely close. And all these tight ends, they have 0-point floors. Thoughts on Austin Eckler? Yeah, I actually really like Austin Eckler this week. This feels like this could be the bounce back week for Austin Eckler. I'm not going to lie. I am trotting out Austin Eckler in a few of my DraftKings lineups this week. By the way, I'm playing one high stakes DraftKings lineup this week. I almost played 3. I decided to scale back to 1. This is really like one of my first high stakes DraftKings contests. I play in a lot of high stakes season long leagues, but I don't play very much high stakes daily fantasy. I mostly max enter the $3 entry, 20 entry max on DraftKings each week, but I'm doing 150 entry this week, and I have it for you guys on this live stream. I'm going to be showing it to you right now. I'm playing Austin Eckler in this lineup. There's going to be a lot of Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert in DFS this week for good reason. Again, I have Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert as top 10 running backs, but I think Jamal Williams is going to be the most owned player on the slate. I like Khalil Herbert, pivoting to Khalil Herbert for that reason, but also pivoting to TJ Hawkinson at tight end and not going with Jamal Williams. I do have Williams in a bunch of lineups. I also have Craig Reynolds in a few of my $3 lineups because I think Craig Reynolds could easily vulture some TDs from Jamal Williams today. Craig Reynolds is today's Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is today's DeAndre Swift. With no DeAndre Swift in the game, Craig Reynolds, I think, is going to take some of the Jamal Williams normal role, and Jamal Williams is going to mostly step into DeAndre Swift role. But we know that the lines generally split the backfield. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if Craig Reynolds gets 30%, 40% of the touches in this backfield. And if those end up being the touchdowns, I actually don't hate pivoting to Craig Reynolds on DraftKings. Because again, I think Jamal Williams is going to be like over 50, 60% owned on this slate. But another guy I really like going with this week, Tyler Lockett. The Lions have been so bad at defending slot receivers. They've been the worst defense in the entire league defending slot receivers. And Tyler Lockett has taken most of his snaps from the slot this season. Earlier in the week, I was very in on DK Metcalf. I still think Metcalf has a really high ceiling against this Lions defense, but they've actually been better against outside receivers than inside receivers. So I actually think this game bodes well for Tyler Lockett. I really, really like his ceiling in tournaments, especially on DraftKings too. So I do like Tyler Lockett. Again, I got my DraftKings lineup pulled up on the YouTube live. If you are watching live on the YouTube live, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 YouTube subscribers. If everyone watching this live right now hit the subscribe button, we'd be pretty much there. We'd literally be pretty much there. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing that. Godwin thoughts. Yeah, Ben, I think he's pretty risky. I think he's pretty risky. You can start him. I'm excited for him to come back. But I do think he's pretty risky in his first game back. Good morning. Olave or Mike Evans? Yeah, so again, the Bucs get the Chiefs tonight. And all of a sudden, all the receivers are back. Godwin's back. Mike Evans is back. Russell Gage is playing. Fournette's playing. Like, the Bucs offensive line is still a little bit in shambles. I think this one's actually really close. I would probably play Mike Evans. Let me just pull up the latest on him. I do really like Olave in this game, though. Again, Olave does lead the league in air yards He has an extremely high ceiling. He also has a pretty safe floor in this game. I think you go Mike Evans, though, still. I think you got to go Mike Evans. I still think Mike Evans is a better fantasy player than Chris Olave, but it's definitely close. Like, I got to think about that one. I do really like Olave in this game that's about to start. This game starting in 20 minutes. Guys, we're on London time this morning. I've been up for 3 hours. I set my alarm 2 hours earlier today because I knew we were on London time. I knew Alvin Kamara might not play. I knew I had 9 different fantasy teams to make sure the starting lineups looked good by 9:30 a.m. this morning. Thoughts on Hollywood Brown? Yeah, so he's questionable today too. It does sound like he's going to play. So many injuries, guys, to keep up with, and that's exactly what we're doing on this live stream. But I mean, he was so peppered with targets. He's the only receiver on the team. It's him and Greg Dortch. He is expected to play against the Panthers. The Panthers have been okay against receivers this season. I still think Marquise Brown has such an astronomical ceiling, though, every single week without DeAndre Hopkins. We saw it last week. There was no touchdowns. But yeah, I do like Marquise Brown this week. We did see Chris Olave go for 147 yards against the Panthers last week. I think we could see something similar for Marquise Brown this week if he's fully healthy. He is dealing with a foot injury. Sam, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Joey. What are your defensive rankings this week? Also, Dillon or Bateman for flex, full PPR. Yeah, so this is AJ Dillon's the guy you just got to start this week. I like Bateman a ton. And I'm starting Bateman in a lot of my DraftKings lineups, a lot of my season-long lineups. I think Bateman's ceiling is really exciting against the injured Bills defense in a game that, I mean, the Ravens are just going to have to keep up with the Bills. There is a little bit of rain, tiny bit of wind in that game, not enough for me to be concerned or bench Bateman for that reason. But, guys, A.J. Dillon's a 9.5-point favorite at home today. That's all you need to know for A.J. Dillon. Put him in. This is an A.J. Dillon week. They're 9.5-point favorites. If they get in lead like they're expected to in this game, they're going to be giving A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones the ball a lot. Ingram, Etienne, or Singletary? Yeah, I kind of feel like you got to go Singletary. Honestly, out of these three, I would not play Ingram over either of Etienne or Singletary, though. Etienne and Singletary, I think, is close, but it does feel like James Robinson's getting the bulk of the touches for the Jaguars, and Singletary's the lead back for the best offense in the league. Don't overthink that one. I would go Singletary. Do I start Jeff Wilson, Gabe Davis, Breece Hall? Yeah, Breece is such an interesting one this week. That I don't think the Steelers' defense has been very good against the run. I feel like a lot of people still in their minds, they think of the Steelers, they think good run defense because that's historically what they've been. But when you actually look at the numbers through the first 3 weeks of the season, the Steelers have been a bottom 10 run defense. They've allowed the 6th most running back fantasy points this season. Joe Mixon had 18 points against them. Damian Harris had 16 points against them. Nick Chubb had 17 points against them. So I think Breece Hall and Michael Carter, they have a chance today. But there's so much uncertainty with this Jets offense. Zach Wilson returning in this game. I'm pretty uncertain about how the touches are going to shake out in this offense. I still think Breece Hall is a really exciting ceiling, though, this week. But Jeff Wilson's much safer. Gabe Davis, even, I would argue, is safer. I would probably honestly lean Jeff Wilson. By the way, in your start sits, guys, if I don't get to your start sit question, I'll get to as many start sits on this live stream as I possibly can. Thanks for the gifts in the YouTube. In the TikTok live. Really do appreciate that. But if I don't get your start sit question, the best place you could possibly go is the WalterPicks app, which is the app I've helped build over the last 3 years that uses machine learning to give us the best possible projections for every single player, every single week. It's completely free to download. You can do as many free start, sit, and trade comparisons as you want. There are some premium features in the app that do cost money, but you don't need to pay for them if you don't want those premium features. And you also get a completely free 7-day trial with some of those features too. Again, if I don't get your start sit, that's the best place to go. Even if I do get your start sit, I'd recommend still checking out the app and doing some start sit comparisons this morning. Big Dog Sam, we are choosing between two here for Xavier. Rashad Bateman, Mike Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Jamal Williams, or Khalil Herbert, full PPR. Yeah, this one's not easy. In a full PPR league, like I get it. You want to play Bateman, you want to play Mike Williams. You really feel like you really kind of have to play CeeDee Lamb. Like I'd probably go Lamb and Williams. I think I'd go CeeDee Lamb and Williams, but part of me wants to just say Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. Just lock in the touches. Both guys could see 20-plus touches today. And Jamal Williams is playing the Seahawks. Arguably the worst defense in the entire NFL. They've been really, really bad against pretty much every position this season. And I honestly think they've been done better than they are. Like I think they've outperformed their talent level, the Seahawks this season. And they have no talent on their defense. They've lost their most talented player in the first game, Jamal Adams. Cordova Patterson just had a career rushing day against this defense, guys. 141 yards, most yards he's ever had in his career. So, yeah, I do like Jamal Williams a lot. I think you go CeeDee Lamb, Jamal Williams. And if not, then it's Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, in my opinion. Again, both Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, top 10 running backs this week. Hey, Sam, please pick two. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings on the YouTube Live, too, so you guys can see those, because I don't know if I've had those up yet. Ayuk, Dubs, Romeo Dubs, Etienne, and Dortch. I don't feel great about Ayuka, the bazooka this week. Honestly, I'm okay going Dortch in this one, and Romeo Dubs. I'm okay going Dortch and Dubs over Ayuk this week. I do like Dubs a lot. I know Allen Lazard's returning, but I still think Romeo Dubs leads the Packers in receiving today. Lockett, Metcalf, or Olave, pick two. Yeah, play Olave and Lockett. I like Lockett more than Metcalf this week, and I was hyping up Metcalf earlier in the week in a few of my videos, but the deeper I dove into the numbers, and by the way, I'm not someone who suffers from take lock. This is one of the toughest things in being a fantasy or just sports analyst in general, is not getting locked into your takes, because you get very passionate about this stuff. Like I liked Metcalf a lot earlier in the week, but the deeper I dove into the numbers as new information came to me, it felt pretty clear like Lockett over Metcalf this week. The Lions, again, they've been the worst defense in the NFL against slot receivers. Nobody's been torched more in the slot than the Lions. Let's run through it. Let me just run through it for you, and then to think about Tyler Lockett this week. So the Lions already, they've been bad against receivers just in general. That's part of the reason I liked Metcalf this week. They've allowed the 7th most fantasy points per game to receivers this season. But a lot of A.J. Brown's work back in week 1 came from the slot. Curtis Samuel torched them from the slot in week 2. And then in week 3, it was KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen out of the slot, torching them. So I do like Tyler Lockett a lot. I think Tyler Lockett's ceiling is really high. I also think the Lions beat the Seahawks today. So they're going to have to throw the ball, I think, in this game. So, yeah, I do like Olave Lockett a lot. I think there's a really high ceiling there. Do I play Knox, Hill, or Conklin? Yeah, I would lean Knox, then Hill, then Conklin. I like Taysom Hill this week. I'm excited to watch Taysom Hill in just about 15 minutes. I think Taysom Hill has a lot of different paths to touches. There's no Alvin Kamara this week. There's no Jameis Winston this week. Taysom Hill is the number 2 quarterback and probably like the number 3 running back in this game. He's going to throw some passes. He's going to run the ball a few times. Is he going to have any targets? I probably not. I don't know. His floor is 0 points. Knox, I would still prefer just getting a piece of that Bills-Ravens game. Again, guys, we're live on YouTube and TikTok right now. On the YouTube Live, you get a little bit better of an experience. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. You can see all my picks against the spread for today, and I can pull up your comment right on the YouTube Live. Unlike I can't do that on TikTok. I will answer comments on both, but come to the YouTube Live for a little bit better of an experience. A link to that is in the TikTok bio. All right, let me pull up my QB rankings. The QB rankings are honestly whack this week. This is probably the most whack rankings for me this week is the QB rankings. I mean, take a look at these rankings. The top 5 are pretty reasonable, but once we get to number 6, it's just getting all out of whack. And I think Marcus Mariota, guys, is a top 6 quarterback option this week. I think Marcus Mariota finishes this week as a top 6 fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to be a top 6 QB this week. I have him ahead of Kyler Murray. I have him ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I have him ahead of Tom Brady. And the Brady one might be a mistake with Evans, Godwin back this week. But Mariota, we talked about it earlier. This is a really good matchup for the Falcons offense without Myles Garrett. There's no Myles Garrett in this game. And that's a pretty big deal for the Browns defense. And they have not been able to get very much pressure without him on the field. Hey, Sam, Dubs or Kirk, full PPR. You can't be benching Kirk at this point. Christian Kirk is just not a guy we can bench. He's been so good, so consistent. Don't bench him. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Smash the subscribe button. We're going to be live right up till the later games kick off, but we're on London time this morning. We've already been live for over half an hour because we're on London time. To replace Kamara, Hunt, or Dillon. Yeah, you got to start Dillon. Guys, start Dillon. Start A.J. Dillon this week. This is an A.J. Dillon week. Everything about this game points to it being an A.J. Dillon week. There are 9.5-point favorites against the Pats. That is the biggest spread of the week. There's no bigger spread. There's no bigger spread. There's no bigger favorite than the Packers over the Patriots today. And why is that? Because Brian Hoyer is starting for the Patriots. I mean, so brutal. I cannot believe I'm going to be watching every snap of a Brian Hoyer game today. I mean, it's just so brutal as a Pats fan. It is so brutal. So brutal. Yeah, you got to start A.J. Dillon. Pierce or Hall. I would lean towards Dameon Pierce over Breece Hall. I actually like Dameon Pierce a little bit in this matchup. They get the Chargers today. Their run defense hasn't been very good for some time now. Joey Bosa obviously out, which is a huge blow for them. And Dameon Pierce had 20 carries last week. He had 20 carries last week. The Chargers have allowed the 5th most fantasy points to running backs this season. James Robinson just had 100 yards against them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 74 rushing yards on only 8 carries. No running back has had 20 carries against the Chargers defense. I won't be shocked if Dameon Pierce goes over 100 yards today. I do like Dameon Pierce. Madison or Cook? Yeah, you got to play Dalvin Cook over Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook's played through the shoulder injury before. Obviously, there's a risk of re-injury, but you got to play Cook over Madison. I think you have to. Again, this game's about to start. You got to play Madison. You got to play Cook, over Madison. Olave or Cooper? Oh, this one's also really tough. I like Olave this week, but Amari Cooper's been on the money, and this is such a good matchup for him against the Falcons. Dome environment for Amari Cooper this week. Amari Cooper, guys, let's not like overlook how good Amari Cooper's been this season. He has the 13th most fantasy points per game through 3 weeks. He has 52% of the Browns' air yards. He's top 20 in targets, top 20 in air yards. I'm okay going Amari Cooper over Chris Olave. Amari Cooper has back-to-back 20-point games. But again, I like Chris Olave a lot, and I do think it's close. And also, if you want something to root for in this 9:30 a.m. London game that's going to kick off in 10 minutes, I mean, go with Chris Olave. You're going to enjoy watching Chris Olave 10 minutes from now. Hey, man, do I start James Robinson or Dameon Pierce? How's it going, man? James Robinson has been really good. He's been really good. This is obviously an uphill battle, though, against the Eagles. The Eagles are 6.5-point favorites. I am taking the Jaguars against the spread in this game, and James Robinson, he's gotten over 15 fantasy points every single week. So I'm actually okay going James Robinson, but I think Dameon Pierce has a slightly safer floor this week, and it's just a little bit more locked into touches, almost regardless of game script, than James Robinson is. But James Robinson is better than Dameon Pierce, so I'm okay going James Robinson. Again, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit that like button and follow button, if you are watching live on TikTok. McCaffrey or James Robinson in just a TD league. I mean, that is crazy, man. A TD league only. I mean, that's wild. But yeah, you're starting Christian McCaffrey this week, guys. Torn between DJ Moore and Gabe. Yeah, Jacob, go DJ Moore over Gabe. Devonte Smith or Chris Olave. I would go Chris Olave over Devonte Smith this week. Cook, Jamal Williams, Herbert, Sutton. Yeah, just go Williams and Herbert, Max. Like, good job getting these guys on your team. The second I went to look for Khalil Herbert in all of my leagues, he was drafted in all of my leagues. Like, my leagues knew that Khalil Herbert was one of the most talented backups in the league. He's like on the Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard level. Like, guys, Khalil Herbert is very good. He is very, very talented. He might be better than David Montgomery, and I think David Montgomery is pretty good too. But yeah, I would go Williams and Herbert in this one. Sutton or Olave over Dalvin. Honestly, Sutton over Dalvin is definitely in play. I don't think I'd play Olave over Dalvin, but I'm okay going Sutton over Dalvin. Sutton's been a beast, and it is a good matchup against the Raiders for them this week. Got a question, Thielen or Juju? I would probably lean towards Thielen over Juju at this point, but it's definitely close. CMC, Najee, London, pick 2. Oh, man, Gabriel, you got to do this to me this early in the morning. Like, you got to start Christian McCaffrey. And you got to start Najee, I think. You got to bench London. As good as London's been, as good of a matchup it is for London, I think you got to start these first 2 running backs. The thing with CMC, I sort of get wanting to bench CMC this week, but it feels like we're heading towards CMC missing some time this season. In which case, you also got to ask yourself, am I really not going to play CMC in a game that he's probably going to play in? Because who knows how many games we're going to get out of CMC this season. And he's been really consistent this season. He hasn't had that big ceiling that we're used to with Christian McCaffrey so far through the first 3 games, but the floor has still been there, guys. He's been over 13 points all 3 weeks. He had 25 carries last week. 115 yards. He's back-to-back 100-yard games. He only has 1 touchdown this season, though. So, yeah, I would play Christian McCaffrey, personally. Sup, Sam. Morning. Russell Wilson or Marcus Mariota. Yeah, if you see my QB rankings below, you won't find Russell Wilson in my top 10 this week. I mean, Russell Wilson, he's got to show it to us, guys. We got to stop holding out hope for the name of Russell Wilson until Russ shows us. I'm playing Mariota over Russell Wilson. I'm playing Mariota over Aaron Rodgers this week. Guys, Mariota has been rushing the ball a ton. He's top 5 among quarterbacks in his rushing performance this season. Plus, he gets the Browns, and the Browns have been really bad against quarterbacks this season. And they're without Myles Garrett. They've allowed the 12th most fantasy points to QBs this season. Guys, Mitch Trubisky just had 15 points against them. Joe Flacco threw for over 300 yards against the Browns just 2 weeks ago. And Baker Mayfield had his best game against the Browns too. I mean, these are 3 quarterbacks that we should not think are very good. Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco, Mitch Trubisky. Those are the 3 quarterbacks that the Browns have played all, and still the Browns have allowed the 12th most fantasy points to QBs. Think about that. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Mariota is better than all 3 of those guys, I think, in fantasy. Flacco, Mayfield, Trubisky. I like Mariota a lot this week. I like him in some DraftKings lineups too. Ingram or Jacobs? Yeah, I'm going Jacobs. 100% Jacobs. I think Jacobs is being a little slept on just in general right now, and I don't trust Mark Ingram at all. Do I start Olave, Devonte Smith, Breece Hall? Start Olave, Caden. Start Olave. Favorite upside defense? Yeah, sorry. Someone asked about the defenses before. I like the Cowboys defense. I think this week, let me pull up the defenses really quickly. Actually, I think the defense I'm playing the most this week in DFS is the Bears. I do like the Bears against the Giants. We saw the Cowboys against the Giants last week. They did pretty well. I mean, there's so the Giants allow so much pressure. They allow so much pressure. So I do like the Bears defense a lot. I do also like, I don't hate the Titans defense this week either. And if you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, they're the minimum price defense on DraftKings. So I have put them in a few lineups. The Patriots, they're 9.5-point underdogs, but they do get Kyle Duggar back this week. And I think that could be good for the Patriots. Obviously, it's a Bill Belichick-led defense. I think also the Packers-Patriots game could be one of the slowest games of the week. The Packers are going to run the ball. The Patriots are going to run the ball. The game's going to be over extremely fast. I don't think there's going to be very many plays in that Packers-Patriots game. Morning, Sam. Please pick 2. Gabe Davis, Devonte Smith, Curtis Samuel, Deontay Johnson, full PPR. Also Curtis Samuel or A.J. Dillon. Again, this is an A.J. Dillon week, but I would play Curtis Samuel. I would definitely play Deontay Johnson, and Devonte Smith versus Curtis Samuel is definitely close. Obviously, Devonte Smith's been balling the last couple of weeks. This isn't a bad matchup for Devonte Smith against the Jaguars. I really like A.J. Brown this week. Curtis Samuel, I think, has a safer floor than Devonte Smith. We're not going to continue to sleep on the floor for Curtis Samuel. So I'm okay going Curtis Samuel over Devonte Smith if you're looking for the floor. Otherwise, go Devonte Smith, and definitely don't play any of those guys over A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones or James Robinson? You can't bench Aaron Jones. Again, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon must starts. I'm seeing someone asking about Mark Ingram or Tyler Lockett. Guys, start Tyler Lockett this week. Again, the Lions have been horrible against slot receivers, and that's where Tyler Lockett's played most of his snaps. We got a tight end question here. I don't have Muth in my top 10 tight ends, but yeah, I still think I'd play Muth over Taysom. Again, I like Taysom Hill. I am playing him in a bunch of spots because I think he's got a lot of different paths. Taysom Hill's a lot of different paths. He's the number 2 QB today. He's probably going to throw the ball a few times, and he's probably the number 3 running back because there's no Alvin Kamara either. So Taysom Hill's got a path to passing attempts. He's got a path to rushing attempts. But again, I still would probably lean Pat Freiermuth in this one, but it's definitely close. And I wouldn't say you're crazy for starting Taysom Hill, who's definitely projected less points. Romeo Doubs or Jeff Wilson. Yeah, I would lean Jeff Wilson in this one. Again, I think that the Packers-Patriots game could be extremely, extremely low scoring. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can see my picks against the spread for this week. We were on fire last week against the spread. All 3 of the locks hit last week. We're up to 59% this season. We're not going to stay at 59%. Realistically, a great season would be close to 54%. But still, we're not going to complain about being pretty hot to start the season against the spread. And in this game, by the way, I do like the Vikings against the spread. Had Amon-Ra, so I need a flex now. Pick 1, Lazard, A-Rob, Jeff Wilson, Dameon Pierce, or Josh Reynolds. Yeah, I think you go Jeff Wilson or Dameon Pierce. They're by far the safest names on this list. Lazard, A-Rob, Josh Reynolds, all of these guys have floors way below 5 points. Like all 3 of them. A-Rob's so tough to trust. Lazard, he's coming off an injury. I think Doubs might be ahead of him. Now, Josh Reynolds is the leading receiver for the Lions in this game with no DJ Chark, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's also Josh Reynolds. I don't know if this is PPR or not. If it is PPR, that definitely gives Reynolds a slight bump. But yeah, I would probably go Dameon Pierce, then Jeff Wilson, then Josh Reynolds, Dalvin Cook or Brandon Cooks. Yeah, you got to start Dalvin Cook. Guys, you got to start Dalvin Cook. He's played through the shoulder injury before, So you got to start him. I don't think he's a top 10 running back this week, but he definitely still has that upside. Hall or Devonte, PPR, and whoever you pick from those two versus Dylan. I would go Devonte, definitely over Breece Hall. I think I would lean A.J. Dillon over Devonte, though. It's close. Both are going to see similar workloads. But again, Packers, 9.5-point favorites against the pass. Like this is an A.J. Dillon week. If there was ever an A.J. Dillon week, this has got to be the one. It's not like the Pats' run defense has been terrible, but they're huge underdogs. Olave, Dalvin Cook, or Lamb. Yeah, you can't play Olave. Random guy on YouTube. Can't play Olave on this one. I would probably go Lamb. I have Lamb. Lamb's the only one of these three guys I have top 10 at his position this week. Let me pull up again the receiver rankings for me this week. David Njoku or Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is active. I actually don't know if I have him in my top 10 tight ends because I'm a little bit nervous about Dalton Schultz in his first game back with Cooper Rush. Obviously, he played with Cooper Rush in one game. I actually think he did pretty well still. I think it was actually maybe the game that Dak went down was the only time we've seen Schultz with Cooper Rush this season. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay going with Schultz in this one. I think Schultz has a little bit better of a ceiling than Njoku. But again, this is probably a good matchup for Njoku, who we know Njoku is going to be very boom or bust this season. The coaches have said it themselves. The Browns coaching staff literally looked right into the camera and they said, yeah, some weeks Njoku's literally not going to touch the ball because that's what the scheme dictates. He's going to be blocking. And then some weeks, the middle of the field is going to be wide open against some of these defenses, and Njoku's going to get the ball a ton. And that's exactly what we saw last week with Njoku. It could easily be what we see this week with Njoku against the Falcons. But yeah, I think I would lean Schultz, who is playing this week. Start Zeke, London, James Robinson. Pick two. Yeah, I'd go the last two. I think I would go London, James Robinson. Hall or Pierce. I like Pierce more than Hall, Drew, this week. Again, I think Hall has a really high ceiling. I like Breece Hall's talent a lot. Do I start Olave over Garrett Wilson? I'm okay doing it. I'm okay starting Olave over Garrett Wilson. Again, that game starts in 1 minute. I'm literally watching the national anthem being sung right now on my screen. So get Olave in your lineups. Guys, this game's about to start. We are on London time this morning. If you have any Saints players, get Alvin Kamara the heck out of your lineup. Get him out of your lineup. You are staring down a defeat if you have Alvin Kamara in your lineup. He is not playing today. Get Taysom Hill in your lineup. If you are really scraping the bottom of the barrel for tight end, get Chris Olave in your lineup. There's no Michael Thomas. There's no Alvin Kamara. Chris Olave leads the league in air yards. I don't feel great about Andy Dalton as a deep thrower. He's very different than Jameis Winston, but he might not be worse. He's definitely different, but he might not be worse. He might favor a guy like Jarvis Landry more than a guy like Chris Olave. There's definitely some uncertainty there, but it's just those two guys really this week. So I'm okay starting Olave over Garrett Wilson, who's playing with Zach Wilson for the first time. And I do think Garrett Wilson is that guy. I think Garrett Wilson is extremely talented. But I am okay playing Chris Olave over him this week. Najee, Jeff Wilson, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, PPR. You can't bench Najee. As bad as I've hated on Najee, you can't bench him in any given week. I mean, you picked him in the first or second round. Guys, if you are watching live on TikTok, we are also live on YouTube. Link to that is in TikTok bio. The reason you would come to the YouTube live is you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position, my picks against the spread, my DraftKings lineup, my favorite player prop of the day. That's all just like on the screen on YouTube, and I can't put it on the screen on TikTok. I don't have the functionality to do that. So come to the YouTube live if you want any of that. I will answer comments from both, though. Subscribe today. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, we're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subs this season. We're trying to hit 200,000 TikTok followers this season. All of you can help with that. Really do appreciate that. Juju or Wilson in the flex, Dawson Knox or Conklin. Yeah, I'm going Knox over Conklin. And I don't know which Wilson you're talking about here. I'm assuming it's Jeff Wilson. Oh, it could be Garrett Wilson, though. It's probably Garrett Wilson. And yeah, I think I would go Garrett Wilson over Juju. Juju definitely has a relatively shaky floor. Finally, we got a Craig Reynolds question. Guys, I think Craig Reynolds is this week's sleeper. He is the sleeper this week. Most people don't know who Craig Reynolds is. He has played in the past. For people that pay attention, for people that watch Hard Knocks, obviously he was one of the last guys to make the Lions roster. They found a way to keep Craig Reynolds. And I think today Craig Reynolds sees 30 to 40% of the backfield touches. I think he's going to assume the Jamal Williams role, while Jamal Williams assumes the DeAndre Swift role because DeAndre Swift is out today. But we've seen in the past that sometimes the Jamal Williams role can score more than the DeAndre Swift role. It really ends up being who ends up scoring the touchdowns. And guys, what if it's Craig Reynolds that scores the touchdowns, not Jamal Williams? I think that's very possible. starting him over Matt Collins in a half PPR league is definitely a little sketch after how big Matt Collins balled out last week. But I'm okay going Craig Reynolds over Matt Collins this week. Hey, Sam, one more question. App says London over Bateman, full PPR. What's your thoughts? Yeah, I would go London over Bateman as well. I would go London over Bateman as well. And I like Bateman a lot. But you got to start London over him. James Conner, Cordero, or Hollywood Brown at flex. Man, James Conner's dwindling, guys. James Conner's really dwindling. His player prop line is like 30. It's in the 30s. His rushing yards prop is in the 30s. I mean, that's really just disrespectful for a starting running back who could see 15 plus carries. His over-under's like in the 30s. And it's because he's shown no burst and his floor is really low. I'm okay going Cordero, honestly, or Hollywood Brown. In a PPR league, honestly, I think you should probably go Hollywood Brown. Cordero is a little sketchy this week. He is dealing with a knee injury. That is new. It's a new knee injury that's supposedly causing him a decent amount of pain. This game's about to start, guys. Hopefully you were on London time. Why is Cordero risky? Yeah, he is hurt. He has a knee injury. Supposedly a painful knee injury that he's hoping to play through, planning to play through, I think was the latest report. Like he's planning to play. He's still a game time decision. But still, I mean, it's tough to trust Cordero getting another 17 carries with an injured knee. I would be pretty surprised if Cordero had more than 15 carries this week. And both of his big games, he's gone over 15 carries. I don't think that's going to happen again for Cordova Patterson with this knee injury. Pitts or Njoku? Yeah, you got to start Pitts. After last week, you just need to be starting Pitts. Good morning, Sam. Zay Jones or Josh Palmer? Yeah, Zay Jones dealing with an injury of his own. He is playing this week. He had 11 targets, I think, last week. Maybe it was 9. Something high for Zay Jones last week. But yeah, you got to play Josh Palmer. There's no Keenan Allen this week. I like Josh Palmer against the Texans more than I like Zay Jones against the Eagles. Thoughts on CMC today? Yeah, Luigi in the YouTube live, man. Like I posted a TikTok this week, I think yesterday or 2 days ago about CMC. That's how I'm feeling about CMC. I mean, these reports about CMC, can you guys hear them? You can hear the anti-CMC people in the distance. Like I've been hearing them. You can hear them. They're all ready. They're all ready to pounce on the CMC, the inevitable CMC missed game for an injury. And that literally could be this week. CMC is not a lock to play today. It does look like he's going to play, but he's not a lock to play. And guys, we got football on our TV screens right now. I'm watching Kirk Cousins go out onto the field, and I will do my best to talk through what's going on in the game. I expect you guys to be watching the game simultaneously to the live stream as well. But guys, we'll be live right up till the kickoff of the 1 o'clock games. As always, I hope you started Olave. I hope you started Taysom Hill for those of you really scraping the bottom of the barrel at tight end. DJ Moore, Josh Reynolds, Romeo Doubs, Devonte Parker, Palmer, or Bateman. Yeah, I would go Bateman. In this one. I think Bateman's ceiling is really high. Sam, Walter already gave me his opinion. Thanks for checking out the WalterPicks app, man. I do appreciate that. Now I'm here for your pick. Happy PR. Curtis Samuel, Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore, crying face next to DJ Moore, Ramondre Stevenson, also Danny Dimes or Jimmy G. Yeah, I'd go Danny Dimes over Jimmy G. I would go Tyler Lockett over all these guys. I think Curtis Samuel's the safest. Curtis Samuel's for sure the safest. But Lockett, to me, his ceiling is you do not want. Oh, KP, I do this from time to time, man. I'm sorry. I get very distracted, especially KP when there's football literally on my screen right above me. Ayuk, Devonte Smith, Michael Carter, or Daryl Henderson. I'd probably go Devonte Smith in this one. I do not trust Daryl Henderson at all. I think it's extremely, extremely difficult to trust Daryl Henderson. Yeah, KP, send the question again. I can't even scroll back and find it. Khalil or Dylan? I have Khalil ranked ahead of Dylan this week. And again, I think this is an AJ Dillon week, but I like Khalil Herbert more than AJ Dillon. We've seen a KJ Osborne drop. We're on London time this morning, by the way. There's a game going on right now. Allen Robinson or Allen Lazard, the two Allens. Yeah, I trust Robinson more than Lazard. I got no faith in Lazard this week. Lockett over Pitts. Yeah, definitely don't start two tight ends. Palmer or Robinson. I lean Robinson over Palmer. I'm definitely playing Bateman over Gallup. Guys, don't start Gallup this week. I should have put Gallup on the risky list. Don't start Gallup. I mean, it's his first game back. Don't start him. Good job getting him. I have him on almost every single team, along with Jameson Williams, both guys that I knew were going to come back at some point this season, and I think be pretty good. Dobbins or Ingram? Well, it's too late. You're not on London time, clearly, because Mark Ingram's game already started. So no more Saints questions. We answered the Saints questions a little while ago. I hope you didn't play Mark Ingram. I was telling people to benchmark Ingram, but yeah, this game already started, man. We're on London time this morning. You got to catch up. Dylan or Olave at flex. I think I would lean Dylan, but again, this game already started. This game started, so you're past the point of no return. Opponent kept in Kamara, London time W's. This is what I'm talking about, man. Like if you've been on this live stream for the last any time over the last 30 minutes, like you are ahead of people in your league who are literally asleep right now, who literally have Alvin Kamara in their lineup. Like this is what we love to see. Just out grinding your opponents to victory. That's exactly what this is. Good morning, Sam, Judy, or Njoku at flex. Yeah, Jacob, I have a rule where I don't play 2 tight ends. Like don't do it to yourself, Jacob. It's so brutal already playing 1 tight end. Don't play 2 tight ends. It's not something you should put yourself through. ETN or Josh Reynolds in the flex. I'm okay going Josh Reynolds with this one. I think Josh Reynolds does have an intriguing floor ceiling combo. ETN, what's the ceiling for ETN? Like he's got to score a touchdown. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably getting under 10 points. He doesn't have a big enough workload to have standalone value without touchdowns. Like he's going to catch passes. But really, up to this point, guys, we're eating the L on Travis Etienne. I was taking him in the 4th round. He has 0 touchdowns this season. He doesn't have a game with more than 10.5 fantasy points. He hasn't finished as a top 24 running back yet. He hasn't eclipsed a 50% snap share yet. He hasn't even had more than 4 targets. It's not even like he's getting that much pass catching work, which is why we were drafting him. So, yeah, I don't feel great about Travis Etienne. I'm okay going Josh Reynolds. London, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Ryan. We got London time right now. And I love the London morning game because it's going to be so great. Literally, I promise you, the rest of the live, we're going to see Saints questions in the live. People are like, should I start Mark Ingram? I saw Alvin Kamara's out. It's like, dude, this game's at halftime. Pick 2 to start Connor, Dylan, or Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I would go Dylan and Curtis Samuel. Get Connor out of your starting lineup. Hi. Helped me win my league last year. That's what I'm talking about, man. Time to go back to back. I was literally about to say that. I didn't even see it in the comment. But yeah, it's time to go back to back, man. Start 1, sit 1. Miles Sanders, Penny. Penny's really interesting this week too. I do think he has a lot of risk. I think there's a lot of risk with Rashad Penny because I do think the Lions beat the Seahawks pretty easily. That's why I like a lot of the Lions players in fantasy this week. I like Jamal Williams. I like Craig Reynolds. I like TJ Hawkinson a lot too. But this is a pretty good matchup for Rashad Penny as well. The Lions defense has been really bad against running backs also. And Rashad Penny dominated the backfield touches last week, and we know how talented Penny is. He's running behind a horrible offensive line, which does make it tough for Penny. But yeah, I kind of like Penny. I think like with Rashad Penny, at least you're getting a pretty intriguing ceiling. The Lions have allowed the most fantasy points to running backs this season. This could be the best matchup of the season for Rashad Penny. We saw Alexander Madison score last week. Dalvin Cook still had 13 points despite his injury. We saw Antonio Gibson score against this defense. I mean, guys, they've allowed 2, 4, 6 touchdowns in 3 games the Lions have allowed on the ground. Thoughts on Godwin? Yeah, he's definitely risky this week in his first game back, but he's still a guy you could start in a lot of situations. And Kirk Cousins throws it straight to the Saints defender there. Looks like they're right on the knocking on the red zone there. Why don't you like Connor? Yeah, so Connor has really been inefficient this season, and it's a concerning trend for a guy that's close to 28 years old. He has back-to-back games under 10 points. He only had 13 carries last week, 5 targets. Like it's a decent workload, but he doesn't have a game this season over 60 yards. He's been really inefficient. His yards per carry ranks 58th in the league. 58th for James Conner. And there's only 32 teams. So he's been incredibly inefficient. It's just tough to see a ceiling with James Conner right now. Brandon Cooks or Garrett Wilson? Yeah, I would think Garrett Wilson still over Cooks. I do think Cooks is intriguing, though, against the Chargers. I think that Brandon Cooks has also been inefficient this season, but I think Brandon Cooks' volume has been encouraging, and Brandon Cooks' efficiency will probably rebound. This is the lowest catch rate Brandon Cooks has ever had in his career so far this season. I don't think that's going to continue this entire season. And again, the volume's been there, so I'm okay going in that direction. Good morning, Sam. Hollins or Godwin? I kind of want to bench Chris Godwin in his first game back. I'm not going to lie. I want to bench Chris Godwin in his first game back. So I'm okay going Mac Hollins. I'm nervous for Godwin. I don't know how much Godwin's going to play. The last time, if you remember too, Godwin came back a little bit too soon. And I think that was actually week 1. and then he got re-aggravated the injury. I think they got to be a little bit more cautious with him. I would go Reynolds over Godwin. Playing Dortch, I would play Dortch over both them for sure. I would play Penny over Reynolds though. Yeah, I like Rashad Penny more than Reynolds. And that looks like Dalvin Cook, I think, inside the 10-yard line now for the Vikings. This is good for Olave, guys. This is good for Taysom Hill. Good morning, Sam. Pick 2. Yeah, all 4 of these guys, are money. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, Devonte Williams. You want to, let me pull up my top 10 running backs. I think you should. I actually don't know if I have Aaron Jones in my top 10. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think you go Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. I think I would go Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. I think Herbert's very much in play, but Herbert, Aaron Jones, and Jamal Williams are all top 10 running backs this week in my rankings. Again, you can see those rankings on the YouTube Live. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live, and you will see my top 10 rankings, every single position, all my picks against the spread. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. I'm playing A.J. Dillon this week. I'm seeing a Dillon or Garrett Wilson question in the TikTok Live. I'm playing A.J. Dillon. Garrett Wilson has additional risk this week, guys. Zach Wilson's back for the first time this season. He really meshed well with Elijah Moore last season. He meshed pretty well with Corey Davis when Davis was healthy last season too. I still think Garrett Wilson is that guy. I still think he has a really high ceiling. Obviously, he's proved that talent through the first 3 weeks, but there is more uncertainty with Zach Wilson instead of Joe Flacco this week. So that's definitely concerning. Alexander Madison's getting the goal line snaps right now for the Vikings. And it looks like 3rd and goal. I'm probably behind some of you, though, in this game. TJ Hawkinson or Tyler Higbee, yeah, you got to play Hawk, man. You got to play Hawk. There's no DJ Chark. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown. It is Hawkinson basically playing out of slot today for the Lions, and they have an amazing matchup against the abysmal Seahawks defense. Najee or Khalil, yeah, you have to start Najee, guys. You got to start Najee. You just need to be starting Najee Harris if you drafted him. Devontae Parker or Josh Reynolds, yeah, I think I would go Devontae Parker. There's no Jacoby Myers again this week. Big underdogs. It's Brian Hoyer, though. Like that doesn't sit so well with me. But, yeah, I still think I would go Devontae Parker, who's coming off probably his best game of the season. And that looks like a touchdown to KJ Osborne on my screen right now. Kirk Cousins, Osborne. There is a flag on the play, though, and I see the Saints clapping. So looks like that's coming back. Thoughts on Josh Palmer? Yeah, I like Josh Palmer this week. I do like Josh Palmer this week. There's no Keenan Allen again, and they're playing the Texans. I actually think the Texans could beat the Chargers. That's one of my bold predictions for this week. Obviously, the Chargers coming off a really brutal L to the Jaguars. The Jaguars, meanwhile, 6.5-point underdogs to the Eagles this week. No respect given to the Jaguars, or maybe just a lot of respect given to the Eagles, who are the only undefeated team left. Guys, the Eagles are the NFL's only team without a loss. If they lose to the Jaguars today, it'll be the earliest we've ever seen every team have a loss since 1972. When there was no undefeated teams left back in week 4. Well, I'm going to say that again in case you guys missed this. The Eagles, who are the only undefeated team left, if they lose this week, it'll be the earliest every team has a loss since 1972. They're the only undefeated team left. I mean, crazy stuff. And touchdown to Alexander Madison. We were talking about it. Dalvin Cook, a little bit more risky with his shoulder injury. I still think you had to start him, though, with him playing. But that's a huge TD. For Madison. Huge TD for Madison. I have him on a ton of best ball teams, so I do like that. Why is Ingram risky? With no Kamara, the Vikings are a weak run-stopping team. So, first of all, this game already started. So, we've been on London time. So, I've been up for the last 3, maybe now 4 hours. And he's risky because Mark Ingram's he's completely washed. He's completely washed. At the running back position, it ultimately is volume that is king. But we also can't just completely overlook a 33-year-old running back who the last time he was in this situation back in week 2, it was a really tough matchup against the Bucs. Obviously, the Vikings are a much better matchup. But last time he literally only had 10 carries. He had 10 carries. He has 19 total carries this season. And he's averaging 4.7 yards per touch. He's actually been more efficient than I'm giving him credit for. But yeah, I don't trust a huge workload in a huge efficient day from Mark Ingram. I won't be shocked if we see Taysom Hill get some carries. I won't be shocked if we see Latavius Murray, who's back on the team, get some carries. A.J. Dillon or Isaiah McKenzie, you got to go A.J. Dillon, man. You got to go A.J. Dillon. Christian Kirk or Mike Williams. I'm going Christian Kirk over Mike. Christian Kirk's been so good, so consistent. It's a tough matchup against the Eagles, but I still like Christian Kirk over Mike Williams. I'm seeing a question about what defense to pick up. I like the Bears defense a decent amount against the Giants. Giants have allowed so much pressure. I think, though, the most underrated defense probably this week, it's probably the Patriots. They're the lowest price defense on DraftKings. I don't think you'd play them in a season-long league, but at the lowest price on DraftKings, I don't hate that. I know they're huge underdogs, but I think that game is going to be pretty low scoring, a pretty low scoring, slow game where really you just want A.J. Dillon, you just want Aaron Jones. And like those are the only two guys you can really trust in that game. I think there's going to be a lot of running for the Packers in this game. Reynolds or Wilson Jr., I would go Jeff Wilson. Khalil Herbert or Aaron Jones, yeah, you can't bench Aaron Jones, man. Can't bench Aaron Jones. I like Khalil Herbert a lot. I think Khalil Herbert's extremely talented. I think Khalil Herbert's like on a Alexander Madison level, who, by the way, Madison just scored a TD. If you're just waking up, we're on London time this morning. The Vikings are up 7-0 against the Saints. Love to see that. I did take the Vikings against the spread. Not gonna celebrate too soon on that one. But we are at 59% against the spread. If you want to see all my picks against the spread today, you can come to the YouTube live. I'm taking a lot of points today. I'm taking the Jaguars plus 6.5, Titans plus 3.5, Bears plus 2.5, Commanders plus 3. There's a lot of points I think to get on the board. I'm mostly leaning towards the underdogs against the spread. This week, I'm taking the Texans plus 6. My only lock today is the Lions against the Seahawks. I think the Lions are going to steamroll the Seahawks with their offensive line. This is one of the best offensive lines in the league against one of the worst defensive lines, maybe the worst defensive line in the entire NFL. This is a good matchup for the Lions. I know they're without Swift. They're without Among Us St. Brown. They're without DJ Chark, 3 of probably their best playmakers on the team. But I still think they can get it done with their offensive line against this Seahawks team. I'm taking them 3.5, minus 3.5. DJ Moore thoughts. Yeah, I mean, just pouring out for DJ Moore up to this point. It's so tough because we know how talented DJ Moore is. And the volume, like, it hasn't been that bad. Like a 23.7% target share that's top 30 in the league. It's not terrible. DJ Moore has still ran a route on every single Baker Mayfield dropback. The game for DJ Moore is going to come. I just don't think it's going to come as consistently as what we were hoping for heading into the season. His floor is pretty low. He had 6 targets last week. He only had 1 catch. This could be the week, I think, though, for DJ Moore. He gets the Cardinals, and the Cardinals defense has been so terrible. I mean, such a leaky defense. It's maybe a top 5 option, top 5 defense to be playing at the wide receiver position. Let me pull up the Cardinals defense numbers here. And it looks like the Saints are about to get their first snap on offense, too, down 7-0. I don't see Taysom Hill out there on the first snap, so you hate to see that. We have, the Cardinals actually have been better against receivers than I am giving them credit for. A lot of guys having sort of mid days, but no huge days against the Cardinals defense. So maybe it's not today for DJ Moore. But yeah, it's just generally sad for DJ Moore up to this point. Brady or Kyler? Yeah, let me pull up my QB rankings again on the YouTube live. Both guys I have pretty low in my rankings. I think I have Kyler ahead of Brady. It's tough to rank Brady this week, though, because Mike Evans is back. Chris Godwin's supposed to be back. Russell Gage is supposed to be playing. Julio Jones doesn't look like he's going to play. But it's really tough to know how healthy the Buccaneers offense is. So I think it's a little safer to go with Kyler, but it's definitely close. It's not like the Panthers defense is terrifying either, though they have been okay this season. The Chiefs Bucs game, though, it also could be really high scoring. I personally don't think Kyler's a safer bet than Brady this week. AJ Dillon or Dameon Pierce? I'm not benching AJ Dillon this week. He's a 9.5 point home favorite. Cordova Patterson or Gabe Davis PPR. Again, I think Cordarrelle's pretty risky this week. I'm okay going Gabe Davis. I'm okay going Pollard over Cordarrelle too. And the reason I'm saying this is a knee injury. It's a knee injury for Cordova Patterson. He's probably going to play. Probably. Not definitely, but probably going to play. But apparently there's some significant pain involved. That's just exactly the type of situation where they're not going to give Cordova Patterson that many touches. Looks like I think that was Ingram. Yeah, Mark Ingram catch. They're in 11. Mark Ingram about to prove me wrong right live during the stream about why I thought he was risky to play. Have to replace Thomas. I'm assuming you mean Michael Thomas. Hopefully you already took him out of your lineup because that game did already start. Dortch, Moore, Dubs, Hollins, or Josh Reynolds. Yeah, I'd probably go DJ Moore, assuming that's DJ Moore. I think you play DJ Moore over all those guys. Robert Woods or Zay Jones. I like Woods more than Zay Jones this week. Hey, man, should I start Jamal Williams or Gabe Davis? Start Jamal Williams. Start Jamal Williams. And I love Khalil Herbert today as well. I think Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert, both top 10 running backs this week. If you come to the YouTube live, again, link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. And you can see I have Jamal Williams at number 6. I have Khalil Herbert, I think, at 9 or 10. Ramondre Stevenson or Patterson. I'm okay going Mondre over Patterson. Clyde or Penny. I like Penny more than Clyde. I think Clyde is just a walking landmine in fantasy right now. He is not seeing very many touches. Obviously, he's turned his touches into decent fantasy performances because he scored a lot of touchdowns. But guys, when Clyde does not score a touchdown, like Clyde is like more like Damian Harris than he is. He has no more than 8 carries in a game, no more than 5 catches in a game. Meanwhile, he ranks, what does he rank? 4th? He ranks 4th in fantasy points per game. Like, he is not that good. I have a lot of Clyde in best ball. I'm rooting for Clyde. I think he's really risky, though, on a week-to-week basis. And looks like the Saints got stopped. I thought that Mark Ingram got that first down. Maybe it was a flag. I didn't see, but they punted. So Vikings up 7-0 and with the ball. Good morning, Sam. 2-year sub to the app. Mike, thanks so much. Yeah, the number one way you could possibly support me is by checking out the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store, in the Google Play Store. It's completely free to download. You can do as many start-sit comparisons in the WalterPicks app as you want, and you can analyze as many trades as you want. There are premium features that cost money, but most of those come with a completely free 7-day trial as well. Garrett Wilson, Zeke, Dillon, Pierce, Gabe Davis. I'm not benching Dillon this week. Zeke is a really interesting option this week. I feel like Zeke is a guy every week where you really could consider benching him, but then you really think about it. And this week, the Cowboys, they're up against the Commanders. Not a very scary defense. Zeke has looked actually pretty good. He had 15 carries back-to-back games. I'm okay going Zeke, honestly. I think it's okay to go Zeke in this one. I would go Zeke and Dillon. Again, I think that Pierce is playable this week. I think he saw 20 carries last week. Chargers run defense is not good. The Chargers run defense has allowed the most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. But Garrett Wilson has a really high ceiling, but I think there's just so much uncertainty with the Jets this week with Zach Wilson returning that I would personally, I think I would go Zeke and AJ Dillon. Hey, Sam, championship user here. Mike Evans is listed as out on the app. Pick 2, PPR Evans, Sutton, Adams. Thank you for calling that out. I will get that updated. Let's see here. Let me actually refresh this too. Yeah, you can't bench Devonte. I would probably go Sutton and Devonte still. I think I would go Sutton and Devonte still, even though we know that Evans is playing. And let me update Evans really quickly. And is he listed as out, but still has a projection? I feel like we still have a projection for him. Let's see. No, we don't. Let's see. That should be fixed now. Javonte Williams or Khalil Herbert. I would lean Khalil over Devonte this week. Again, I have Khalil Herbert as a top 10 running back in fantasy this week. I feel pretty good about him. I think he's extremely talented, and I think that it's not a terrible matchup for Khalil Herbert. I like the matchup for Jamal Williams more than I like the matchup for Khalil Herbert. That's why I have Jamal Williams ranked ahead of Khalil Herbert, but I think Khalil Herbert's more talented than Jamal Williams. Nothing against Jamal. I think Khalil is the real deal at running back. I like him more than Javonte Williams this week. Pollard or Jeff Wilson, definitely a tough one, Brody. I would probably lean towards Jeff Wilson, who's going to get more touches than Pollard. Pollard's looked really good, but on limited touches, I think he's a little bit more high variance than Jeff Wilson. Adam Thielen making a nice catch. So far, guys, in this game, we're on London time, by the way. So far in this game, it's looked like all Vikings in the first 3 drives of the game, at least. We've seen 2 Vikings drives, 1 Saints drive. Another question about the weather. Yeah, let's just run through the weather one more time. The most concerning thing about the weather that I've heard so far is this Bills-Ravens game. And again, let me pull up the weather one more time. I'm not that concerned about this Bills-Ravens game, though. What I'm seeing in this weather report is there's going to be some light rain in this Bills-Ravens game. There's going to be wind up to 14 miles an hour, but nothing too bad. Actually, we have a bunch of games with that same exact forecast, basically. There's going to be light rain and light wind in the Giants-Bears game. I mean, the Bears just cannot find a good weather game. It's ridiculous. What is that, 3 out of 4 games now for the Bears? It's just been horrible weather. It's a joke for the Bears. The Bears defense is money this week. Khalil Herbert's money this week as well. Jaguars, Eagles, same weather report. Light rain, light wind. And then Bills, Ravens, light rain, light wind. We got light rain, light wind. That doesn't concern me enough to move off any of those players, though. I'm not going to lie. Maybe it makes me like the Bears defense a little bit more, but I'm not feeling like great about benching any of those guys because of light rain and light wind. Again, the wind is not supposed to be over 15 miles an hour. We get concerned about wind up to 25 miles an hour. I'm always playing Rodgers. You have no idea what you're saying. So I don't know if you're talking about the weather specifically, but no, I part-time as weatherman on these Sunday morning lives, and I've actually done my own independent research on this, and there's no statistically significant impact on NFL offenses in games that don't have wind over 25 miles an hour. Basically, no other weather matters at the extremes, at least. Obviously, there's different situations, and you got to take each weather report as its own. But the research really does show like you shouldn't be overreacting to anything that's not wind over 25 miles an hour. And the other thing is you can look at the over-unders of these games and see if they're dropping, and they're not. The over-unders in these games aren't dropping. So there's no real concern about the weather for me today. Hey, Sam, PPR, Bateman, AJ Dillon, Penny, Gabe Davis, Curtis Samuel. Please pick 2. I think I would go with these first 2 guys, Bateman and AJ Dillon. I really like Bateman today. I think Bateman's ceiling is extremely, extremely high against the Bills. I still think people are sleeping on how good Rashad Bateman is. I think Rashad Bateman is extremely talented. I think he's top 3 in the league in yards after the catch. I think he's number 1 in yards per catch, and he just doesn't have that many catches this season. I like Rashad Bateman a lot today against a very injured Bills defense. Obviously, the Bills offense is going to be able to put up points. Love the content. Thanks, Matt. Start 3, Patterson, James Robinson, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, or Jamal Williams. Yes, these last 3. It's these last 3 pretty easily. Eckler, Jones, Jamal Williams. Appreciate the question, man. CMC in or out? Yeah, so he's in, man. He's in, but we can hear in the distance. Can you guys hear it too? You can hear all the people, all the anti-CMC people in the distance. They're just ready. They're ready to start celebrating about CMC missing games, and it feels like we're heading towards CMC missing games. He's a very, very game time decision today. I think he's going to play, but I mean, it's CMC, man. You never know. You never know. And it's brutal to see everyone just waiting in the shadows to celebrate a CMC missed game. But yeah, I think CMC is going to play today. I do think he's going to play, and therefore you have to start him. You have to start him if you haven't. Damien Harris or Mondre? Yeah, I like Mondre more than Damien Harris. You cannot play Damien Harris this week. They're 9.5-point underdogs, and he was out. He played less than Mondre last week. Pittman or James Robinson? Definitely Pittman, or Najee full PPR. Yeah, I still think I go Pittman over both these guys. Romeo Dubs, Elijah Moore for flex non-PPR. I kind of like Elijah Moore more than Romeo Dubs, James, and I don't think our projections would agree with this one because Elijah Moore has not been very good. Romeo Dubs coming off a very good game. But Zach Wilson's back this week. I would argue that that's probably best for Elijah Moore, who meshed pretty well with Zach Wilson last season. And in a non-PPR league, the receivers have a really, really low floor. So I think I would lean Elijah Moore. I also think that the Packers are going to run a lot today. Guys, we're live on YouTube and TikTok. On the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings every single position. You can see my picks against the spread and my DraftKings lineup all on the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. I started Kamara. I'm done. Yeah, man, dude. You gotta know we're on London time this morning. You just gotta know. You have to be up in time for the London game, especially if you have Alvin Kamara. Set your alarm. Like you just took an L before the week even started. Basically, you took an L. And if you're playing against Alvin Kamara, I mean, let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Sutton, Kirk, Cooper, full PPR. All 3 great options. I would go Sutton and Cooper though. I think over Kirk. Both guys, all 3 guys really good, but Everett or Njoku, PPR, and Brandon Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer at flex. I like Everett more than Njoku. I would probably go Garrett Wilson over Palmer and Ayuk as well. I do think there is some risk there, though, with Zach Wilson returning. Sam, sorry, another question. I have Devonte Williams in my RB2, Dylan in flex. Should I take Dylan and put him as RB2 and put Bateman in flex and bench Devonte Williams this week? I think you play Devonte over Bateman. It's definitely close. I don't think you said if this was it is full PPR. And full PPR does make this even tougher because, again, Bateman has a really high ceiling. And Joey, honestly, what I would do if I was you definitely starting AJ Dillon. What I would do if I was you, I would look across at my matchup and ask yourself, am I a big underdog this week or should I win this week? And if you're a big underdog, play Bateman. And if you're not, I would probably play Devonte Williams. Alvin Kamara has an injury. Yeah, he hurt. He was questionable for this game all week. He's obviously already missed some time this season. Alvin Kamara's probably been the worst fantasy pick, by the way, this season. Like there's been some bad ones, but low-key Alvin Kamara, like really due to the injuries. Yeah, it's a rib injury for Alvin Kamara. That's why he's not playing. So yeah, really tough. And Andy Dalton's already checked it down to his running back so many times. This was going to be a good spot for Alvin Kamara, but obviously not. Hopefully you got him out of your starting lineups. Hopefully you're playing against him. Hey, Sam, Gabe Davis, Bateman, Mike Will, Tony Pollard need a flex. Yeah, go with it's Mike Williams or Rashad Bateman, in my opinion here. With no Keenan Allen, I think it's okay to go Mike Williams, though, over Bateman. Ayuk or DJ Moore. I like DJ Moore more than Ayuk this week. Christian, I'm pretty nervous for Ayuk this week, honestly, in the whole 49ers passing attack. Christian Kirk or Marquise Brown at flex. This one's also really tough. I think Marquise Brown is a better matchup, though, than Christian Kirk. I'm okay going with Marquise Brown. Jamal Williams or Najee. Again, if you have Najee, you kind of have to start Najee. I have Jamal Williams ranked ahead of Najee Harris this week, though. So, like, you're not crazy for playing Jamal Williams over Najee, but also if you drafted Najee, like, hey, Sam, Patterson or Akers? Yeah, I would play Patterson over Akers. I would play Patterson over Akers. Patterson does have more risk this week. I think Akers also still has like a ton of risk though. Zeke or Pierce. I like Zeke a little bit more than Pierce. I do like Pierce this week though. Trevor Lawrence or Stafford. Let me pull my QB rankings again. I believe I have neither of them in my top 10 QB rankings this week. And actually, if I were you, Dom, I would go check if. Let me put 1 second. Getting just way too many texts. I got to put my phone on do not disturb. I would play Mariota over Trevor Lawrence. I would play Mariota over Matt Stafford. I have Marcus Mariota as my number 6 QB this week, and he's available in a ton of leagues. So I don't hate going and adding Mariota, playing him over Stafford. Hi, Fournette or Williams. Yeah, I play Jamal Williams over Fournette for sure. Now I'm nervous for Olave. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I have Olave starting in at least one league. Obviously, tons of best ball leagues. Also, Olave, 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 targets on the first 2 drives. Looks like the Saints offense has been a complete mess with Andy Dalton through these first 2 games. First 2 drives, excuse me. Plenty of game left, though, man. Plenty of game left. And hopefully we see some Taysom Hill. Hopefully this means some Taysom Hill with the struggling Andy Dalton. But yeah, I'm nervous for Olave right now, too. Sam, how is it going? It's going well, man. Mondre or Breece Hall? I would go Breece Hall over Mondre, I think, against the Steelers' run defense has been low-key bad, too. Herbert or Brady? I'd go Herbert over Brady. Herbert practiced, too, like fully at the end of this week, so I'm okay going Herbert. Jeff Wilson, Josh Jacobs, Devonte Williams. I think I would lean Devonte, then Josh Jacobs, but definitely close. I think Jacobs is being really underrated in fantasy right now. Rashad Bateman or Curtis Samuel? I'd go Bateman over Samuel. I have St. Brown and MT. Do I play Godwin? Yeah, I mean, yes. You can't play St. Brown. He's not playing. You can't play MT. He's not playing. That game actually already started too. So, yeah, play Godwin in that situation. I have another question, Sam. Zabri, I got you, man. Herbert and Jamal Williams. Should I just pull CMC and start them both? Appreciate you, big dog. Yeah, like, you're not crazy for doing this. I don't think you'd be crazy for doing this. If anything, it's the safe thing to do. Like, it's the safe approach. But at the same time, I was talking about this earlier on the stream too. Like, how many games are we going to get out of CMC? It already seems like he's trending towards missing some games. Not that that would be like the most shocking thing in the world, CMC missing games. But if we know he's going to miss a lot of games and we know he's playing this week, I feel like we got to play him when he's playing, So I personally wouldn't be benching CMC. for Khalil Herbert, I'd play Jamal Williams and CMC, but it is probably the safe thing to do to play Herbert over CMC. It's just brutal with CMC right now, honestly. But either way, I think you're in a really good spot. I need to know, would you start Josh Jacobs or Rashad Penny at RB2? I would start Josh Jacobs. I like Rashad Penny too more than most people. I would start Josh Jacobs. Romeo Dubs, Miles Sanders, half PPR. Yeah, I think you go Miles Sanders. Just look at the game scenarios heading into these games, the expected game scenarios, at least. So the Packers are the biggest favorite of the week. They're 9.5-point favorites at home against the Pats. And then the Eagles are the second biggest favorite of the week. They're 6.5-point favorites at home against the Jaguars. So you want to play the running back that's favored, not the receiver that's favored. I think I'd play Miles Sanders against the Jaguars instead of Dubs against the Pats. Ayuk, Dillon, Jeff Wilson, Hunt start one. It's Dillon, man. Guys, this is an A.J. Dillon week. We were just said it. They're 9.5-point home favorites. I mean, that's crazy. Very sharp picks again. Very sharp picks again. Telling people not to start players that are out. I feel like people take some of my content just the wrong way, and obviously that's going to happen when you make content. But like, I'm just trying to inform people who is out. I'm not trying to pretend I'm some genius telling you to start guys that aren't playing. But a lot of people aren't as up to date on NFL news as you, and they need to know who's out, especially this morning with Alvin Kamara being out. So yeah, I'm just reporting who's out. I actually switched it up this week rather than meshing together all the guys that are out with the guys I don't like. Like, I just separated out. Like, these are the guys that are out, and these are the guys that I think are playing but are risky. One of those guys is already started, Mark Ingram. But yeah, all these guys ahead of me, above me, are guys that I'm pretty nervous about in fantasy this week. Clyde is definitely one of them. Bateman or London standard. Yeah, you got to go London over Bateman. I think Kyler or Mariota. I have Mariota ranked ahead of Kyler this week. I Mariota ranked ahead of Brady. I have him ranked ahead of Stafford. I have him ranked ahead of most people. I have him ranked 6th this week because he plays the Browns. The Browns have been really bad. They have no Myles Garrett. The Browns defense, the Falcons offensive line ranks 4th best this week. Rashad Bateman or Mike Williams, I would go Mike over Rashad Bateman. I like Bateman a lot, but I would still play Mike Williams over him. I'm definitely playing Khalil Herbert over Cordova Patterson. I think in most situations, like, start Khalil Herbert versus Drake London. Amari, this one's close. If it's a PPR league, I'm okay going Drake London, though. Wilson or Stafford. Russ is so tough to trust, man. He has looked really bad. He's looked really bad. I think we got to see Russ show us something before we put him in our starting lineup. So yeah, I don't think I would start Russ. Do I start Brandon Cooks? There's two sides to every start-sit decision, but I do like Brandon Cooks this week. Michael Carter or Lazard? I like Michael Carter more than Lazard. I don't trust Lazard at all, man. I don't trust Lazard at all this week. 9.5-point favorites against the Pats. Romeo Dubs coming off a really good game. Christian Watson's going to be back this week too. I mean, what's the floor for Lazard? Probably close to 0 points. It's probably close to 0 points in a game that they're probably going to lead pretty heavily, in a game that they're going to run likely a lot. All right, let me run through my DraftKings lineup one more time. I am trotting this lineup out in a high stakes contest this week where I could win $100K first place prize. Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, Khalil Herbert, Tyler Lockett, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, TJ Hawkinson, Isaiah McKenzie, and the Bears. It's really tough. I think you got to go Josh Allen on DraftKings this week. He's the highest priced QB, but I also think he's the highest ceiling and the highest floor among all quarterbacks. So I love that combination for Josh Allen. And because he's the highest priced QB, maybe his ownership won't be too high. But I also like running it back with Rashad Bateman. I think if you're playing Josh Allen or Lamar this week on DraftKings, you got to play Bateman. I think you got to play Bateman just in general. I think his ceiling is extremely high, and his price is very fair on DraftKings as well. I got my DraftKings lineup pulled up on the YouTube Live. Come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio to see that. Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. You can't bench Lamar, man. You just can't bench Lamar. We also already saw Joe Burrow play this week. So, I mean, that decision's in the past. But yeah, Lamar Jackson's my number 2 QB this week. Josh Allen's my number 1 QB. Obviously, those guys going against each other this week. Happy Football Sunday. Happy Football Sunday, man. Ethan, the football has already started too, man. This is the London morning games are amazing. Like, I love having this game in the background right now as the Vikings. I think this is their 3rd drive. The Saints pretty much gone 3 and out twice, it feels like. Obviously haven't been able to watch super closely, but right as I say that, Kirk Cousins throws it directly to the Saints and they intercept the ball. So the Saints are going to be back on the field. I would go to the Eagles game, but the weather's awful. Pick one: DJ Moore, Zeke, Dillon, or Romeo Dubs. I would go AJ Dillon over all of these guys. I think are you saying like you would actually go physically to the game, but the weather's going to be bad? So let me pull up the Eagles weather game. And yeah, this is one of these same. So there's actually 3 games with the same exact, basically the same exact weather report today. Like about 50 degrees, 55 degrees, light rain, light wind. It's the Eagles Jaguars game. It's the Giants Bears game. It's the Ravens Bills game. But that weather doesn't concern me like that much. Light rain, even like moderate rain. This is stuff that guys can play through. Yeah, I would go to the game. Yeah, Ethan. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little soft. It's a little bit soft to not go to the game because of rain. But I also I don't blame you, man. Like the older I get, the more I just like staying home and watching all of the games on my couch. Like I don't know, maybe that's a soft take by me too, but that's how I feel more and more these days. Cooks, DK, Josh Reynolds, or Romeo Dubs in flex. I like DK. I think the most out of all these guys. Michael, I think DK Metcalf still has a really high ceiling. I like Lockett more than him this week because the Lions have been really bad against slot receivers. But yeah, I think I would go DK Metcalf in this one. Last question, Sam. Would you play Herbert over Fournette? Yeah, I would. I would play Herbert over Fournette. Hey, Sam, flex, spot, non-PPR, Ayuk, Melvin Gordon, MBS, Hines, great content. Thanks, man. Yeah, non-PPR, I really want to lean towards the running backs in this one. Probably Melvin Gordon first and then Hines. Yeah, I would probably go Melvin Gordon, though, in this one. Non-PPR really does change things. Breece Hall or Herbert at flex. I would go Herbert over Breece. Again, let me pull up my running back rankings this week. I really think you've got to be starting Khalil Herbert and Jamal Williams in so many situations. Hey, Sam, start 2, CEH, Gordon, ETN. Yeah, that's just disgusting. That's just, Lucas, that's just disgusting. I think I would go Clyde and ETN in that one, but I'm nervous about both guys. At least both guys will probably catch some passes, though. Romeo Dubs or Josh Reynolds in PPR. I would lean Dubs over Reynolds. I think Reynolds is a little sketchy. Thanks. I got you, man. Full PPR, Bateman or Dillon. Yeah, Max. We answered this one earlier on this live, too. I think this is a really good question. And in my opinion, I'd be starting AJ Dillon because I think Dillon's got a really safe floor and still a pretty high ceiling. But if you're in a matchup where you feel like you are a big underdog, then you got to try out Rashad Bateman because Rashad Bateman's ceiling is so high. He leads the league in yards per reception. He is a 3.5 point underdog against the Bills this week, I believe, at home. I think that game's at home. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about that one. I think the spread probably would have been more, though, if it was in Buffalo. And the Bills secondary is completely ravaged. I mean, they're one of the most injured defenses in the league. Yeah, it is at home. So yeah, I don't hate Rashad Bateman this week. He's coming off a bad week, only 59 yards, 2 catches. Like he doesn't have a game with more than 7 targets yet. He hasn't seen that much volume, but I think in this game he has a high ceiling. But again, I still like AJ Dillon more. But if you think you're going to get crushed this week, I think Bateman could bail you out. Josh Jacobs or Cordero. I'm going Josh Jacobs over Cordero 100%. Cordero or DK PPR flex, got to be DK, man. Hey, Sam, Trevor Lawrence or Russ? I'd go Lawrence. Judy or Godwin? I would go Judy. Dubs or Curtis Samuel? I'd go Curtis Samuel in that one. Should I start Olave over Juju and Pierce? Guys, the Saints game already started. The Saints start decisions are over. There's no more decisions to be made. We're almost in the second quarter of this game because we woke up today and it was London time, man. It was London time. That game started in London about, 45 minutes ago now? I mean, you got to wake up earlier on Sundays, guys. But I would have probably told you to start Olave. Guys, that Taysom Hill run, I think I just saw Taysom Hill run. There's no way that was Andy Dalton. So, yeah, we got to Taysom Hill run. We're on the board. If we started Taysom Hill at tight end, guys, we are on the board. We avoided 0 points in our tight end slot, and Taysom Hill's coming off the field, but still good to see. Do I drop Dubs or Josh Reynolds and pick up Elijah Moore? Yeah, I would drop Josh Reynolds and pick up Elijah Moore. I actually picked up Elijah Moore in one of my leagues this morning. I was pretty surprised to see him there. And you actually had to scroll down a little. I think it was on Yahoo, too, to find Elijah Moore. His projection is pretty low. People have just completely forgotten about Elijah Moore. It's actually pretty shocking with how good he was last season, how people have just forgotten about him so fast after a slow start to this season. Plus, Zach Wilson's coming back this week. That could really shake things up in the target distribution for the New York Jets. I like Elijah Moore. He hasn't had more than 50 yards this season, hasn't had more than 10 points, doesn't have any touchdowns. But I do think his ceiling is still there. We saw it last season, guys. He averaged 17 fantasy points per game in the last 6 weeks of last season. So we know he can do it. And Zach Wilson's returning. I would definitely add Elijah Moore. I don't know if I would start him this week, but I would add him. Let me pull up the picks against the spread one more time. Do want to talk through just some more of these games. So I did take the Vikings -4 against the Saints. They're up 7-0 right now. Saints have the ball. Obviously, a lot of game left there. I'm taking so many underdogs this week, though. I like the Jaguars +6.5 versus the Eagles. Jaguars just destroyed the Chargers. They're getting no respect. I do like the Bills to beat the Ravens. I feel like that's the Bills-Ravens game is certainly the best game of the week. You got Josh Allen, MVP candidate. You got Lamar Jackson, definitely the leading MVP candidate. I would even, dare I say he's the unanimous MVP up to this point in the season. And we finally got a Chris Olave catch, guys. That's what we love to see. We'd love to see it. Olave's on the board, Taysom Hill on the board in the same drive. But yeah, I would definitely add Elijah Moore. All right, Kirk or Curtis Samuel or Judy at flex. Probably Christian Kirk in this one. Gabe Davis or Deontay Johnson. I'd go Deontay. What's happening with Olave? He just had his first catch, Ace. It's the first quarter. So not too much left to talk about with Chris Olave. We just got to watch now at this point. The game already started. Gabe Davis or Deontay Johnson. I'd go Deontay Johnson over Gabriel Davis. Hey, Sam, need to flex one full PPR, Bateman, Penny, or Robert Woods. Also Kyler Murray or Lawrence. Yeah, I'd go Kyler, and I think I'd go Bateman. I'd go Kyler and Bateman to that one in the TikTok live. Again, we're live on YouTube and TikTok. On the YouTube live, you get a little bit more information. You get all my top 10 rankings for every single position, and you get my DraftKings lineup, and you get all my picks against the spread, all on the YouTube live, completely free. Plus, on the YouTube live, I can pull up your comment a little easier. I'm playing Aaron Jones over AJ Dillon always, but I do like both this week a lot. We are going to be live right up till kickoff of the early games. There is already a game started, though, right now, which I will be updating us on. This is the question that we really need to be asking ourselves on the Sunday morning. Is it Craig Reynolds or is it Damon Harris? And guys, Craig Reynolds is this week's sleeper. I'm going to tell some people to start Craig Reynolds on this live. I am starting Craig Reynolds in a couple of my deeper leagues, and I do like him more than Damon Harris this week, Gabriel. And it's really the matchup. Just look at the two matchups. First of all, Patriots 9.5-point underdogs. They're starting Brian Hoyer. Guys, if you're starting Brian Hoyer in 2022 in the NFL, like that is an automatic loss, an auto L. Like you don't even really need to play the game. We know the Patriots are losing. I think they could still cover the spread. I'm actually taking them at 9.5 points. It just feels like so many points, but you can't start Damon Harris in this game. They're 9.5-point underdogs. Damon Harris played less snaps, less touches than Mondre last week. Like it's just so brutal. It's so brutal for Damon Harris. And Craig Reynolds, on the other hand, he's going to assume the Jamal Williams role this week as Jamal Williams assumes the DeAndre Swift role. And they're playing arguably the worst defensive line in the league, and they have arguably a top 5 offensive line in the league. I mean, all the stars are aligning for Craig Reynolds to return actual fantasy value this week. I have him in a couple of my DraftKings lineups too to leverage off of Jamal Williams, who's probably going to be the most rostered player on DraftKings this week. I love Jamal Williams this week too. Obviously, the DeAndre Swift role is really valuable that he's going to be assuming this week. But yeah, I like Craig Reynolds. I think there's some legs to Craig Reynolds this week for sure. How many leagues are you in? So it depends what we quantify as a league. So I did close to 500 best ball drafts this offseason, but those aren't really leagues because there's no in-season management. That's why I'm able to do so many. All I do is the draft. There's no starting, sitting. There's no adding, dropping. There's no trading. Like your best lineups just submitted for you each week. But I'm in 9 season-long leagues, 6 of which are high stakes. The other 3 are more like casual, more for friends or charity type leagues that aren't as serious. But yeah, I'm in basically 6 high stakes fantasy leagues. And I'm having relatively mixed results, but not terrible results so far this season. I'm definitely 3-0 in 2 of them. I think 2-1 and 3, and then 1-2 in the other 2. I have at least 1 win in all the leagues, but it's still very early. Penny or Craig Reynolds? Yeah, I'm playing Penny over Craig Reynolds. Like let's not go too far with the Craig Reynolds thing, but I do think he's an interesting sleeper. But I still like Penny more. I think Penny gets more touches than Craig Reynolds. I started Kamara because I was asleep. I'm screwed this week. Yeah, Max, man, you got to own up to your mistake. You got to be better moving forward. You got to be aware of these London games. You got to be aware of the London games because we were on London time this morning. I woke up an extra 2 hours early this morning because I have a lot of teams. And I do have Alvin Kamara in a couple spots. And yeah, you had to move him out, man. You had to move him out. Devonte Williams or Jamal Williams. I like Jamal more. Pollard or Carter. I like Pollard, I think, a little bit more than Carter. Let's get a quick news update. Make sure we haven't missed any player news since we started this live. Brian Robinson, by the way, Brian Robinson, the guy that was shot twice in the leg, the rookie who was going to be the starting running back for the Commanders heading into week 1. He's about to get activated. He's going to be back next week. He's probably going to be back by week 5. And that's going to be really ugly for Antonio Gibson, who, if you've been listening to me at all since the season started, Antonio Gibson's been probably the most obvious sell candidate in fantasy for the past couple of weeks because we know Brian Robinson's lurking. He's lurking, and he's going to be back probably next week. So, yeah, you want to sell Antonio Gibson as fast as possible because Brian Robinson's probably going to get the early down work in this game. Vikings first-round safety was just declared out with leg injury. That's not good. So we do have some line movement now on the weather games that I feel compelled to update everybody on. Weatherman Sam putting his weatherman hat back on again. Is that Chris Olave? Please tell me that's Chris Olave. Let's go, guys. That's a huge dub in the chat. A Chris Olave TD, 3rd and goal. I still can't really see it. Yeah, it was Chris Olave. It was Chris Olave, guys. Dubs in the chat for that. That's a W in the chat for the Chris Olave TD. We were all if you were on this live, if you were on London time, I likely told you to start Chris Olave. So we're taking the Chris Olave TD. That's a huge dub, guys. Huge dub. He started slow, but he came back strong. Chris Olave, guys, is the real deal. He really is the real deal. He's already returned value for us this morning. Olave, huge TD. Huge TD. But again, going back to this weather report for the weather today, I'm now getting more concerned. Did he catch it? Oh God, did we celebrate too soon? It looked like he got it. It looks like he got it. There's some line movement in these weather games. So again, there's 3 games that have basically, based on what I was reading, let me pull up actually. Let's get a second report here now that I'm seeing some of this. That basically have all the same weather. There's light rain and light wind up to 15 miles an hour in these games. But the 3 games, it's the Jaguars and the Eagles. That game's in Philadelphia. There's going to be rain pretty much the whole time, and the wind could get up to 16 miles an hour. Then we also have the Bills and the Ravens. Same thing. The wind in that one could get up to 18 miles an hour. That's a little bit more scary. But again, light rain, not like heavy rain, light rain in those games. It's all pretty concerning. So again, and then the Bears-Giants game. The Bears-Giants game is also similar type of weather. So the Bills-Ravens game, that over-under has dropped 2 points. The Jaguars-Eagles game, though, has dropped the most. The over-under dropped 3.5 points. The Bears-Giants game only dropped half a point. So it looks like they're most concerned about this Eagles-Jaguars weather. The over-under for the Bills-Ravens game, by the way, is still 50. Still 50 points. Like, this is still going to be a really high-scoring game. I'm not going to overreact to the weather, but it sounds like that the Jaguars-Eagles game is the most concerning game for passing attacks. Evans or Najee. Yeah, you can't bench Najee, man. You can't bench Najee. You just can't bench him. You picked him in the first round. He's still seeing the bulk of the touches. Like, you got to play Najee, I think. Schultz or Conklin. I would go Schultz. I get the Conklin hype. I see a lot of Conklin questions. Like, I get it. He's been one of the most consistent tight ends in fantasy somehow. But, guys, it's still Tyler Conklin that we're talking about. Tyler Conklin, he has run the most routes in the league at tight end. No tight ends run more routes than him because no quarterback has ever thrown this many passes through the first 3 weeks of the season. Guys, Joe Flacco set the record for the most passing attempts in the first 3 weeks of a season ever. Joe Flacco in 2022 set that record. I mean, absolutely ridiculous to expect that to continue. And yeah, Tyler Conklin, 7 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets through the first 3 weeks. He's had over 10 fantasy points through the first 3 weeks. Each of the first 3 weeks. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't think that trend's going to continue, though. Like, I would definitely be playing Schultz over him. Brandon Cooks or DK. I would probably lean towards DK Metcalf over Brandon Cooks. I like both of them this week a decent amount, but I think Metcalf's ceiling's a little higher. I like Miles Sanders in this game even more now. Again, the Eagles are huge favorites. There's concerning weather in this game that could affect passing attacks. I think Miles Sanders is in a pretty good spot this week to outperform his expectation. Pick 2 full PPR, Khalil Herbert, Jonathan Taylor. I'm assuming that's Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, James Robinson. Yeah, you got to play Herbert, Jonathan Taylor. You got to play Jonathan Taylor, obviously. And then Herbert, I think. New kicker for Gano because of the rain. Yeah, you could definitely be a little concerned about the kicking situations because of the rain. Yeah, I would look other ways. Young Wei Koo is the guy to have, by the way, in fantasy. Hey, Sam, Mondre, Dylan, Reynolds. You want guys in domes, by the way. If you're looking for kickers, I mean, go get the guys in domes on good offenses. Mondre, Dillon, or Reynolds. Yeah, you're starting Dillon. 100%. You're starting Dillon. Yo, Sam, how's it going? It's going well, man. Mike Williams, Juju, Lockett. I am not benching Lockett this week. I think his ceiling is just too high to ignore. Devontae Parker, Dotson, or Quinimus. I cannot say this name. I'm not even gonna try one more time. I have Scary Terry starting already. Yeah, I'd probably go Devontae Parker if you already have Scary Terry starting. Yards, my man, how's it going? It's going great. We already have a Chris Olave TD in the books, which we love to see because we were up on London time this morning, Yards. I've been up for a few hours already. We're already a couple hours into the stream. Started earlier today because we were on London time. And we knew we had to start Chris Olave because there's no Michael Thomas in this game. There's no Alvin Kamara in this game. And Andy Dalton starting, that was a little concerning. But yeah, Olave is a beast, guys. He's going to be a beast in this league for a long time. And going to your question here, Yarsman, you got to start Bateman, man. And there's a little bit of concern about the rain and the wind in this game, but there's still an over-under of 50 points in this Bills-Ravens game. The Bills are going to put up points. Lamar, MVP type season so far. The Bills defense is also very injured. Like, you got to start Bateman, I think. Mr. Samuel. I don't know if I've ever been called Mr. Samuel. I was called Mr. Factor as a teacher. I don't think ever Mr. Samuel. Breece Hall or Kareem Hunt. I like Hunt a lot this week too. I think Hunt is a pretty good under the radar play against the Falcons. And I'll pull up on the TikTok live again. Let me just show you guys the offensive line situation in this game. I think it's pretty interesting to look at that both the Browns and the Falcons, I like the over in this game too. Both the Browns and the Falcons are top 4 offensive line situations this week. I'm not going to spend too much time on these kickers, but yeah, I'd go Carlson over Sucka. Yeah, both these offensive lines are set up, but the Browns have the number 1 offensive line ranking this week. I think you can trust Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb with some confidence. Adam Thielen with another big catch. Devonte Smith or Khalil Herbert. Yeah, I'd go Khalil Herbert over Devonte Smith this week. I know Devontae's been balling. Should I start Chargers defense or Giants? I would start the Giants. I mean, the Chargers are without Joey Bosa. J.C. Jackson's supposed to play this week, I think. But the Giants are going to be in a rainy game. That over-under, I think, is probably the lowest of the week against – they're playing the Bears. I like the Bears defense a lot too. But, guys, the Bears offensive line is so bad. The Giants offensive line too. I mean, but that game's going to be a defensive battle. And it's rainy and it's windy. Like, that game is definitely one to target for the defenses. Michael Carter or Clyde, PPR. Yeah, I would lean Clyde, I think, over Carter, but it's definitely close. Sam the man, Judy or Burks. Half PPR. Love the app, Sam. Thanks, Philip. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app, you got to check it out. It's exactly what's behind me on the TikTok live right now. You can do this for free. By the way, the O-line analyzer in our app, 100% completely free. We get a lot of hate sometimes, or like, why are you charging so much for your app, man? It's like, well, the app's actually completely free. Some of the premium features cost money, but there's also a lot to do for free in the app. You can do as many start-sit comparisons as you want for free. You can analyze as many trades as you want for free, and you can look at detailed offensive line analysis, really the best O-line analysis that's out there, period, for free in the WalterPicks app as well. That's on the iOS and Android app store. Let me go back to the guys that I think are very risky plays this week, and also guys that are just straight up out this week on the TikTok live. But yeah, going back to your question, Philip, thanks for shouting out the app. Got me a little distracted there. I would go Judy over Burks. I like Burks still, but it's tough to trust Burks very much. Like, his floor is still really low. He ran the most routes, though, that he's run each of the last 2 weeks. Like, his routes are upticking. He was really efficient, Burks, the first 2 weeks. Had a bad week last week, only 1 catch. But yeah, I do like Judy more than Burks this week. Trust CMC or sit? I think you got to trust CMC. Put up your wide receiver rankings. I got you, man. Wide receiver rankings, top 10 on the YouTube live. Again, link is in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. Lockett, Godwin, Samuel. I would go Lockett, Brody. I think Lockett's ceiling is astronomically high this week. Like, Lockett could be the number 1 receiver this week. That's within his range of outcomes. We've seen it from Lockett before with these monster games. But don't get me wrong. Lockett still has a low floor. He's still catching passes from Geno Smith. And he's still Tyler Lockett. But, guys, he has back-to-back games with 11 targets. And this week he gets the Lions, who have been the worst defense against slot receivers this season. And then you look at Lockett, and he is the primary slot receiver for the Seahawks. So, yeah, I like Lockett a lot. He's played a fourth of his snaps from the slot, and that could be even more today in a really exploitable matchup for Tyler Lockett. Hey, Sam, Mac Hollins or Josh Reynolds. Tingus Pingus asking the real questions in the YouTube live right now. And I mean, Mac Daddy really had a huge game last week. I think I would probably go Mac Hollins. They're sort of similar spots. Like Josh Reynolds is, in theory, the top receiver for the Lions this week, but I won't be surprised if Khalif Raymond got more targets than him. I won't be surprised if Craig Reynolds touches the ball more than Josh Reynolds. I won't be surprised if, when Jamal Williams leads this team in touches. Reynolds feels a little safer, but after what we saw from Mac Hollins last week, he's out there every single snap, and there's no Hunter Renfrow again. So I'm okay going Mac Hollins. Mike Will, Hollywood, or Kirk at flex. Mike Williams, Hollywood, or Kirk at flex. Yeah, all three of these guys I feel like are really in the same tier. I really do like Hollywood Brown, though, this week again with no DeAndre Hopkins. It still feels like we haven't seen the game from Marquise Brown yet. I don't know if you guys feel that way or not, but obviously he had an insane amount of targets last week. Guys, he had 17 targets last week against Jalen Ramsey and the Rams. He turned that into 14 catches, 140 yards. He was the number 3 receiver last week, and he didn't even score a touchdown. He has 1 touchdown this season. He actually bailed out his week 1. If you guys remember, back in week 1, he only had 4 catches, but he bailed out late in that game with a touchdown. I think that game was pretty much already over too. But yeah, he's played over 90% of the snaps. He's running a ton of routes. The Cardinals defense is really bad. I like Marquise Brown a lot. And I don't think we've seen his ceiling game. His ceiling game is like what we saw last week, but with a couple more big catches and a couple TDs, all of a sudden he's at 40 points. Dylan or Pierce? Yeah, I would go Dylan, I think, over Pierce. I think this is a Dylan week. Thanks, Sam. Carr, Stafford, Mariota, appreciate you. Yeah, let me pull my QB rankings again. And I'm telling you, my QB rankings, they're going to make some of you queasy. They're going to make some of you queasy this week. And I understand it, but this is how the rankings came out when I did the projections this week. Mariota projects so well. The offensive line looks really good. Drake London, Kyle Pitts against this Browns defense looks like a good spot for Mariota, who's also running at a top 3 rate in the league at the quarterback position. So yeah, I have Mariota ranked ahead of Stafford. I have Mariota ranked ahead of Carr. I'm starting Mariota in some DraftKings lineups. I think if you have George Kittle, Joe, you got to start George Kittle. You have to start George Kittle. I honestly kind of like Craig Reynolds more than Josh Reynolds. Not gonna lie, I saw that in the TikTok live. Most people would probably tell you Josh Reynolds, but it's close. I mean, I like Craig Reynolds. I like Craig Reynolds as a sleeper this week. I don't think it's going to be that difficult for Craig Reynolds to get in the end zone. Christian Kirk or Sanders in the rain at flex. Yeah, Sanders is the safest guy in that game with the rain. But yeah, you have to start Kittle. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. I don't think he's in my top 4 or 5. Yeah, he ranks number 5 for me. George Kittle. I have Waller and Pitts ahead of him, but after that, you got to start Kittle. Hawkinson's another tight end that just needs to be started this week. There's no DJ Chark. There's no Among Us St. Brown. Do I start Jerry Jeudy? Yeah, I think Judy's got an interesting ceiling. Pitts or Higbee. I got Pitts ahead of Higbee, but it's close. Both good options, I think. T-Law or Geno? We're not starting Geno, man. You got to start Trevor Lawrence. By the way, Trevor Lawrence, quietly. Not so quietly now that they beat the Chargers last week, but not so quietly, I guess. Trevor Lawrence having a second-year breakout season. Guys, listen to some of these stats. Trevor Lawrence, his true passer rating, 5th in the league. QBR, 7th in the league. He has been pretty accurate so far this season. He ranks top 10 in basically every accuracy rating. His completion percentage, top 10 in the NFL. His adjusted air yards per attempt top 10 in the league. Like, it's not like he's just taking easy underneath passes. Trevor Lawrence has taken a big step this season. And it's not that surprising. He went from maybe the worst NFL coach I've witnessed, and I've witnessed some bad NFL coaches, guys. I was around for Jeff Fisher. I was here for a lot of horrible coaches. Adam Gase comes to mind, but Urban Meyer, I think, tops them all. And that's definitely a big reason that we've seen this resurgence for Trevor Lawrence. Like, he was just had so much going against him last season. Viking safety was ruled out for this game. Probably a good sign for Chris Olave. Dameon Pierce or Curtis Samuel. I would lean towards Dameon Pierce over Curtis Samuel. It's definitely close. How safe is Mariota greater than Goff? Money line, fantasy points. I think it's pretty safe. I honestly think it's pretty safe. Like, I would say greater than 60 65% chance Mariota outscores Goff. Again, think about the situation Goff's in. It's a good matchup for Goff. Like, that's the one thing that has me hesitant to only put it at like 60%, Ethan, of Mariota outscoring Goff this week, because he plays the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are so bad. They're Swiss cheese on defense. They have, I think, the least talented defense in the entire NFL. But Goff has no DJ Chark, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no DeAndre Swift this week. So, like, you consider that. It's going to be likely very run heavy for the Lions this week. It's going to be a lot of Jamal Williams. I think Craig Reynolds gets 10 plus touches in this game too. I feel pretty confident in Mariota over Goff this week straight up. I need 2 wide receivers to start: Curtis Samuel, Rashad Bateman, Devonte Smith. It's tough to bench Devonte Smith, but this weather does have me a little bit worried. It does have me a little bit worried. Again, it's this game. It's the Jaguars-Eagles game that they've moved the over-under down the most because of the weather, which I think is a good enough tiebreaker for me to say Curtis Samuel and Rashad Bateman. Definitely I would start Bateman, though, in this one. Gibson or Dortch at the flex. Yeah, I'd go Gibson, I think, over Dortch at the flex. This is kind of the last week you're going to get, I think, out of Gibson, because once Brian Robinson returns, he's going to be impossible to trust on a weekly basis. Chase Claypool or Rondale Moore. Yeah, guys, Rondale Moore, a name we have not really discussed on these lives because he has not played a game this season. He tweaked his hamstring right before the season, and he is expected to play in week 4 against the Panthers. Moore missed a big chance, guys, in his first games without DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, A.J. Green out too. And it's tough to know how much he's ready to play. So he's definitely sort of an increased risk, which makes me want to lean Chase Claypool at least for this week. Or do I go with Cleve Raymond off waivers? No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I would go Chase Claypool, I think, over Rondale Moore this week. I was excited for Rondale Moore this season. I think he would have had a big role had he not been hurt, but it's just so tough to know what his role is going to look like coming off this hamstring injury. Hi, Sam. Khalil Herbert, Javonte Williams, or Amari Cooper for flex. By the way, I do think Rondale Moore is better than Greg Dortch, just overall. I will put that on record. I would really want to start Khalil Herbert this week. Amari Cooper, Javonte, really good options. But in this weather too, this rainy weather game for the Bears, Khalil Herbert's getting 20 touches this week. I think he's extremely talented. I don't think the Giants defense is anything to be very scared of. We just saw them on Monday night against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys beat them in that game. Pollard and Zeke did pretty well in that game too. Juju, Lazard, Pollard at flex. Yeah, I think I would lean Pollard in this one. Sam, one more big question. I got you, man. Are you starting Herbert over Fournette in a full PPR? Yeah, so Fournette's such a tough one. He's gotten such good usage. He's playing the Chiefs tonight. Obviously, that's a good matchup. Khalil Herbert's playing in the rain. If anything, I think that maybe helps Khalil Herbert. Fournette ranks so well in basically every metric. He's 6th in weighted opportunities per game. He's the 3rd highest snap share in the league. He's actually run some of the most routes at the running back position too. He's 4th most routes run at the running back position. He doesn't have a touchdown this season, which is ridiculous. I don't have Fournette in my top 10. I'm okay playing Khalil Herbert over him, but it's definitely a tough one. Certainly a tough one. I want to pull this stat up again too, because I think this is a pretty interesting thing to watch this week. The Eagles are the 2nd biggest favorite of the week. They're the only undefeated team left now that the Dolphins are out of the undefeated club. If the Eagles lose today, this will be the earliest we don't have an undefeated team since 1972. This will be the earliest we had every team suffer an L since 1972. I mean, talk about the disparity in the league. Pretty cool if that were to happen. No teams undefeated through 4 weeks. I mean, that almost never happens. Almost never. Usually we have like a 6-0, even 7-0 team in the league. Ayuk, Ramondre Stevenson, James Conner, or Penny at flex. Yeah, I honestly lean Penny. I lean Penny in this one. Mondre is interesting. The Pats are big underdogs. He could get a lot of catches. James Conner is really tough to trust for me. And Ayuk, I think, is tough to trust against the Rams too. Penny does have a good matchup against the Lions. Last question, Sam, please. Chubb or Fournette? Yeah, you can't bench Chubb. Chubb's the number 1 running back in fantasy right now. And the Browns have the number 1 offensive line matchup this week. So, yeah, you got to start Chubb. I think you got to start Hunt too. A.J. Brown or Amari Cooper, do not bench A.J. Brown. Guys, do not bench A.J. Brown this week. And I know the weather. You do have Fournette in your top 10 at 4 or 5, I think. Oh, God. You're right. You're right. I'm at number 4. I'm at number 4. Xavier. Thank you. Thank you for this. I don't know why I thought he wasn't in there. I love this is why it's good to have rankings though, because I answer a lot of questions on the Slav, and yeah, you got to play Fournette over Khalil Herbert. I take this one back. I would play Fournette over Herbert for so many of the reasons we just listed too. He doesn't have a touchdown this season, but his workload has been there. He has one of the highest snap rates in the league, third highest snap rate in the league. His weighted opportunities, top 10 in the league. Like, and this is all stuff that doesn't get weighted by touchdowns. He's going to score a touchdown this week. It's only a matter of time till Fournette finds the end zone. So yeah, I'd play Fournette over Khalil Herbert and over Jamal Williams. Hollywood, Sutton, or James Robinson at flex. I would go Sutton over Hollywood. I would go Sutton over James Robinson. Sutton's been so good. Curtis Samuel in free agency pool. Should I pick him up and drop Juju? God, like he's been so much better than Juju. I'm okay. I'm okay with the move. It doesn't sit great with me because obviously Juju's with Pat Mahomes and Curtis Samuel's still maybe the number 2 or 3 receiver with Carson Wentz. But yeah, he's been so much better. They're scheming him touches. Like I'm okay taking Samuel over Juju. Devonte Smith or Judy. I like Judy more. Najee or Khalil. You got to play Najee over Khalil. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is right in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. And you'll see I have Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert as top 10 running backs this week. Josh Reynolds or Mac Hollins in the flex. Actually, Ray, I think someone else asked this one earlier too. I lean Mac Daddy. I lean Mac Hollins over Josh Reynolds. We just saw it from Mac Hollins. That's the thing. Like we haven't really seen it that much from Josh Reynolds. And I know that DJ Chark, Among Us, St. Brown are out, but also Hunter Renfro's out again. So we know Mac Hollins is going to play every single snap again. And we literally just saw it from Mac. Josh Reynolds did have 10 targets last week, 15 points last week. Like he's definitely in play. But I think I like Mac Hollins just a tiny bit more than Josh Reynolds this week. What's up, Sam? Pitts, Hawk, or Everett? Yeah, I'd rank them in this order. Pitts, then Hawk, then Everett. Hawk is a really good play this week too. Same reason as Josh Reynolds. No DJ Chark, no Amon-Ra St. Brown. So look at all the injuries this week. There's so many injuries this week. I mean, it's crazy. The injuries are really starting to stack up. CMC or Sutton. I'm not benching CMC if he plays, obviously. We don't know for sure he's playing yet, though. Christian Kirk or Garrett Wilson. I like Kirk a little bit more than Garrett Wilson this week. I know that there's some wind in that game, but I'm a little bit nervous about Garrett Wilson in Zach Wilson's first game. I think there's a little bit more uncertainty there than there usually is for Garrett Wilson, who also I also feel like all the Jets players, their stats are a little bit pumped. Joe Flacco set a NFL record for the most passing attempts in the first 3 weeks of the season ever. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Gabe Davis, Garrett Wilson, or Ayuk, I need 2. Yeah, in this one, I would bench Ayuka, the bazooka. Can we get a weather rundown, Sam? Yeah, so there's really 3 games you need to be aware about for the weather. We were just going through some of them, but I'll pull it back up. And I'll also just talk through how the over-unders have moved. Because that's like one of the best ways to see if the over-unders are moving. Like those over-unders are really accurate. And they would only move if we should care about the weather. And there's 3 games where they're moving. The Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens game, that over-under dropped from 52 down to 50 because there's light rain and wind up to maybe 20 miles an hour. Tops 20 miles an hour, it looks like. Light rain. The over-under is still 50 points, though. So, like, play the guys in this game, guys. Play Rashad Bateman. Play Lamar Jackson. Play Josh Allen, obviously. Play Stephon Diggs. Even Gabe Davis can be played. Devin Singletary can be played. Like, the over-under in this game is still really high. So, play these guys. I still play Dawson Knox, too. I still think Dawson Knox has a pretty good chance at the TD. No TDs for Dawson Knox yet this season. But he has been out there a lot for the Bills. Jaguars, Eagles. This game has moved the most down. It's gone from a 47-point over-under to a 43.5 over-under. That's a pretty big move. And this seems like the worst weather of the day. The Jags and the Eagles. I'm pretty nervous. I'm most nervous about this game. I'm not going to overreact too much. I'm still playing A.J. Brown for sure. Devonte Smith maybe gets a slight knock. Christian Kirk gets a slight knock. But I still think both those guys are very much in play. I still feel pretty good about James Robinson this week. And I think, honestly, if this helps anyone, it helps Miles Sanders, I think, the most in this game. The Eagles are still 6.5-point favorites. The over-under moves down, but they're huge favorites. Slightly bad weather. I think that benefits Miles Sanders a decent amount. The last game to be aware of, and I think this is going to be was going to be a defensive battle. Similar weather in this game. The Bears and the Giants. Light rain, light wind. Light wind up to 20 miles an hour. 25 miles an hour is no longer light wind. 25 miles an hour of wind is like, yeah, you should be benching pretty much this entire passing attack. The Bears, I'm trusting Khalil Herbert this week. I'm not trusting anyone else. I mean, get Darnell Mooney, guys, on your bench. And then the Giants, Richie James, I thought was in play. This weather has me a little bit nervous about Richie James, who's going to be the leading receiver for the Giants because they have so many injuries in this game. Saquon obviously has to be started. though. Really like both sides of the ball. Like you're starting Saquon, you're starting Khalil Herbert, and like nobody else. Nobody else can be trusted. And that game has a 38.5 over under. I think that's the lowest of the week. I really like the Bears defense. I like the Giants defense too. Who do I start between James Conner, James Robinson, and Jamal Williams? It's the last two. Bench James Conner. Start James Robinson. Start Jamal Williams. Christian Kirk, Scary Terry, or Sutton. I think I would go Sutton over Scary Terry. And the weather honestly is enough for me to say Sutton over Christian Kirk. Does Juju or Greg Dortch have a higher ceiling PPR? Juju definitely has a higher ceiling in PPR. And the reason this week for that is Rondale Moore is probably returning. And Rondale Moore is better than Greg Dortch. Rondale Moore is the guy they wanted Greg Dortch, wanted to be in the Greg Dortch role. Greg Dortch has done enough, though, that maybe they're going to split that role that Rondale Moore would have played at the start of the season before his hamstring injury. So I don't feel great about Greg Dortch, though, with Rondale Moore coming back. I think that really, really lowers his floor and ceiling. James Robinson, Hunt, or Pierce. I like all three of these guys this week, Tommy, but the guy with the best offensive line matchup this week is Kareem Hunt. The Browns have the number one offensive line matchup this week in a dome against the Falcons. I think Hunt is pretty safe and has a really high ceiling. We've already seen the ceiling for Hunt. I think that was back in week 1, if I recall correctly. Meanwhile, Nick Chubb leads the league in fantasy points. Like, this is what we expected from the Browns, right? We knew they were going to lean so heavy on the run without Deshaun Watson for the bulk of the season. And that's exactly what's happened. Kareem Hunt's seeing the role we expected, 45% snap share through the first 3 weeks. He's not going to get 20 carries, but he might not need 20 carries against this Falcons defense. I'm okay going Hunt, but I think all three of these guys have some legs this week. And I actually like Dameon Pierce a decent amount too. Khalil Herbert or Judy? I'm definitely going Herbert over Judy. You cannot bench Nick Chubb. As much as I like Jamal Williams this week, you can't bench Nick Chubb for Jamal. I think I have Jamal Williams at 6 in my rankings too. Where's Chubb? Yeah, Chubb's at 7. I'm actually going to change that because I think that's inaccurate. I would play Chubb over Jamal Williams. And that's how these rankings should read, is basically who I would start over who. So I'm actually going to adjust this. Again, we're on the YouTube live. You can see my top 10 rankings, every position. You can see my picks against the spread. You can see my DraftKings lineup. You can see everything on the YouTube live. A little bit better reviewing experience. I'm also watching this Vikings Saints game live. Hope you guys were up for London time this morning. Seeing a lot of people in the comments saying they're either playing against or started Alvin Kamara. I knew that would be the case with the late injury report there for Kamara. Pretty brutal. But yeah, I'm playing Chubb over Jamal Williams. Pollard or Godwin? Yeah, Sean, Godwin's a really tough start-sit decision this week because it's his first game back. Last time he played, they rushed him back, and then he got re-injured. Feels like, and I said this last time, and I was wrong last time when I said this, that it seems obvious that the Buccaneers shouldn't play Godwin that much, right? They should ease him back in, get him, make sure he's at 100%, doesn't have any setbacks. But last time, that's not what they did, and then he had a setback. So, again, I still feel like that's what they should do, but assuming optimal coaching is never a winning strategy. I think Pollard's much safer than Godwin this week. Obviously, though, moving forward, once we know Godwin's at full health, it's Godwin over Pollard every single time. Pick 2, Najee Brees or Aaron. I'm assuming you mean Aaron Jones. And yeah, it's got to be Najee and Aaron Jones over Brees. Lazard or Doubs? I like Doubs more than Lazard. It's definitely could go either way between those two guys, but I like Doubs more than Lazard personally. Brissett over Stafford this week. Oh, God, man. I'm not starting Brissett over Stafford. I don't feel good about that. And I don't love Stafford this week. I don't think I have either of these guys in my top 10 QBs. No, I don't. I don't have Stafford in the top 10. I do not have Brissett in the top 10, obviously. Yeah, I would go Stafford. I know it's like a good matchup for Brissett, not necessarily a great matchup for Staff, but I would go Stafford. Lenny, CMC, Herbert, Jamal. Oh, God. Javi, this is a tough one. I have Lenny and CMC both in my top 5, though. So I think you go both those guys. And I do like Jamal Williams more than Khalil Herbert this week, but it's definitely close. Let's pull up the running back rankings again. I still have CMC at number 1. I'm partially doing that just to prove a point, but if CMC plays, you have to start CMC. If he plays, you have to start him, guys. You have to start him. Because who knows how many CMC games we have left at this point. Things are trending in a bad direction with CMC's health. He is very questionable for this game. He might not play, but if he plays, you got to start CMC. You just have to start. Cordell or Lockett or CH, PPR flex, it's got to be Lockett. It's got to be Lockett. Lockett has by far the highest ceiling among these guys. this week. Daryl is risky this week. He's dealing with a knee injury. Apparently, there's actually some real pain with his knee, and he's questionable, but likely going to play. But still, it's tough to see him getting his normal allotment of rushing attempts with this knee injury. He had 17 carries last week. He had a career rushing day, most rushing yards he's ever had last week. By the way, that unsurprisingly came against the Seahawks. Seahawks run defense is so bad. That's why we like Jamal Williams this week. That's why we love Craig Reynolds as a sleeper too. The Seahawks just allowed a career high 153 rushing yards to Cordova Patterson on only 17 carries. And I don't think Cordova Patterson sees those 17 carries again this week, so I'm a little bit nervous. Sam, I know I've been asking a lot of questions, but what's your thoughts about Zeke? Yeah, I think Zeke's looked good, honestly, and I feel like it's getting a little overlooked because he hasn't had any monster games, and Tony Pollard has been very involved. I expected Tony Pollard to be involved, and honestly, Tony Pollard hasn't been as involved as I even expected. He has not been as involved as a receiver as I expected. Pollard's looked really good too. But guys, Zeke has over 60% snap share each of the first 3 weeks. He just scored his first touchdown last week. He's going to need TDs because he only has one catch in each of the first 3 games. I'm pretty shocked at how little Zeke and Pollard have been used in the receiving game to start the season, given all the injuries and offensive line issues they're dealing with. But yeah, overall, I feel like Zeke's looked pretty good. He's passed the eye test. He has not looked as sluggish as last season. And I think that bodes pretty well for Zeke. Sam, please help. Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, AJ Dillon, or Ramondre Stevenson. You can pick 2. Yeah, you got to start AJ Dillon. Again, 9.5-point favorites against the Pats. That is the biggest favorite of the week. The Patriots, underdogs against the Packers. It's an AJ Dillon week. After that, I think it's really close between Breece Hall, Pollard, and Stevenson. I kind of lean towards Breece Hall over Stevenson and Pollard. I think Breece Hall has a really high ceiling. Pollard's similar ceiling maybe, but the Steelers' run defense has not been good this season. I actually think with Zach Wilson returning, we could see the Jets return to a more run-heavy approach too. This Jets-Steelers game could be really, really low scoring though. Sutton, Robinson, or Jamal Williams at flex. I'm okay going Jamal with this one. Greg, it's between Sutton and Jamal for me. I would probably go Jamal, though. Again, I have Jamal as my number 6 running back this week. We just saw Cordova Patterson go for 150 rushing yards against the Seahawks, and the Lions have a significantly better offensive line than the Falcons. I mean, it's a really, really good spot for Jamal Williams. I do think Craig Reynolds could low-key vulture some TDs today. I like him as a deep sleeper, too. But, yeah, I trust Jamal Williams this week a decent amount. Start Hollins and flex. Yeah, Mac Daddy can be trusted in your flex if you need to. Am I crazy to start Richie James over Josh Jacobs? Yes, I do think you're crazy for that. And I don't think I would have said that this morning, but after looking at the weather report in that Giants-Bears game, there is light rain, there is a little bit of wind, and Josh Jacobs has been getting a lot of touches. Like I think Josh Jacobs is being really slept on by most people. Most people have sort of written off Josh Jacobs, but he has had at least 10 carries in every single game. He's played over 64% of the snaps each of the last 2 games. He has over 80 yards each of the last 2 games. He doesn't have a game under 70 yards. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. He's going to score touchdowns. I think Josh Jacobs can be played. He was the 15th running back last week in fantasy. He had 5 catches. He's been pretty involved. Without Hunter Renfrow, too, like he could get another 5 catches this week. So, yeah, I think Josh Jacobs is a pretty interesting slapped-on guy heading into week 4. Aaron Jones or Garrett Wilson? Got to be Aaron Jones, man. Got to be Aaron Jones. You have to start Aaron Jones. Herbert or Lockett for flex. Yeah, Anthony, ask yourself, do you want to lock in at least 10 points? Then go Herbert. Herbert's a locked-in minimum 10 points. Tyler Lockett, though, his ceiling is you win the week. Like, his ceiling is really, really, really high against the Lions. The Lions have been so bad stopping slot receivers. Lockett's seeing 1/4 of his snaps from the slot. That leads the Seahawks in slot snaps. Lockett's ceiling is really high, guys. He's seen 11 targets back-to-back weeks, too. Like, the volume's there for Lockett. Yeah, I might even argue that Lockett's the preferred pass catcher for Geno Smith. So, yeah, I do like Lockett a lot in this game. Is it halftime? I feel like it looks like halftime. I don't know. Looks like it could be halftime in this Vikings game. I don't know, though. Feels like that was a fast half, if it's halftime. Oh, yeah, it's halftime. 13-7. 13-7 Vikings. We saw a touchdown from – so the first half is over. We're on London time this morning. Kirk Cousins, 156 yards and a TD, only 7 incompletions. One of those was a pick, though. He did throw a touchdown to Alexander Mattison. And I guess they have 2 field goals, looks like, as well. Adam Thielen leads the team in receiving, 5 catches, 66 yards. Justin Jefferson does have 5 catches, 42 yards as well. Dalvin Cook, 10 carries, 34 yards, and 2 catches, 10 yards, no TDs. Little concerning for Dalvin Cook. Madison obviously vulturing that TD. The great storyline, though, out of the Saints is Chris Olave bails us out in the first half, scores a touchdown, only has 2 catches, 15 yards. Doesn't look like Andy Dalton's. Looked great. He threw just 9 passes in the first half. He completed 8 of them, but still. Mark Ingram, 6 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, 6 yards. Nothing to be excited about. Taysom Hill, 2 carries, 6 yards. Not what we were hoping for from Taysom Hill, but at least we avoided the 0 in our tight end slot with Taysom Hill. Why isn't A.J. Dillon on your top 10 running back list? Because I can only put 10 guys in there. And I like Khalil Herbert more than A.J. Dillon, but A.J. Dillon is probably right up there in my top 12. He's probably 11th or 12th in my running back rankings, right up there, probably with Najee too, who's also not in my top 10 rankings heading into week 4. There's a lot of guys, a lot of running backs I like, and Derrick Henry's got to be in there. Aaron Jones, I think, has to be ahead of A.J. Dillon based on their usage this season, and none of the top 6 guys, top 7 guys are guys I'm willing to get off my top 10. Really tough week to make a top 10 running back list, though. Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel, standard. I would lean towards Terry McLaurin over Curtis Samuel. Sam, I have to leave soon. Brees, Marquise, London, please pick 2. I'd go Marquise in London over Brees, especially in a PPR league. Also, Carr or Mariota, or could grab Goff or T-Loff. Go Mariota, man. I have Mariota as my number 6 quarterback this week. I think Mariota, like, worst case, he has a good floor because of his rushing. And I think the ceiling's there against the Browns. The Falcons' O-line matches up well against the Browns. Brown secondary has not been good. Mariota has been pretty good. He's another one of these guys that's really underrated, I think, heading into this week. I like him a lot on DraftKings. Guys, Marcus Mariota, you're not going to believe me when I say this, but he is the 5th highest yards per attempt in the league. This is not a check down Marcus Mariota. When he's throwing it pretty deep. He has at least 15 points each of the first 3 weeks, and he's playing in a dome against a Browns defense without Myles Garrett. It's a pretty good matchup. He did score a rushing touchdown last week. He had a rushing touchdown back in week 1. He had 72 rushing yards back in week 1 as well. Like, his rushing is pretty intriguing. He leads the league in red zone carries at the quarterback position. No quarterback has more red zone carries than Marcus Mariota. That's not surprising then that he scored 2 rushing touchdowns. So, yeah, I like Mariota. I think he's pretty safe. I think he's an interesting ceiling as well. Juju, Clyde, or Palmer. I don't hate Josh Palmer this week. Obviously, there's no Keenan Allen. That helps Josh Palmer. But I think I would go Juju in that one. Drake London, CD, Khalil Herbert, Brandon Cooks, A.J. Dillon, Curtis Samuel. Pick 3. Yeah, you have to start CD Lamb. I think you have to start Khalil Herbert in this one too. And that's between Drake London and A.J. Dillon. And I kind of like Drake London, honestly, maybe more. I think you go the first 3 guys, especially because you already have Aaron Jones. It's not like the worst thing to go with Dillon Jones as 9.5-point favorites, but it's close, man. It's definitely close. I personally would side with Herbert, though, over A.J. Dillon this week, and I like A.J. Dillon a lot this week. Pick 2 Bateman, DJ Moore, Matt Collins, Stevenson. Yeah, we're not considering Mac Daddy Hollins over Rashad Bateman, so definitely Bateman. I honestly would play DJ Moore over him too. I like A.J. Dillon more than Dameon Pierce, though. Thoughts on CMC rest of season? Yeah, Lance, I posted a TikTok video a couple days ago, just like trying to get out ahead of the CMC injury, the inevitable CMC injury, and I was as pro CMC as you possibly could be this offseason. I'm a big believer that you can't predict injuries. Most running backs will get hurt, and this is one of the toughest parts of this analysis and why it's so annoying. Here, I can hear everyone in the distance. Can you guys hear them too? You can hear them in the distance, everyone ready to cheer about CMC missing a game. Like, I called it, CMC going to miss a game. Well, guys, you realize over 80% of running backs miss multiple games this season. Like, it is not difficult to predict a running back's going to miss a game. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough with CMC. I'm still holding / buying CMC. I still think it feels like he's underrated in general. In the fantasy community right now. CMC's shown us his floor. He's gone over 13 points each of the first 3 weeks. He hasn't shown us his ceiling yet. I do think Baker could improve throughout the season. He's got no competition for touches. That is CMC. So yeah, I still think he's top 5 running back rest of the season. I have him as my number 1 running back heading into this week still, because I think he is going to play. There actually was just a tweet by Adam Schefter worth pointing out here. Panthers still want to see Christian McCaffrey during pregame warmups before making a decision. Christian McCaffrey is a game time decision. He is not definitely playing today. If he plays, you have to start him. But if he doesn't play, obviously you're gonna have to pivot. And I honestly, like, if I'm the Panthers, just rest him, man. Just rest Christian McCaffrey. Like, honestly, I'll take the L with CMC this week. And it sucks having him miss a game this early in the season. And I hear everyone in the distance starting to cheer about CMC missing games, but just let CMC get to 100%. Don't force him out there. Matt Rule, like, I know you're trying to keep your job, but also don't force CMC out there if he does have a hamstring injury and he's not 100% because he's going to re-injure himself. There's at least a very good likelihood of that. So yeah, tough for CMC right now, but I still am holding CMC, and like, it's not like he's at risk of any sort of season-ending injury right now. So that at least is good. Bateman or Garrett Wilson? I like Bateman more than Garrett Wilson this week. Garrett Wilson probably rests the season, but it's tough to know how Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson are going to mesh. We haven't seen them together yet. We haven't seen Zach Wilson play this season. Zach Wilson was horrible last year, and it's so tough to project the Jets right now because, like I said earlier in the stream, guys, Joe Flacco set an NFL record with the most passing attempts ever in the first 3 weeks of the season. Think about how absolutely ridiculous that is. In 2022, Joe Flacco, like 40-year-old Joe Flacco, setting a record for the most passing attempts on the Jets. I mean, it's just ridiculous what Joe Flacco has done in the first 3 weeks. And now Zach Wilson stepping in, and it's so tough to expect that passing attempt volume to continue. It's so he had 59 attempts in week 1, 44 attempts in week 2, 52 attempts in week 3. I mean, absolutely crazy for Joe Flacco, who, by the way, Joe Flacco, guys, he has the 16th most fantasy points at quarterback, despite throwing that many pass attempts. Like, he's not good. He is not good. But Zach Wilson, I think, could be worse. Honestly, he could be worse. 38-year-old Joe Flacco we're talking about here. Pick 1, Romeo Doubs, Josh Reynolds, DJ Moore. Pick 2, what do you think? DJ Moore is a guy, like, in these situations, Zach, I am okay trotting out DJ Moore still. He's obviously been really disappointing, but he still has an okay 24% target share, and this is a good matchup, I believe, against the Cardinals. Josh Reynolds versus Romeo Doubs is super close. We definitely have Doubs projected ahead of Reynolds in the WalterPicks app. Probably all projections have Doubs ahead of Reynolds. I think Reynolds is a little bit more interesting. It's tough in this Packers game. Again, they're really big favorites. Patriots secondary isn't terrible. So I'm okay going with Josh Reynolds, DJ Moore in this one. Who is a good waiver wire pickup to replace CMC if he's injured? Well, look no further than the sleeper himself, Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds is available in probably 95% of leagues. I'm starting him in a couple spots. I have him on the bench in a couple CMC spots too. Craig Reynolds is the backup running back for the Lions, who is going to be in the Jamal Williams role today, because Jamal Williams is going to be in the DeAndre Swift role today. So yeah, if you really are scrambling, actually, I didn't see. Let's actually look really quick. When is this Panthers game? It's at 1, right? Please tell me the Panthers game is at 1. I'm not seeing them. Wait. Oh, God, the Panthers game is later in the day. That is just so terrible. Such terrible news. So, yeah, I like Craig Reynolds as a backup, but Craig Reynolds plays at 1. He plays 4 hours before CMC. Again, CMC is a game time decision. Game time decision. So we do not know if he's going to play we're not going to know until probably an hour before the game. And that's going to be after Craig Reynolds kicks off. So, yeah, if you're looking for a really deep running back option, like maybe honestly, there's a guy on the, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now, but there's a player. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I think if you're like really, really digging deep and you're starting CMC and then CMC is ruled out, and again, Max, this is possible. It is possible CMC gets ruled out before the game. He plays later in the day. So if he plays, you start CMC. If he doesn't play, one guy I think you could probably go find on your waiver wire is Rachaad White. But they said this week they want to get Rachaad White more involved. There's a lot of players coming back for the Bucs, though, so Rachaad White's definitely still pretty risky. I do like Craig Reynolds as a sleeper this week, but he plays before CMC. So, yeah, really tough. If CMC is ruled out, is Hubbard an instant start? No. I think that Deontay Foreman could easily lead this backfield. And honestly, both guys I think are super risky. They're going to split the backfield. Hubbard and Deontay Foreman. Like, Foreman could score the touchdowns. Hubbard could get sort of the in-between catches and some of the early down or third down work while Foreman works as the early down goal line back. It's not a situation you want in fantasy. I think both guys could be started if CMC's out, but neither guy can be trusted. Hey, Sam, Devonte Smith or Jamal Williams? I'm going Jamal for sure this week. Definitely Garrett Wilson over Josh Reynolds as well. Guys, we're only a couple hours away. This live stream's flying because we've got a football game going on too. We're a couple hours into the stream. I've been up for, I think, 5 hours now because we were on London time this morning, making sure we had Alvin Kamara out in all of our lineups. Hopefully all of you did as well. Brady or Stafford, yeah, both guys super risky this week. I like Brady more, though, with all these guys coming back than I do Stafford. Hey, Sam, pick one for flex, please. Devonte, Amari Cooper, AJ Dillon, Godwin, or Dotson. Yeah, you have a lot of good options here, Anthony. So, like, let's give Godwin a chance to come back, show us he's fully healthy, and see his full allotment of snaps before we start him. I would be between – I think I would go Amari Cooper here, honestly, against the Falcons. Amari Cooper's been money. Falcons secondary is not good. Dome environment, too, for Amari Cooper, which we love. I think I would lean Amari. If not, I would probably go Dillon or Javonte. Mike Evans, Debo, or Christian. You can't bench Debo. I don't think you can bench Debo. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again. And yeah, I have Debo at number 6 in my wide receiver rankings this week. I think you have to start Debo Samuel. Why is Cordero sketchy? So Cordero's dealing with a knee injury. This is an injury-related risky start, in my opinion, in fantasy. So Cordero coming off a career-high rushing yards against the Seahawks, by the way. That's why we love Jamal Williams, Craig Reynolds this week against the Seahawks. But Cordero's coming off a 17 carry, 150-yard rushing day. I don't think he comes close to 17 carries this week because he's dealing with a knee injury that's causing him discomfort. It sounds like he's going to play, which, by the way, is not a guarantee. He is a game-time decision, just like CMC. He's a game-time decision. But I'm definitely nervous for Cordova Patterson because of this knee injury. I don't think he's going to get more than 15 carries this week. Was that a big catch from Chris Olave that I just saw? Looks like there was a flag on the play too. Did he just take a shot? I'm not sure. Herbert or Dillon? I have Khalil Herbert ranked 1 or 2 spots ahead of AJ Dillon. It's very close. Dortch or Palmer? Yeah, I think Greg Dortch is really risky this week because it sounds like Rondale Moore is going to come back this week. And Rondale Moore is better than Greg Dortch. Rondale Moore was supposed to start ahead of Greg Dortch before the season. Dortch has played well, though, so I think he will still play. But I think Rondale Moore eats into his workload a little bit, and that's definitely a little concerning. And, yeah, we did just see an absolute wobbler of a pass from Andy Dalton to Chris Olave. Love to see Olave get on the board to start this half. Meanwhile, Mark Ingram runs directly backwards, which is why we had to bench Mark Ingram this week. Gabe, Damian, Jeff Wilson, DJ Moore. Yeah, I wouldn't start DJ Moore in this one. I think I would go Damian Pierce, Jeff Wilson in this one. I think that's probably safe. Thoughts on thoughts on Aaron Jones this week? Yeah, I have him as a top 10 running back this week. I have him at number 9. I could see him being ranked even higher. I could see him being huge this week. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, they're probably together, and it's tough to know how it's actually going to break down between each player, but combined, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, probably going over 200 yards and 2 TDs today. Like, that's not going to be that surprising. They're 9.5-point favorites against Brian Hoyer. Again, I said it earlier in the stream. Let me pull my picks against the spread again on the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on the TikTok Live, come to the YouTube Live. I saw Drake London McLaurin question on the TikTok Live. Yeah, start Drake London. Start Drake London. I want to pull up my picks against the spread. Just talk through some of these games again really quickly. I'm taking the Pats against the spread because 9.5 points is just a lot against Bill Belichick. But the Pats cannot win this week. There's almost no chance. Like, you're instantly losing if you're starting Brian Hoyer. It's just an auto L. If you're starting Brian Hoyer in 2022, Brian Hoyer might be the worst backup quarterback in the league, and people love him in New England, like a good veteran presence. Brian Hoyer is closer to an offensive coordinator for the Patriots than he is a quarterback. He's 37 years old. He cannot win an NFL game. He can't do it. And the Packers are definitely a good enough team to make that the case. So it's basically an auto L for the Pats. I still like them 9.5-point underdogs, but like they could get completely torched this week. I'm taking a lot of underdogs though this week. There's a lot of games I could see going either way. A lot of points I think to be had against the spread. Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, Mac Daddy Hollins at flex. Yeah, I'm not starting Lazard. I think Lazard is at risk of 0 points this week. I would not be shocked if we see Romeo Doubs play ahead of Allen Lazard, and Christian Watson's supposed to be back this week too. So don't feel that great about Allen Lazard. He easily could lead the team in receiving too. It's just so tough to know. I think between Mac Daddy Hollins and Josh Reynolds, though, I personally like Mac Daddy Hollins a little bit more than Josh Reynolds. Reynolds is the number one receiver for the Lions in this game. There's no DJ Chark and there's no Among Us St. Brown, but I think that the Lions are going to be extremely run heavy. I won't be surprised if Goff throws the ball less than 20 times in this game, especially if they get an early lead, which I think they will because the Seahawks are really bad. And they have the least talented defense, I believe, in the NFL. They just got run over by Cordova Patterson, who has set a career high in rushing yards. Jamal Williams, huge game. I think Craig Reynolds, potential huge game. Josh Reynolds did have 10 targets last week. He is in play, but I think Mac Daddy Hollins is a slightly better option against the Broncos than Josh Reynolds is against the Seahawks. Godwin or Bateman, PPR. Yeah, I'm okay going Bateman over Godwin. Godwin, like, you really got to ask yourself, just how much can we trust Godwin coming off this injury? I don't fully trust him coming off the injury, but I was wrong about this last time. So you got to take my opinion here with a slight grain of salt, because last time I assumed some sort of reasonable coaching, some sort of reasonable coaching with Chris Godwin, who wasn't expected to play week 1 all offseason. Remember how late he was going in fantasy drafts? He's going like 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th round in most of the offseason because he was coming off an injury and people didn't expect him to play week 1 or maybe even beyond that. He did play week 1 and they played him every snap, and then he hurt himself because he wasn't ready to play week 1. And I'm nervous about a similar situation this week. I think what I thought week 1 was that, okay, Chris Godwin's playing, but don't start him because it would be crazy for them to force him into a full role. I feel that way still. It would be crazy for the Bucs in his first game back to put him into an every down role. It's just not worth the risk for them for the whole season. So I think it's tough to trust Chris Godwin this week. Obviously, though, we're rooting for Chris Godwin because if you have Chris Godwin, he's a must-start player once he's playing every snap. Hey, Sam, who's the safest? Garrett Wilson or Gabe Davis? Yeah, Garrett Wilson's, I think, probably a little safer than Gabe because Gabe Davis is dealing with his own injury. Gabe Davis has an ankle injury, and there's some rain in that game. I think the ceiling for Gabe Davis is pretty high, but the ceiling for Garrett Wilson's high too. There's some uncertainty with Zach Wilson, but I still think Garrett Wilson's a better play than Gabe Davis this week. Josh Reynolds, Juju, or DJ Moore. Yeah, I would play Juju and DJ Moore over Josh Reynolds. Personally, again, Josh Reynolds is definitely, he's playable this week. I'm not gonna say he's not playable. He's definitely playable. Josh Reynolds had 10 targets last week, and he turned that into 15.6 points, 96 yards against the Vikings, who are better than the Seahawks. The Vikings are much better on defense than the Seahawks. So I think Josh Reynolds can be played. But again, I think this could also be a really, really run-heavy game where the Lions just milk the ball, run directly down the Seahawks' throat. And if the Seahawks can't do anything about it, I think the Lions will just run and run and run. And I think we could see 40 combined carries between Craig Reynolds and Jamal Williams. That really wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. So I think Reynolds has some risk for that reason. So yeah, I would probably lean towards Juju in that one. A.J. Dillon or Jeff Wilson? Yeah, I'm not benching A.J. Dillon. For Jeff Wilson, A.J. Dillon, 9.5-point favorite against the Pats. Start Russ or T-Law. It's so difficult to trust Russ in fantasy right now. I'm starting him in one team only because that team's name is literally Broncos Country Let's Ride, and I have Russ, Judy, and Sutton, and Broncos defense, and Broncos kicker, just to be sort of funny, but also to go with the team name. So I can't bench Russ on that team because then I have to change my entire team name. But in all other situations, man, I'm benching Russ. I want to see it from Russ. We have not seen it from Russ. We haven't seen anything from Russ. It's so tough to trust Russ. I'm okay going Trevor Lawrence. We have seen it from Trevor Lawrence this season, so I'm okay going Lawrence over Russ. It's not a bad matchup for Russ, but it's so tough to trust him after his first 3 weeks. Juju or Gabe Davis in flex. Yeah, I'm okay going Gabe over Juju in the flex, especially if it's not a PPR league. Sam, can you please help me out on pick 2? Yeah, I got you, man. We're live on YouTube and TikTok, by the way. We've been live almost 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours we've been live. I've been up for like 5.5 hours because I was on London time this morning, and we got a London game going on right now. Pretty good game, actually. 13-7 still. Vikings, Saints. Vikings about to punt it back to the Saints. Olave was our only must start in this game. I did think you should have started Dalvin Cook. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. Thielen was a must start too. He's off to a pretty good start. But Madison did vulture a TD from Cook in this game. So Cook's looking a little sketchy right now this week. But Olave has come through for us. Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, or Drake London in a full PPR league. Yeah, I'm okay, honestly, stacking these last two guys together. And I don't feel great benching Mike Evans for Drake London, but I kind of like stacking Amari Cooper against Drake London, both same game, both dome environment, both offensive lines, top 4 this week. I think both offenses are going to be able to move the ball. I don't, again, on paper, don't feel great benching Mike Evans, though, in this one. So maybe you bench London for Evans. But yeah, I'm okay just stacking Cooper London in this game and just going heavy into this game that should have a pretty good passing environment. Which one do I sit? At least for the Falcons. There's definitely a chance the Browns run a lot in this game. Mike Williams, Drake London, Rashad Bateman, Hollywood Brown. Which one do I sit? Yeah, I feel like you got to sit Bateman in this one. And again, I like Bateman. I love Bateman. I feel like I'm one of the biggest Bateman stans. You guys let me know if you know bigger Bateman stans out there than me. I think Bateman is super underrated. I think he's extremely talented with the ball in his hands. I think he has a really valuable role. He leads the league in yards per reception, but he's not seeing the same volume as Mike Williams, Drake London, and Hollywood Brown. The volume's not even close. Bateman doesn't have a game with more than 7 catches. All 3 of those guys could easily go over 10 catches this week. I don't think Bateman has that chance. So yeah, I would bench Bateman in this one, but definitely glad you have Bateman. And I think Bateman's ceiling still really high this week. Mixon for Hunt, Devonte Smith, Conklin, Koo, full PPR. Trade. Yeah, I mean, the side getting Hunt feels like the side to be on here. Obviously, Younghoe Koo is not going to swing the trade, though I'd love that he's involved in this trade. Tyler Conklin could easily be on the waiver wire a few weeks from now. I know he's had back-to-back 10-point plus fantasy games, but still, I thought the Vikings were punting. I don't know why the Vikings have the ball. I must have missed exactly what happened there. Maybe it was a flag, but now we see Justin Jefferson just coasting right into the end zone. Looks like he stepped out. But yeah, I missed that. I thought the Vikings were punting. Someone can let me know what happened there. But now the Vikings goal to go, 1st and goal. Drake London, start over Devonte Smith and Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you got to start Drake London this week, guys. Sam, start Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt, or Hollywood Brown in the flex. Yeah, I would go Hollywood Brown, then Hunt, then Clyde. I'm nervous for Clyde, man. Clyde has not seen good volume. Clyde has not had even 9 or more carries in the game this season. He has scored a lot of touchdowns, and he's actually the number 4 running back in fantasy points per game this season, but I don't think he's anywhere close to that rest of the season. I like Hollywood Brown a lot. I like Hunt. I don't like Clyde. I don't like Clyde this week. Hey, Sam, Gabe Davis or Bateman, full PPR. This is 2 guys in the same game. Looks like a flag on the Vikings on that first and goal attempt. That looks also like it was going to be a carry to Dalvin Cook. This one's tough. This one's very difficult. And I personally lean towards Gabe Davis. I feel like most projections would probably have Gabe Davis ahead of Bateman. But I personally lean towards Bateman over Gabe Davis. So Gabe Davis played week 1, 18.8 points. He only had 5 targets in that game. Remember, that was the first game of the season. He scored a touchdown. All the Gabe Davis people were doing their week 1 victory laps. There's nothing worse than week 1 victory laps in fantasy. The only thing worse than week 1 victory laps is one game victory laps. So like this happened last year too. You guys remember? Like after the first game of the season, the first game, like people victory lapping after that first game. I mean, those are the people you shouldn't be listening to. But yeah, Gabe Davis, he had a good week 1. He did score a touchdown, 88 yards, only 5 targets though, 4 catches. Then week 3 comes back last week, dealing with an ankle injury, only 6 targets. So now we've seen a game with 5 targets and 6 targets for Gabe Davis. He is not the top target in this offense. He's maybe number 3. And some weeks might even be number 4. Only 3 catches last week, 37 yards, and he's still dealing with that same injury, which is why I would lean towards Bateman over Gabe Davis. Josh Jacobs, Hawkinson, or DK at flex. I'm not starting 2 tight ends. I'm never starting 2 tight ends, almost ever. Like if you are starting 2 tight ends, that should mean you have Kelsey and Andrews, in which case trade one of them. Because even those guys, I don't want to start 2 tight ends. And they're sort of in their own tier. They're close to receivers. But yeah, I like Hawkinson this week. Hawkins is my number 6 tight end. Let me pull up my tight end rankings on the YouTube Live. Again, come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. To just get a little bit more info. Like I'm seeing a lot of these questions. Do you regret the A.J. Dillon, Derrick Henry trade? Wait, I did do that. Well, let me talk about that for a second. I traded Najee for A.J. Dillon. And so far, yeah, I regret it. But I still like it rest of season. Like so far, it's a regrettable trade. I actually would have won in that league last week if I had Najee Harris and not A.J. Dillon, which is brutal to look back on. But I still like A.J. Dillon rest of season more than Najee Harris. I don't think that's that bold of a take based on what we've seen the first 3 weeks. And you got to remember too, A.J. Dillon's coming off the hardest matchup of his season. The Bucs are the number 1 run defense in the league. So I do like A.J. Dillon a lot this week. I think A.J. Dillon outscores Najee Harris this week. But if he doesn't, then I'm definitely going to be down bad. Because again, after week 1, I did a straight up trade. I gave away Najee Harris. I got A.J. Dillon in one of my high stakes leagues. So far, has not panned out. But again, I do like it still rest of the season. I did not give up Derrick Henry for A.J. Dillon. I would not have done that. Dameon Pierce or Breece Hall? Yeah, I would go Dameon Pierce over Breece Hall. I do like Dameon Pierce this week. 20 carries last week. I hope I answered that last comment that was on the live. I think it was DK, though, that I would have gone with in that one. Sutton or Deontay or Conklin. Jake, it's Conklin. We missed a letter here, Jake. Hawkinson. Or, yeah, I would go with Sutton and TJ Hawkinson over Deontay and Conklin. Patterson, if he plays, or Judy/Zeke. Yeah, I'm not playing Patterson over Judy or Zeke this week. Again, I'm nervous about Patterson. I think if Cordova Patterson plays, he's not going to see his normal allotment of touches, and he's a game time decision. But he has a knee injury that's causing him pain. It is a painful knee injury, according to all the reports. So, yeah, I'm definitely nervous about Cordova Patterson. And I would start Judy, then Zeke, I think, if it's a PPR league. Drake London or Amari Cooper. Yeah, Chris, same game. Both really good matchups. London's look elite. Amari Cooper's had a great back-to-back couple of games. It's really close. I think I would lean. Let me actually pull up. Let's see where we have these guys in our rankings, because this one's really, really close for sure. Let's see. If I pull up the wide receiver rankings, I have a feeling it's going to be Cooper. We have Drake London one spot ahead of Amari Cooper. The difference in their projection is 0.02 points. We have them both projected basically 13.8 PPR points. I mean, super close. London has a better chance at a TD, though. He projected slightly less yards. I would lean London, but yeah, it's super close. It's super, super, super close. Like, they're literally neck and neck in our projections. Pick one, Garrett Wilson or Curtis Samuel or A.J. Dillon. Yeah, I'd go to A.J. Dillon. Go A.J. Dillon. I like A.J. Dillon a little bit more than Javonte Williams this week as well. Again, A.J. Dillon's a really interesting spot for A.J. Dillon this week, because he's coming off the hardest matchup of his season, where he plays the Bucs defense, number one run defense in the league. And then he's a 9.5-point favorite the next week against the Patriots. So, yeah, I would go Dillon. Call me crazy, but would you start Devonte Adams or Garrett Wilson? Yeah, you're crazy. You are crazy. You have to start Devonte Adams every single week. He's my number 3 receiver this week. You got to start him. Just go back and look at week 1 for Devonte Adams and tell me you're going to bench him for Garrett Wilson. And don't get me wrong, I like Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson could grow into a Devonte Adams. And I don't say that lightly. But, I mean, Devonte Adams, guys, he had a 30-point week 1, 17 targets. He had 10 targets last week, 7 targets the week before that. You got to be playing Devonte Adams. Looks like the Vikings got stopped in this goal-to-go situation. Justin Jefferson standing wide open in the corner of the end zone, and Kirk Cousins checked it down to Adam Thielen. Can't risk CMC being out after Herbert puts up 1 million points on my bench, so I'm benching CMC. Yeah, Xavier, I think that's fine. Oh, yeah, but you got A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon's a great backup option. Let's read the latest on CMC again really quickly. And again, like, optimal coaching here tells me bench CMC, right? But let CMC get fully healthy. It's a hamstring. It's a soft tissue injury. Last we heard from Adam Schefter, again, Panthers still want to see Christian McCaffrey during pregame warmups before making any decision about his status today. I don't think Herbert's that much farther ahead of A.J. Dillon, though. So, like, I think game theory here tells me, Xavier, start CMC. If he sits, play A.J. Dillon. I like that approach more than starting Khalil Herbert. Now, I get it's going to suck watching Khalil Herbert put up 1 million points on your bench, because I do like Khalil Herbert this week. But CMC has a higher ceiling than Khalil Herbert if he plays. Tyler Conklin, Julio Jones, or Robert Woods. Is Julio back this week? I felt like he was the one guy that's probably not back this week. But let me actually pull that up. Nope, he's back. He's back. Julio Jones back. Mike Evans back. Chris Godwin back. Russell Gage likely back. I'm okay going Julio, I think. It's him or Robert Woods. I am not starting Tyler Conklin as a second tight end. Gibson or Jeff Wilson. I would lean towards Gibson, as this is the last week we can play Gibson, because Brian Robinson is about to return. Cooks or Pierce at flex. I like Cooks a little bit more than Pierce for his ceiling, but Pierce is absolutely the floor play here. Sam, I'm hurting right now. Which do I start? Which two do I start? Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Dameon Pierce, Terry McScorin, I think, and Hollywood Brown are the guys you go with here. I can't swallow starting Curtis Samuel over Terry McScorin on the same team. I get that Curtis Samuel's been better this season. I'm okay starting Curtis Samuel over Jahan Dotson, and even that doesn't sit that great with me, but we're not starting him over Terry McLaurin. It's just a little ridiculous. I would start McLaurin and Hollywood Brown, or Hollywood Brown and Dameon Pierce. If you're, again, Dameon Pierce is more of a floor play. Brandon Cooks is more of a ceiling play. I like Cooks more than Curtis Samuel still. By the way, we're seeing Latavius Murray run the ball up the middle. This is exactly why we benched Mark Ingram this week. We knew close to 30-year-old Mark Ingram, he doesn't have it in him to have like a 20 carry, 100-yard, multiple touchdown game. It's just not within his range of outcomes at this age, at this efficiency that he's operating at now. Obviously, a great career for Mark Ingram, but right now he's playing behind Latavius Murray in the game right now. Pittman Jr., Deontay Johnson, or Kirk at flex. You can't bench Michael Pittman. You have to start Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman is really one of these locks each week. At least that's how I see it. Again, I have Michael Pittman as my number 7 receiver this week. I could see him being even higher in the rankings. Just go back to week 1 when Michael Pittman played the whole game, and you see he had 13 targets, 9 catches, 121 yards, 27 fantasy points. He was the 5th best receiver that week. And then he comes back last week against the Chiefs, 9 targets, 8 catches, 72 yards, no touchdown, but he still had 15 points. Like, that's his floor. His floor is so high with the target volume he has, and none of these other Colts receivers have been able to separate themselves. Paris Campbell, man. I thought Paris Campbell could be this year's Rashad Penny because he's very athletic and very fast, and I thought he was going to be an every down player, and he basically has been an every down player, but he's done literally nothing. Alec Pierce, I think, is going to be back this week. I think he'll be the number 2 receiver, but none of these guys are even close to Michael Pittman. So, yeah, I think Pittman's just such a safe bet each week. Sam, I need help, please. Devonte Williams or is this Jamal Williams or Devonte Williams or over Khalil Herbert? Because I would play Khalil Herbert over Devonte Williams. I would not play Khalil Herbert over Jamal Williams. Again, let me pull my running back rankings, but I have Jamal Williams ranked 7th, and I have Khalil Herbert ranked, I think, 9th. 10th. I have Khalil Herbert ranked 10th. And Njoku or Pitts, I'm playing Pitts. We finally saw the bounce back game. Cordova Patterson or Josh Jacobs, definitely Jacobs. Definitely Josh Jacobs over Cordero. It's a good matchup for Cordero, but Cordero's dealing with a knee injury. And it's not as good of a matchup as he had last week against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are maybe the best matchup for running backs. Why I love Jamal Williams this week. It's why I love even Craig Reynolds as a deep sleeper this week. Who was just hurt, by the way? Please tell me that wasn't Chris Olave. No, Chris Olave is fine. Cordell dealing with knee injury. Cordell had 17 carries last week. There's almost no way he gets 17 carries this week with his knee injury. It's probably going to be closer to like 10 to 12 carries. That gives him a pretty low floor. If he doesn't score a TD, pretty low ceiling too. A Khalil or James Robinson, I'd go Khalil. Again, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. You get more information. A lot of the start sits I'm seeing in the comments are answered literally just by coming to the YouTube live, because you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. You can see my picks against the spread, and you can see my DraftKings lineup, which I'm about to pull up on the screen as well. So come to the YouTube live for just a little bit more info. Also, I can pull up your comments on the YouTube live. So it's also a little bit easier to answer comments on the YouTube live, though I will answer comments on both TikTok and YouTube. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. It helps us out a ton. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers, 200,000 TikTok followers this season. And if everybody watching right now just hit the follow and subscribe button, like, we'd be pretty close. We'd actually be pretty close. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the follows. I'm not Wyatt. I appreciate that, man. Let me pull up my DraftKings lineup for today. So the biggest decision point, Taysom Hill carry for 0 yards. Hate to see it. The biggest decision point today, I think, in DraftKings is, what are you doing with Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert? Jamal Williams is probably going to be the most rostered running back on the slate. I do have some lines with Jamal Williams, but I don't hate pivoting off of Jamal Williams based on his really, really high ownership in tournaments. In head-to-head, I think you have to play Jamal and Herbert. But in tournaments where you're going against thousands and thousands of people, if over 50% of people are going to play Jamal this week, I'm okay pivoting to a guy like Austin Eckler, who I don't think anyone's going to play this week on DraftKings. And he has a pretty good matchup. He hasn't come even close to his ceiling yet this season. I don't think he has a touchdown this season. He's no touchdowns. He's still averaging 14.3 points per game. People are so down on Eckler when he's just shown us his floor through the first 3 games. He had 18 points, guys, in week 2, no touchdowns. 94 yards. He had 9 catches. He had 8 catches last week. I mean, he has 17 catches over the last 2 weeks. That's Austin Eckler. And people are down about Austin Eckler. He leads all running backs in catches. He leads all running backs in receiving yards. Guys, he just hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I think that's going to change this week. Austin Eckler is going to find the end zone. No Keenan Allen again, too. Wow, big play. DeMarcus Callaway on 2nd and 16. Saints flirting with a comeback here. I'm going Eckler and Khalil Herbert in this one. I do think you got to strongly consider Jamal Williams, though. Again, just know everyone else is playing Jamal Williams this week on DraftKings. I really like Tyler Lockett. He's one of my favorite run backs with Jamal Williams, and I don't have Jamal Williams in this lineup. I went with TJ Hawkinson instead. I think Hawkinson, Lockett, interesting leverage off of the Jamal Williams chalk this week. Hawkinson with no DJ Chark, with no Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think Hawkinson could easily outscore Josh Reynolds, and a lot of people are running to play Josh Reynolds now. I do like Elijah Moore a little bit too this week with Zach Wilson returning. Elijah Moore's done nothing this season, under 50 yards every single game, which is astonishing when you think about the fact that Joe Flacco set an NFL record for the most passing attempts ever in the first 3 weeks, and still Elijah Moore under 50 yards all 3 games. Like, how is that possible? I never would have thought that was possible if you told me Joe Flacco was going to throw the ball this many times. But Garrett Wilson's really good. Corey Davis getting a lot of run. Tyler Conklin getting a lot of run. Breece Hall getting a lot of targets. Michael Carter getting a lot of targets. But I won't be shocked if we see the pendulum swing. Oh my God, an Andy Dalton run. Why is that not Taysom Hill? Taysom Hill literally would have scored that if that was Taysom Hill. But I won't be surprised if the pendulum swings back to Elijah Moore with Zach Wilson returning. So I'm okay trotting him out there at his price on DraftKings. I did go with McKenzie too to stack with Josh Allen. Obviously couldn't afford the Josh Allen Steph Diggs stack, which I do think is definitely in play this week. But I have Rashad Bateman in every single Josh Allen lineup. And then I like Isaiah McKenzie stacked with him too. And Bears are my favorite defense this week in bad weather against the Giants. If CMC doesn't play, Romeo Doubs or Allen Robinson need to be late game guys or Monday. Yeah. You go Allen Robinson, I think, over Doubs. Actually, I would probably go Doubs over Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is so tough to trust right now. Not that Doubs is like super easy to trust. I think it's really close. Allen Robinson gets a matchup this week against the 49ers, who have been pretty good against receivers this season. I think this could be a really run-heavy game for the 49ers too. We've seen such a low floor for A-Rob, under 5 points, 2 out of his 3 weeks so far. In the 1 week he did well, he only had 4 catches. Guys, Allen Robinson has 7 total catches this season. I mean, that is horrible. That is absolutely terrible. Meanwhile, Romeo Doubs. Was that Latavius Murray that just scored? Yeah, it was. I mean, please tell me you were on this live stream 3 hours ago when we were up for London time and you benched Mark Ingram and you didn't convince yourself into Mark Ingram. We've been through this with Mark Ingram. He can't be trusted. Latavius Murray is getting the goal line carries over Mark Ingram. He just scored, and I think the Saints are up 1 now, 14-13. Romeo Doubs last week. Romeo Doubs had more catches last week than Allen Robinson has this entire season. Like, I think that's all you need to know, Mark. But hopefully CMC plays. I'm playing Breece Hall over Cordova Patterson. I'm nervous. For Cordova Patterson. He's got a knee injury. He saw 17 carries last week. He saw over 20 carries back in week 1. Both of those are top 5 in his career in terms of carry totals. But now he's a knee injury. I don't think he comes close to 17 carries this week. I think he maxes out around 15 carries in a worse matchup than he had last week. So, yeah, I'm playing Dameon Pierce over Cordova Patterson. I'm playing certainly Khalil Herbert and Jamal Williams over Cordova Patterson. And, God, I love Cordova. He's number 3 in the league in rushing yards. It's absolutely insane. Back-to-back seasons, people just sleeping on him way too much. Gage or Hubbard in the flex. I'm not starting Hubbard or Deontay Foreman. I'm not starting either of them if CMC sits. And again, we're not going to know if CMC is sitting yet. Okay. Some reports here, guys. Cowboys, wide receiver Michael Gallup, officially active. Let's go, Michael Gallup. I have him on every single team. I'm not starting him on a single team this week. I wouldn't recommend starting Michael Gallup. But, guys, Noah Brown's looked pretty good, and Michael Gallup's better than Noah Brown. So that's a pretty good sign for Michael Gallup. Rest of season that he's back this week. Hopefully he gets through this week healthy. Cordova Patterson is active this week. Gabe Davis active. Dawson Knox active. Dalton Schultz active. Inactive. Does it say Zay Jones? Zay Jones, a surprising inactive. I've literally read this morning he was going to play, and now we're getting the report Zay Jones is out. So get Zay Jones out of your lineups as well. I don't know how many of you out there were starting Zay Jones, but that does boost. That is a pretty big announcement for DraftKings and FanDuel. Like, bumps Christian Kirk for sure, but also Marvin Jones, Evan Ingram, I think, get a bump too with Zay Jones now ruled out. Also, definitely very, very interesting development there. Zay Jones out. Zay Jones out this week. We cannot trust Zay Jones. Lamb or Marquise Brown? Yeah, you got to go Lamb. I think you got to go CeeDee Lamb. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube too, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I'm posting daily content for all of you, and you don't want to miss it. So hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. It helps me out a ton. Also, if I don't get to your start sit questions, guys, the best place to go is the WalterPicks app. It is by far the best place to go for your start sits because you get as many free start sit comparisons as you want this year in the WalterPicks app. There are some premium features in the app like League Sync. And some more premium stats you get if you do one of the premium subs in the app, but you don't need to. And it's completely free to download, completely free to try, and you get as many free start sits as you want. So definitely check out the app. If I don't get to your start sit in this live stream, I will try to get to as many as I can. But it's the best place to go. If you're watching live on TikTok, I just pulled up the app behind me, number 10 in the App Store just a few days ago. Pretty cool. But yeah, check out the app. And let me know what you think. It's the number one way you could possibly support me. Like there's a few ways without spending any money you could support me. And one of them is just subscribing to the YouTube channel, following the TikTok live. Another one is just trying out the WalterPicks app, tossing a 5-star review in the App Store helps us out a ton as well. The number one way you could possibly support me is doing one of the premium subs in the app. That's why I'm able to do this every Sunday morning. That's why we have our whole team of content creators making content every day. That's why we have our engineers continuing to build new and better products in the WalterPicks app. But I also understand the premium sub won't be for everyone. So it's fine if you choose one of those free routes as well. I really do appreciate all of you tuning into this live. Again, that's the best place to go if I don't get to your start sit because it will also take into account your custom league settings. That's WalterPicks. Link is in the YouTube description and in the TikTok bio. Do you like Brian Robinson when he comes back? Yeah, I am. I am excited for Brian Robinson because before the season, he was going to head into the season as the number one running back for the Commanders. He was ahead of Antonio Gibson. You guys remember the headlines of Antonio Gibson returning punts, TBT, to the before the season when everything was great. But yeah, Brian Robinson, I mean, so crazy how fast he's come back from these gunshot wounds. But yeah, I'm excited for Brian Robinson. I don't know how much he's going to be involved in the passing game though, because J.D. McKissic and Gibson can catch passes. But if Brian Robinson ends up getting the goal line work, I think he could be relevant in fantasy. Hey Sam, it's Finn again, 3-time sub. Thanks, man. Josh Palmer or Bateman? Yeah, it's got to be Bateman. Don't trust Bucs defense against Chiefs. Need a waiver wire pickup. Let me know. Yeah, it's the Bears. Go get the Bears on the waiver wire. If the Bears aren't available, get the Giants. Both those teams are playing each other. Both offensive lines are complete trash, and there's bad weather in that game. Hey, Sam, pulled up my question, but didn't answer. Do you have – oh, yes, Zach, I did pull this up because I wanted to show you my DraftKings lineup. So each week I'm very transparent about what I'm doing on DraftKings. Honestly, I'm transparent about basically everything that I do. I don't, like, for example, I don't bet on spreads. I show you guys my picks against the spread, but I almost never wager on spreads. I think it's insanely hard to win long-term against spreads, so I only stick to player props. On DraftKings, each week, I'm not usually playing very high stakes on DraftKings. I usually do 20 entries in a $3 entry, 20 entry max competition, and this lineup is one of those lineups that I have running in that. But this week, I'm also testing out one high stakes contest, a $150 entry, 100K to first tournament. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup just as I'm talking about this. The big decision you got to make in daily fantasy this week, it's about Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. Jamal Williams is going to be rostered probably over 50% of DraftKings lineups this week. And some of the higher stakes, it could be close to 75% Jamal Williams. I love Jamal Williams. Wow, did they just do a fake punt? Yeah, they did. They just did a fake punt and got it. Vikings against the Saints. I like Jamal Williams a lot this week. You can see below, I have Jamal Williams as my number 7 running back. I have Khalil Herbert as my number 10 running back this week. But at their two ownerships, I think Jamal Williams is the better guy to pivot off of if you want to go against the chalk this week. I wouldn't go against the chalk in all your lineups. But in this one, I did. I went Eckler instead of Jamal Williams in my running back slot. I really like Eckler on DraftKings this week. He has 17 catches over the last 2 weeks. He leads all running backs in receiving yards and catches. And everyone's down on Eckler because he hasn't scored any touchdowns yet. That's almost definitely going to change this week against the Texans. That's one of my favorite player props of the day. By the way, is Austin Eckler over 0.5 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, this is the favorite player prop of the day. It's Austin Eckler over half a touchdown. I don't know exactly what the odds are on this. You're probably getting like minus 130, minus 140. He's going to score a touchdown. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. I think that the usage, honestly, has been fine for Eckler. A lot of people panicking about Austin Eckler. I would not panic about Austin Eckler. That's why I have him in my DraftKings lineup. as well. The other guy that I really like on DraftKings this week is Rashad Bateman. I like his ceiling a lot. I've talked about him a lot on this live. But if you're going to play in a tournament, like you need pieces of this Bills-Ravens game. And I don't think people have quite caught up to how good Rashad Bateman is yet. He doesn't see enough volume for him to be like a must start in all fantasy decisions. But on DraftKings, I think he has the path to getting over 100 yards, to getting a touchdown. And that's what you need on DraftKings. So I like running it back. Josh Allen and Rashad Bateman with Isaiah McKenzie stacked with Josh Allen. I think you need at least one Lions player. So I went with TJ Hawkinson in this one, who I do think are TJ Hawkinson. I think he's my number 6 tight end this week. So yeah, there's my DraftKings line. I went with the Bears defense too. I really like the Bears defense stacked with Khalil Herbert this week. Let me pull up my tight end rankings one more time. Who do you like more? I like Bears defense more than Giants defense. Giants defense projects more. Yeah, I like the Bears defense just a little bit more than the Giants defense. I think the Bears defense is a little bit more talented than the Giants defense. I could see that one going either way, honestly, though. I don't feel super strongly about Bears over Giants. So if you like the Giants more than the Bears, both defenses I think will do well. Both offensive lines are complete trash. Honestly, the Bears offensive line is more trash than even the Giants offensive line, though. So maybe that is a Giants over the Bears situation. I think I went with the Bears more in DraftKings, though. I think that the Bears are much cheaper on DraftKings. Those are my thoughts on defenses. All right. Hall or Hunt? Yeah, I would go Hunt over Hall. The Browns have the number 1 offensive line this week. Curtis Samuel, Mike Will, or Bateman. I'd go Mike Will, then Bateman, then Curtis Samuel. It's KL. I hope I said your name right. Elijah Moore, Chris Godwin, J.K. Dobbins, or DJ Moore. Yeah, this is not an easy one. I don't think you can trust J.K. Dobbins. He actually looked pretty good, but this is not a matchup I like Dobbins very much against the Bills. Chris Godwin's not a guy I want to trust this week. I honestly like DJ Moore a little bit more than Elijah Moore, but it's close. Obviously, the two Moores have been really disappointing this season. I think I would go DJ Moore, though, in this one. Godwin or DJ Moore, yeah. Again, I want to bench Godwin in his first game back. Lockett or Garrett Wilson, I am not benching Lockett this week. I think Lockett has number 1 overall receiver upside this week against a Lions defense that has been dead last against slot receivers this season. Hey, Sam, Terry, Judy, Gabe Davis. I love your content. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate the positivity, man. Thanks for tuning in. I would probably go with Terry McLaurin over Judy, over Gabe Davis. I'm nervous about Gabe Davis this week, too. He's got the ankle injury. He doesn't have a game with more than 5 catches in his 2 games that he's played. This is a game you want access to. The Ravens secondary has been torched. So, there is a ceiling there with Gabe, but I think you're getting a ceiling in the other option there, too. What's up, Sam? Need help this week with Swift and St. Brown out. Yeah, it's a brutal injury week. I mean, so many injuries. I have them up on TikTok, but so many injuries this week. I don't even have all of them up there, I don't think. Mac Jones, obviously out. I don't think I have him up there. Judy, Juju, Bateman, or Dortch. Yeah, Dortch can't be trusted this week, guys. I know Dortch has been money for us the last few weeks. He's been a steal on DraftKings, too, but Rondo Moore back likely this week, and that really, really puts a dent in what I think Greg Dortch's role has been. Judy, Juju, and Bateman, I think it's between I'd go Judy or Bateman. So you got to pick 2. Yeah, I'd go Judy and Bateman. I'd bench Juju. I would not play Devonte Parker or Robert Woods over either of those guys. Yeah, I would go Judy and Bateman personally. Hey, Sam, birthday today. Dante, happy birthday, man. Would you start Juju, Josh Reynolds, Curtis Samuel, Pollard, or Jeff Wilson? What's your second pick in case CMC is out? Yeah, there's a very real chance CMC is out. You got to have a backup plan if you have CMC. And I have CMC as my number 1 running back this week, like I have basically every week. And that's partially to make a point that you just need to start CMC if you have him. It's enough with the CMC questions. But CMC might not play this week. So, yeah, you need a backup plan. Out of all these guys, I think I would probably start Curtis Samuel, I think, and then Tony Pollard or Jeff Wilson. It's between those 3. I feel the worst about Juju and Reynolds. All of these guys definitely startable. But yeah, down bad, definitely if CMC is out. If this is a PPR league, then I would definitely go Curtis, and I'd consider Juju. If it's not a PPR league, though, Pollard and Jeff Wilson, I think, are the safest bets. But I would lean Curtis Samuel over all these guys, I think, this week. Best defense for today. Yeah, so I like the Giants and the Bears defense. Both offenses are really bad. Both teams going against each other this week, and there's bad weather in that game, too. So the Bears-Giants defense is looking good. Cooks or Cordero. I'd go Cooks over Cordero this week. Again, I'm nervous about Cordero not seeing his normal volume because he has a knee injury that's causing him pain. 16-14 Vikings right now, start of the 4th quarter. It's so fun having a morning game to watch, talk through, as we get to the bulk of the day. We are about an hour away, by the way, from kickoff. Sam, help me out. Kareem Hunt or Tony Pollard? I'd go Hunt. Again, the Browns have the number one offensive line matchup of the week. They are the number one offensive line this week. They are going to just run over the Falcons. But by the way, the number 4 offensive line this week is the Falcons. The Browns' front seven is not good without Myles Garrett. So both offenses, I think, could move the ball in that game. I like the over in that game. But yeah, I'm nervous about Cordero because of the knee injury. I think that we could see him get less run this week. Dalton Schultz, Conklin, Gerald Everett. Yeah, it's between Schultz and Everett. I have Everett ranked ahead of Schultz. I think in my tight end rankings, I wasn't sure if Schultz was going to play when I made these rankings, though. So that does muddy things up a little bit. But I like Gerald Everett this week a decent amount with no Keenan Allen. He could be that middle of the field guy against the Texans. I'm okay going with Gerald Everett over Dalton Schultz. I need a running back. Who should I trade Mike Thomas for? Yeah, so there's some good sleeper running backs out there. One of my favorite buy low candidates right now, though, is A.J. Dillon. He's coming off a tough game against the Bucs. I would see if you get him before kickoff. Cooks or Lazard. I'm going Cooks over Lazard. I don't have any faith in Allen Lazard, and I could easily end up being wrong. It's so tough to predict that Packers pass catching group, though. Romeo Doubs coming off a really good game. It could be Doubs. Christian Watson playing again this week. He's back. And they're 9.5-point favorites. They're probably going to run the ball a lot, the Packers. I don't know how many plays are going to be in that game because I think that both teams could be run heavy. Curtis Samuel or Kareem Hunt? Yeah, I'm going Hunt over Curtis Samuel. Rondale Moore. Isaiah McKenzie or Rashad Penny. Yeah, I'd go with Rashad Penny in this one. I know Penny's been relatively disappointing. Hasn't had any big weeks like he did down the stretch last season, but he has been fully healthy. And he's also coming off a game where he played 2/3 of the snaps. He saw 14 carries. He ran 21 routes. I think this could be the first week Rashad Penny goes over 100 yards. It's not a terrible matchup against the Lions. The Seahawks offensive line is complete trash, but I don't hate Rashad Penny this week. I think he does have somewhat of a ceiling, unlike Rondale Moore and Isaiah McKenzie. I don't know how high of a ceiling those guys have. Juju or Gabe Davis? Yeah, that one I think I'm okay going Gabe Davis, but I would strongly consider Juju in a PPR league. Juju hasn't been great, but Gabe Davis also has not been great. He had 5 catches and 4 catches in the 2 games that he played. 5 catches and 4 catches. I mean, Juju's had something similar, though. So I think you want pieces of that Bills game. The weather's not great in that game, but still the over-under is 50 points. So I'm okay going Gabe over Juju. Breece Hall, Cordova Patterson, A.J. Dillon, Chris Godwin, Curtis Samuel. Start 3 of them. Yeah, bench Chris Godwin. You have enough good players. I'd bench Godwin and I'd bench Patterson. I'd play Breece, A.J., Curtis Samuel. Should I be worried about Dalvin Cook? Yeah, pretty clearly. I mean, are you watching the same game that I'm watching right now? Hopefully you were on London time this morning, so you know that this game's almost over at this point. But Bills cornerback Dane Jackson is active and back in the lineup for the Bills today. That's pretty big. That actually is pretty big for the Bills, who have been pretty decimated on defense already. But yeah, guys, in this Vikings game, I mean, you got to be pretty concerned about Dalvin Cook. He had 15 carries, so like the volume's fine. 15 carries, 2 catches, 17 touches, only 64 yards, no touchdown. Madison scores the touchdown. So yeah, I wouldn't be fully panicked, but I'd be worried. I would definitely be a little worried with the shoulder injury. There's more reason to get Madison, who's very good, involved with this injury for Dalvin Cook. I have Aaron Jones, so I don't want to trade Michael Thomas for Dillon. There's worse backfields to have both guys in, but yeah, I mean that's totally fair. If you go back on our YouTube channel, I post a video every Wednesday morning of 10 guys I'm either buying or selling in fantasy after I recap the Sunday morning live from before, because I try to learn from these Sunday morning lives. I put hours, probably like 10 plus hours, just preparing for these Sunday morning lives. So I would be doing myself and all of you a disservice if I didn't then learn from some of my mistakes each week for the following week. That's what I do on this YouTube video I post Wednesday mornings as well. Patterson, Bateman, or Gabe Davis at flex? Yeah, I'd go Bateman. I would go Bateman over Gabe Davis. I would go Bateman over Cordova Patterson. So with CMC guys, you're in a sticky spot with Christian McCaffrey right now because he's a game time decision, a true game time decision, and he's playing later in the day. So we don't know if he's going to play or not. And you're going to have to make start sit decisions beforehand. So like if you have Najee and Jamal and they both play at 1:00, which I think they both do, they both play earlier, then like maybe that's a situation where you do have to bench CMC because you have 2 really good options. Actually, it looks like Yeah, no, both those teams play at 1. So yeah, you might have to bench CMC in this one, Devin, unless you have a really good backup option for CMC if he doesn't play. That hat is fire. Thanks, man. Need help, man. JD McKissick, Travis Etienne, Craig Reynolds. Yeah, so I kind of feel like you got to go Etienne. But if this isn't a PPR league, I'm okay going Craig Reynolds. I like Craig Reynolds as a sleeper this week. He's one of my favorite sleepers this week. I think like it's pretty safe to assume what's going to happen with the Lions is Jamal Williams. He takes the DeAndre Swift role and he leads this backfield in touches, maybe 25 touches, maybe more for Jamal Williams this week against a really bad Seahawks defense running behind a really good offensive line. But also keeping that in mind, the Lions could get a lead in this game. And they never give one running back like 80% of the workload. That's just not how they've ever operated. So I think Craig Reynolds steps into the Jamal Williams role this week. And Jamal Williams, who has played not more than 40% of the snaps in any game this season, has at least 10 carries in every game. So I think Craig Reynolds gets at least 10 carries this week. And for all those same reasons, great offensive line against a really bad defense, Craig Reynolds could easily score a touchdown this week. And I think he's a better chance at a touchdown than Travis Etienne and J.D. McKissick. So yeah, I'm okay going Craig Reynolds. Honestly, I love trying out Craig Reynolds against my opponent this week. I have Lamar and Diggs, but I'm also versing Allen and Andrews. Is that a good or bad thing? I mean, it's good that you have those two guys. It's bad that you're playing those two guys. It honestly more or less evens out in my opinion. A.J. Dillon, Jeff Wilson, Curtis Samuel, Dameon Pierce. What did Taysom Hill just do? Why is he running off the field like he did something bad? No, that was a good run. Is he up to 5 carries? I think Taysom Hill's up to 5 carries. Love to see that. I still don't think he even has 3 fantasy points, so hate to see that, but maybe he can find the end zone on this drive. A.J. Dillon, Jeff Wilson, Curtis Samuel, Dameon Pierce. Yeah, you got to start A.J. Dillon. I like Dameon Pierce, I think, a little bit more than Jeff Wilson this week. Wide receiver rankings, yeah, let me pull up the wide receiver rankings on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, especially those of you that have been here the whole time as you watch this Sunday morning game in London too. Really appreciate all of you guys tuned in, especially when there's a game going on. Seriously, like I appreciate all of you tuning in. I'm going to do my best to help all of you win your matchups this week, win your start-sit decisions this week. Miles Sanders or Curtis Samuel. I really like Miles Sanders as a sneaky play this week too. I think Miles Sanders has the most to gain from this weather in the Eagles-Jaguars game. But that's the worst weather of the day, by the way. Is this Eagles-Jaguars game is the worst weather of the day. That over-under has dropped 3.5 points because of it. But that doesn't hurt Miles Sanders, I don't think. And they're still 6.5-point favorites against the Jaguars. So I don't hate Miles Sanders at all. I would play Bateman over Ayuk, yes. Hall, Gibson, Stevenson, Pierce, Dillon, Pollard, PPR. Yeah, it's gotta be Dillon. I'd go Dillon in this one. Josh Allen or Herbert. Yeah, Josh Allen's my number 1 QB this week. Start Josh Allen. Let me pull up my QB rankings on the YouTube live. Again, you can come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You get a little bit more info. Top 10 rankings, every position, all my picks against the spread, DraftKings lineup, all on the screen. Godwin snap count. See, I think so. I think it's just a logical thing to do. And I thought that back in week 1, and that wasn't the case. And that ended up being a big mistake by the Buccaneers, not putting him on a snap count. So maybe they learned from that and they put him on a snap count this time, especially with Julio Jones being active, Mike Evans being active, Russell Gage likely playing this week. So yeah, I won't be shocked if we see Godwin on a snap count, and therefore he can't be trusted. He can't be trusted in your starting lineups this week. Gibson or Brees, I would lean Brees. DJ Moore or CMC if he plays. If not, DJ Moore's a good backup, obviously. Josh Reynolds or Dillon, I'd go Dillon over Josh Reynolds. Hey, Sam, hope you're doing great on this NFL Sunday. I am, man. I am doing fantastic. Love having a London morning game. I love being on London time, honestly. Even more reason to get up in the morning, early in the morning on Sundays. And for flex, Lockett, James, yeah, I'd go Lockett. I really like Lockett this week. CMC is a game time decision. Should I just go ahead and flex Breece Hall to be safe? Only other options are Jacobs or Wilson if CMC is out. Yeah, I would go with Jacobs as a really good backup option. I think Jacobs is pretty underrated. He had 5 catches last week. He's getting plenty of touches. So yeah, I'm okay going with Josh Jacobs as your backup option. Keep CMC in. You can see it going either way, obviously. We don't know if CMC's playing. Taysom Hill, rushing touchdown. That's what I'm talking about, guys. This is why we play. This is why we play Taysom Hill. There were so many paths to Taysom Hill getting some points for us in the tight end slot this week. I'm so pumped. I started Taysom Hill in a couple different spots. There was no Alvin Kamara. There was no Jameis Winston. He hasn't thrown any passes, which is a little disappointing, but that must have been his 5th or 6th carry in this game. No other tight end, guys, is getting goal line carries. No other tight end's getting goal line carries. It's why we added Taysom Hill everywhere after week 1. And it's why if you were desperate at tight end, we started Taysom Hill early this morning. Love to see that. That's huge. That's honestly massive. Colossally massive TD for Taysom Hill, which takes the Saints ahead of the Vikings in this game. I think they're going to go for 2. So it's 2019, what I'm seeing. That's a huge dub, guys, for everyone that started Taysom Hill. I wonder if anyone that did is still in this live. Have the app, and I put noties on. Thanks, man. But could really use your help. Julio, Dotson, Michael Carter, or Gallup. Yeah, I think you go Carter. I would go Carter, I think, over. You can't start Gallup. Didn't Schefter say CMC is likely to play? So the last Schefter thing was that CMC is going to test out game time. That was that he wants to play. But he is not definitely playing. So Mark Ingram is hurt. Oh, I didn't even realize he got hurt. Oh, I guess he came back in, though. So, yeah, hopefully he didn't start Mark Ingram. We were on the money with this game. We started Taysom. We started Chris Olave. Both scored touchdowns. We benched Mark Ingram. No touchdown. Matty Taz, man. How's it going, man? Love to see you in the live. Hope all is well. CEH Hunt or Jeff Wilson, my decision day, or Juju, I guess. Yeah, honestly, I would go Hunt, Matt. We saw it in week 1. Kareem Hunt can win you weeks. And this is a week where you want pieces of this Browns rushing attack. The Browns have the number 1 offensive line this week. They have the number, I think, 4 offensive line, like overall. But against the Falcons this week, they are the number 1 O-line in week 4. They're going to just stampede the Falcons. It's a dome game, too. You don't have to worry about the weather. I think Clyde is a walking landmine. I think Clyde could score as close to 0 points any given week. He's barely played this season. He scored a lot of touchdowns. Clyde is number 4 in fantasy points per game, but I wouldn't even put him in my top 18 like rest of the season. So, yeah, I personally would go with Hunt over Jeff Wilson, over Clyde. Hey, Sam, just woke up and saw Kamara is out. Yeah, Andrew, brutal, man. Your name's early. You got to wake up earlier than that, man, when we're on London time. You got to know we're on London time on this Sunday morning. Should I start Brees, Dillon, Godwin, or Romeo Doubs at flex? Yeah, I would go Dillon. Again, this is a really good matchup for Dillon. The Patriots are 9.5-point underdogs. They are massive underdogs. They're automatically losing this game because they're starting Brian Hoyer, who's a bottom 5 backup quarterback in the league. He could be the worst backup quarterback in the entire league. He is closer to an offensive coordinator than he is a quarterback. Brian Hoyer is 37 years old. He is 37 years old. Brian Hoyer, you have to go back to 2015 to find a year where he averaged over 15 points per game. That was the only year ever that Brian Hoyer had any fantasy relevance. He is not capable of winning an NFL game at Green Bay. And that's obviously good for Dillon, who's going to be in the lead in this game and could easily score a touchdown or 2 against the Pats. Thoughts on Dameon Pierce and Najee Harris rest of year? Yeah, so Najee is a guy I'm relatively down on. He's continued to lack explosive plays, but the touches and the targets, more importantly, have continued to be there for Najee, which is why you have to start him every single week, because you can't bench Najee. You spend an early pick on him. He's getting 15 plus carries a game, 3 plus targets a game. But yeah, he doesn't have a single game over 14 points this season. Like, his ceiling, what is Najee Harris's ceiling in this offense when he's not going to break big plays? It's just like doesn't exist. Like, there's going to be so few games where he goes over 20 points because he's not going to score multiple touchdowns on this offense, and he can't break big plays. So I'm still a proponent of selling Najee Harris. I traded Najee Harris straight up for AJ Dillon after week 1. That one hasn't looked great so far. I still think that could easily pan out, though. Dameon Pierce, on the other hand, I do like Dameon Pierce rest of the season. He had 20 carries last week. I like him this week, too. Appreciate you, Sam. Lean heavily on WalterPicks for my leagues, and the app had me in the money on FanDuel the last 2 weeks. Joe, that's what I'm talking about, man. And honestly, like, our goal with the WalterPicks subscription is to return enough value that it pays for itself. Like, that's ultimately, right, the value prop of the WalterPicks app is you can use especially the most premium subscription for DraftKings and FanDuel advice. We actually have pro DFS players helping us with our DraftKings and FanDuel advice this season. It's not just Walter. So love to hear that. I've been cashing on DraftKings also the last couple of weeks. I haven't been and I'm playing in the tournaments. Like, so I was cashing, not even feeling good about it because I wasn't near the top of the prizes, but like, at least I made more than I spent. So like, that's always a good week in DFS. Khalil Herbert or Pierce? I'm going Herbert, man. I like Khalil Herbert a lot this week. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's more talented than Jamal Williams, but I still like Jamal Williams' situation more and his offensive line more. So I like Jamal Williams more than Khalil Herbert, but I like Khalil Herbert as a top 10 option this week. Pick 2, Hollywood Brown, Devonte Smith, Kirk, or ETN. Yeah, I would go Hollywood. and Christian Kirk. Zay Jones out too. This was a late notification that Zay Jones is out this week, which was not expected. And yeah, I'm seeing some stuff on Twitter about like letting people take Alvin Kamara out of their lineups if they had him in. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you started Alvin Kamara this week, I mean, that's on you. And maybe that's how people felt about my veto trade this week too, but that's a whole different situation. There's an injury before and after the trade. Totally different situation. If you started Kamara, like that's on you, man. You got to know we're on London time this morning. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Drake London, Devonte Williams, Deontay Johnson. Yeah, I'd go Drake and Deontay, I think, over Devonte Williams. And I like Devonte Williams a lot too, but I'm not benching Drake London this weekend. I think Deontay Johnson's just such a safe floor, man. He's got one of the safest floors of all receivers. Should I start Pierce, Carter, Dillon, Jacobs at RB2 and Kirk, Gabe Davis at flex in a PPR league? Yeah, I would go AJ Dillon for sure at RB2. And I'd probably go Kirk over Gabe Davis in the flex too. Start Hoyer or Mahomes. Actually, though, Patterson, James Robinson, or Juju at flex. PP. Yeah, it's so easy to hate on Hoyer. Like, I feel honestly a little bad saying that the Pats are auto L this week, but you guys know you won't find a more pessimistic Pats fan than me. And like every season, I go into the year being like, please, my only wish as a Pats fan, ever since we lost Brady, really, I've been saying this every year. My only wish this season as a Pats fan is I don't want to watch Brian Hoyer play. I don't want to watch it. It's bad. It's not fun. It's horrible. They're automatically going to lose. He can't move the ball. So yeah, I think I'd go Mahomes in this one. Actually, though, Patterson, James Robinson, or Juju at flex. Yeah, I'd go Robinson. I think I'd go James Robinson over Patterson, over Juju. Again, I'm nervous about James Robinson this week, similar to why I was nervous about DeAndre Swift a couple weeks ago. It's because of an injury. And this is like a lot of people in the TikTok comments like, what do you mean bench Patterson? He was beast last week. It's like, same thing with Swift. I don't feel good about benching Swift. Swift's a beast. But when these coaches are talking about the injuries, you got to listen. And you got to react to this new information about these new injuries. This is a new injury for Cordova Patterson. It's a knee injury that's supposedly causing him some pain. He's going to have to play through pain if he plays today, which he is playing today. And all of that tells me that it's likely Cordova Patterson doesn't see his full workload today. Like that logically concludes that, yeah, Cordova Patterson's dealing with a small injury. All right, let's not give him 17 carries this week. Let's just give him 10 to 12 carries if he's going to play. So that's what I expect for Cordero. That's why I'm benching Cordero in a lot of spots. I would play Kareem Hunt over Pierce. Again, there's no better offensive line matchup this week than the Browns versus the Falcons. So yeah, you got to start Chubb, and I think you got to start Kareem Hunt as well. Vikings are marching, by the way. Saints did get the 2-point conversion, so 22-19. We could have an overtime game on our hands in London. 6:50 left in that game. I will continue keeping you guys updated on that game if you aren't already watching it, which I assume most of you are probably watching the game. It's on NFL Network. Pick 3 PPR: Patterson, Jeff Wilson, ETN, Reynolds, Pierce. Yeah, I would go Jeff Wilson, Pierce, and then maybe Patterson in this one or Josh Reynolds. But I definitely play Jeff Wilson and Damian Pierce. I would play London over Devonte Smith as well. I know Devonte Smith's been a beast. I really like Drake London, though, in this matchup. And guys, Drake London's been a beast, too. Don't let Devonte Smith being a beast make you unaware that Drake London's been a beast. Drake London back-to-back games with a touchdown. He has 18 targets over the last 2 games. He doesn't have a game under 50 yards yet this season. Pretty tough drought there by Justin Jefferson. I think he's got to catch that one if you guys are watching the game. Hunter Dillon, since you are high on both of them this week, LOL. Yeah, I like Dillon more, I think, than Hunt, but it's definitely close. And I easily could see Hunt just exploding ahead of Dillon. But yeah, I feel a little bit better about Dillon. I think Dillon probably gets more touches this week, and he's also a much bigger favorite this week. It's not as good of an offensive line matchup. But guys, AJ Dillon, through the first 3 games, he's had at least 10 carries every single game, at least 3 targets every single game. He's minimum getting 13 touches in this game. But then you look at the spread, and they're 9.5-point favorites against Brian Hoyer. They get a 2-touchdown lead early in this game, and AJ Dillon could get 20 carries. Easily possible, and he could easily score multiple touchdowns. So yeah, I do like AJ Dillon still a lot in this game. And like AJ Dillon and Hunt, man, they're so similar, right? Like they're not the starting running backs on the team, both still really good, both still in really good situations, and both still playable in fantasy because they are so good and they still will split the work. Curtis Samuel or Kareem Hunt, yeah, I'd go Hunt over Samuel just in case McCaffrey somehow doesn't play. Andrew, it's very possible McCaffrey doesn't play. Very, very possible. And I know I have him as my number 1 running back on YouTube. And another TikTok live comment. Half these players are out. Of course, we're not starting them. Yeah, that's the point, man. I'm trying to just bring awareness to who is out. Like I'm not trying to sit here and pretend I'm a genius for telling you to sit Alvin Kamara or Amon-Ra St. Brown because they're out. I want everyone to know who's out so you don't start these guys because I see so many guys in the comments already. They started Alvin Kamara this week. And I separated out on TikTok this week too because like before I had the guys that are out and the guys that I think are risky all on the same list. I separated out the list this week just for you commenters complaining about me telling who is out. So all the guys I think are really risky this week. Clyde, Cordero, Mark Ingram, that was a huge dub. Ayuk, Allen Robinson, Allen Lazard, Darnell Mooney, J.K. Dobbins, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. I think all those guys are risky this week. There's a good chance McCaffrey doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, I would probably go with Brees over Pollard, over ETN. It'd be Brees or Pollard, though. ETN's really sketch. But hopefully McCaffrey plays. Again, guys, we're live on YouTube and TikTok. On the YouTube live, there's a little bit more info. My top 10 rankings, every position. My DraftKings lineup. My favorite player prop of the day, by the way, is Austin Eckler. Over half a touchdown. You can see that on the YouTube live. Goff or Stafford, I'd go Goff over Stafford. And Njoku or Muth, I'd go Njoku over Muth. I'd play Pitts over Conklin. Mondre's not a horrible backup option. I could see him catching a lot of passes from Brian Hoyer today. And again, the Pats are going to get crushed in this game. They're the biggest underdog of the slate. But yeah, hopefully CMC plays. But yeah, that's a good backup option. I got you, Rob. Appreciate you saying thank you. Pick 2 in PPR: Mike Williams, Drake London, Jeff Wilson, Herbert, or Breece Hall. It's got to be the first two here. Actually, I don't know. Herbert versus Mike Will is close, I think. I'm definitely starting Drake London. Yeah, maybe it's Khalil Herbert over Mike Williams as well. Mike Williams certainly has a high ceiling. But guys, these running backs have a much safer floor than these receivers. Again, we're live on TikTok, YouTube. YouTube, you get a little bit more info. Top 10 rankings, every position. And all my picks against the spread, just scrolling at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I'm posting daily content. And wow, the Vikings just got so bailed out by that pass interference. Was that a 4th down play? Was that 4th down? I can't tell. I don't know what down that was because my phone's covering it. But, pass interference, it looks like at the 1 for the Vikings, down by 3 points with only 4 minutes left to go. Hopefully that means we see some more Chris Olave catches in this game. Maybe some more Taysom Hill runs. 2 flex spots in my league. Pick 2, Marquise Brown, CMC, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Khalil Herbert. Yeah, so you need a backup option for CMC. I don't know which of these guys play later in the day. It looks like the Cardinals. So yeah, the Cardinals are playing the Panthers, so that makes sense. Yeah, so I would start CMC and Khalil Herbert. If CMC sits, start Marquise Brown. That's what I would do as a backup option. Dalton Schultz or Tyler Conklin. Since Dalton has been hurt, yeah, I'm still going Dalton Schultz over Conklin. Curtis Samuel or Drake London, got to be Drake London over Curtis Samuel. I like Bateman more than Cooks. I like Bateman a little bit less than Christian Kirk, though. There's no Zay Jones this week, and the Jaguars are big underdogs. Kirk's been so good. He's been so good, and Bateman doesn't quite have the same floor as Christian Kirk. I'm now seeing Bateman wasn't even in this question. I'm just thinking about Rashad Bateman. But yeah, I would play Kirk over Brandon Cooks 100%. Breece Hall, Jeff Wilson, Dameon Pierce. I would lean towards honestly, I think I would go reverse order here. Probably I would go Dameon Pierce. If it's PPR, I think you could go Breece. If it's not PPR, I'd go Dameon Pierce. All three definitely in play though. Who do I start? Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee? I'd go Higbee. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again on the YouTube live. Again, that's the link to the YouTube live. It's right in the TikTok bio. Clyde or Juju. I don't trust Clyde. And a rushing touchdown for Justin Jefferson, walks right into the end zone. Another vulture from Dalvin Cook. Brutal Dalvin Cook week if you start Dalvin Cook. But Vikings take the lead. I actually think the spread on this game was 4 points. I took the Vikings against the spread in this game. Could be a push in this one. Cortland Sutton or Marquise Brown. Yeah, don't bench Cortland Sutton this week. Sutton's in a complete smash spot this week. Everett or Njoku, Terry or Breece. I like Njoku this week, but not more than Gerald Everett. And then Terry or Breece at flex. I think I'll go Terry over Breece in the flex as well. Let me pull up my picks against the spread one more time. Again, I did have the Vikings. Did they hit the field goal? They missed the field goal. Oh my God. That's just brutal. That kicker definitely bet on the Saints against the spread. I mean, they're 4 point spread. They're up by 3 points, and you missed the extra point. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous Vegas movement right there. Dylan Herbert or ETN. Yeah, I'd go Herbert then Dylan. I like Herbert and Lockett a lot this week. Herbert's much safer than Lockett. Lockett has a really high ceiling though. But guys, Herbert is very talented. Really, really, really good running back. Like like maybe better than David Montgomery, good. And Montgomery is also really good. He breaks a lot of tackles. But Khalil Herbert's looked good every single time he's been out there. Yards created per touch. So on a per touch basis, he ranks 9th best in the league. He's the 3rd best yards per touch in the league. The dude is averaging 7.3 yards per carry. Obviously, that's not sustainable, and it's on a relatively small workload. But still, he had 20 carries last week, 169 yards, 30 points. He was the number 1 running back last week, guys. Khalil Herbert. I'm seeing Chris Olave questions. Guys, Chris Olave, the game's about to end. You got to be on London time on these Sunday mornings when there's London games. Dubs or Renfro. Renfro was not playing today, Liam. So definitely Romeo Dubs. Should I start CMC or not risk him and go ETN? Please help. No, Ryan. Start CMC. Don't risk ETN, but you got to have a backup plan for CMC. There's a very good chance CMC doesn't play. I feel like it's like 50-50, honestly, at this point. So very real chance CMC doesn't play. So you got to have a backup option. I think my favorite, like super deep backup option is Rachaad White, who they said they want to get him more involved for the Bucs, and they play in a night game this week. But I also don't hate, like if you need to, going Deontay Foreman. I would play Foreman over Chuba Hubbard. I like Foreman more than Chuba Hubbard. I think Foreman is a better bet to get the goal line carries. But yeah, you got to hope CMC plays, obviously. But yeah, have a backup option for CMC because he might not play. Everett or Pitts? I'm going Pitts, 100% over Everett. My only lock against the spread this week, by the way, it is the Lions, -3.5 against the Falcons. I know the Lions have a ton of injuries. No Among Us St. Brown, no DJ Chark, no DeAndre Swift. But guys, the Seahawks defense is so bad, and the Lions offensive line is so good. This is a really good matchup, I think, for the Lions offense still. Bad hands to the face, called an iffy DPI called, then a missed PAT to keep it a 3-point game. Yeah, I mean, ridiculousness happening in this Vikings Saints game. I can't believe they missed that extra point to keep them behind the spread. Again, my favorite prop today is Eckler to score TD. This is one you won't find in the WalterPicks app, though. I think we have around 10 props in the WalterPicks app this week too. But yeah, I do like Eckler to score TD. Eckler leads the league and leads all running backs in receiving yards, leads all running backs in receptions, hasn't scored a TD. People are down on Eckler. It's not going to be surprising if he scores multiple TDs today. Yeah, Jeff Wilson is a good backup if you have CMC. Thank you, Sam, for answering my questions. Have a great football Sunday. You as well, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got 15 minutes left on this live stream, and then I got to go tinker with my own lineups before kickoff. Is Jeff Wilson a good? Yeah, Jeff Wilson is a good backup play. Devonte Smith, Terry, or Garrett Wilson. I would lean towards Terry. And I know Devonte Smith, Garrett Wilson have been much better. I'm a little nervous about Garrett Wilson this week because he's going to be playing with Zach Wilson. We haven't really seen that yet. So I think all three guys are reasonable. There is some scary weather a little bit in the Eagles game that gets me off of Devonte Smith, though. Gainwell or Reynolds? I'm going Reynolds, man. I'm in on Craig Reynolds being a sleeper this week. I mean, it's not that hard to get there, right? You just look at how the Lions have used their running backs over the last couple of years on this coaching staff, and you notice that there's multiple running backs involved every single game. Despite DeAndre Swift being one of the most talented running backs in the league, we still see Jamal Williams have over 10 carries every single game. And so I think, yeah, Reynolds is going to see 10 plus carries this week against a really weak Seahawks defense behind a really good Lions offensive line. So yeah, you can get there with Reynolds scoring a touchdown. You can get there with Reynolds getting at least 10 touches in this game. I think that makes him a pretty good sleeper, and I like him more than Gainwell for that reason. Is the Eagles defense a good play for this week against the Jags? I don't love it. I don't love the Eagles defense against the Jags because the Jags offense has just been really good up to this point this season. I like Drake London more than Javonte Williams this week. Gabe Davis or Miles Sanders. I lean towards Miles Sanders. I think the weather helps Miles Sanders more than anyone else in that Eagles game. Again, I like London more than Javonte. Brees or Dameon Pierce in a half PPR. Yeah, half PPR is enough for me to go Dameon Pierce over Brees. I think PPR, you could definitely go Brees over Dameon Pierce. Lockett or Wilson. I like Lockett a lot this week. Thanks for the help, Deontay Johnson or Jamal Williams at flex in a PPR league. I still think Jamal is probably safer, but I have Deontay Johnson as my number 9 receiver this week, and I have Jamal Williams as my number 7 running back. So like both guys are definitely really good options. I personally like Lockett though a lot, and I like Deontay Johnson's floor a lot. Jamal Williams has a really safe floor too, though. Again, there's so many reasons to like Jamal against the Seahawks in this game. Just keep in mind, this Seahawks defense, which I think has played better than it actually is this season, just let Cordova Patterson on 17 carries set a career high 150 rushing yards last week. And now they're playing a much better offensive line in the Detroit Lions. Any first quarter over picks? Nah, I don't mess with any nonsense like first quarter overs, though. If I were to take a first quarter over, let's look at these spreads as they come across. Nothing standing out to me in any of these games yet. Devonte or Khalil Herbert. I like Herbert more than Devonte this week. Saints are marching, guys. Andy Dalton marching down the field right now. There is 2 minutes, 40 seconds left in this game over on NFL Network. Honestly, Texans, Chargers, first quarter over. Maybe I like that one. Or Browns, Falcons. I like that over just in general. Russ or Mariota. Yeah, I'm playing Mariota over Russ. I have Mariota as my number 6 QB this week, guys. Number 6 quarterback. He's at over 15 points all 3 weeks. But on top of that, his offensive line ranks 4th this week. And he leads all quarterbacks in red zone carries. He's got a pretty good chance each week at a red zone at a rushing touchdown. And you can't say that about most quarterbacks. I don't know what the Saints are doing. I guess this is a 3-point game, so running up the middle makes some sense. They don't want the Vikings to get the ball back, I guess. Bateman, Damian Pierce, or Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin at flex. I'd go Mike Evans. Yeah, I'd go Mike Evans. You can't trust Chris Godwin in his first game back. All right, guys, we're heading into the witching hour, the real witching hour. I know if you watch Red Zone, you got the witching hour in the fourth quarter of the early window, but this is the real witching hour where your fantasy games are determined. Wins become losses, losses become wins because of your start decisions over these next 40 minutes. I'm here to help you through those over the next 10 minutes. Please be Chris Olave. Oh my God, that was very close to a deep Chris Olave catch. Come to the YouTube live though. We always wrap up these live streams in the YouTube live. We go rapid fire in the comments. That's what we're doing over the next 10 minutes, starting 2 minutes from now. So if you're on the TikTok live, you're like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live. And I can pull up, the reason I do it on the YouTube live is it's easier to answer comments faster there because I can pull up the comments on the YouTube live and I can't do that on the TikTok live. It's nothing against you TikTok people. I love TikTok. Make sure you hit the follow button. I'm posting daily content on TikTok. I'm live, obviously, this entire live stream on TikTok. But come to the YouTube live for these final 10 minutes where we go rapid fire in the comment section. I've answered a lot of comments already, but I got some final steam here for these last 10 minutes to make sure we're making the best possible start-sit decisions. Ew, that was a disgusting pass from Andy Dalton. I think they're probably going to line up the field goal, but I don't know if they're in field goal range or not, honestly. That run up the middle to start this drive, I think, was pretty baffling. Bateman, Pierce, Mike Evans. Yeah, I'd go Mike Evans. And Njoku or Hawkinson, I'd go Hawkinson. Hawkinson is a top 6 tight end play this week. Hawkinson is one of the few safe plays at tight end. He's the middle. He's going to be running the middle of the field routes for the Lions against a horrible Seahawks defense. My biggest fear with Josh Reynolds, my biggest fear with Khalif Raymond, my biggest fear with TJ Hawkinson is that the Lions just run right over the Seahawks. That's why the Seahawks are, the Lions -3.5 are my lock this week against the spread, because I think the Lions offensive line is just gonna crush this Seahawks front seven. And if they get an early lead, I think we could see not very many pass attempts for Jared Goff. Sutton, Khalil Herbert, Najee pick 2. Yeah, this one's tough. I'm okay benching Najee, honestly, in this situation. Like, what is the ceiling for Najee Harris? It's just not that high. He doesn't have a game over 15 points yet this season. He can't break big plays. I play Khalil Herbert over James Conner. I would probably play Tannehill over Cooper Rush. I don't really love either of them. I'm playing Lamar. Or is this... Who's Jalen? Are you talking about... I don't know why I feel like you're talking about Jalen Hurts, maybe. Jalen Hurts? That's probably what you're talking about. Yeah, I would go Lamar over Hurts. Jacobs or Gibson at flex. I'd go Jacobs over Gibson. Craig Reynolds or Josh Reynolds at flex. Yeah, Andrew. If this is a PPR league, you probably should go Josh Reynolds. He did have 10 targets last week. If it's not a PPR league, though, I'm going Craig, man. He's my favorite sleeper of the week. Again, I already sort of walked through why I think he's going to be a good sleeper this week, but he's seeing minimum 10 touches against a horrible Seahawks defense. That's the gist of it. Juju or Lazard. I would lean Juju over Lazard. It's so tough to trust Lazard this week. Should I trade Mike Evans for one of the stud rookie wide receivers? I generally don't like 1-for-1 trades in the same position. Gabe Davis or Jamal Williams? I'd lean Jamal Williams over Gabe Davis. Godwin, Kirk, Amari, pick one full PPR. It's Amari. Bateman, Julio, Craig Reynolds at flex. Love to see Craig Reynolds getting some of these start sits, but no, we're not playing Craig Reynolds over Bateman. I would probably play Craig Reynolds over Julio, though. Njoku or Waller? I'd go Waller over Njoku. For sure, Garrett Wilson or Terry. I'm a little nervous about Garrett Wilson, and this one might come back to bite me because Garrett Wilson's very good. He's already shown he's very good. He's been dominating the targets, the air yards for the Jets, but it's Zach Wilson this week. Who knows what that's going to look like? So, yeah, I'd go Terry McLaurin. I just traded Kyler for Russ and Keenan. Yeah, it's a dub. Anytime you can downgrade a QB and add a really valuable asset like Keenan, huge dub. Full PPR, Dortch, Reynolds, Woods, McKissick. Dortch is not a guy you can trust this week because Rondell Moore is coming back, and that's going to eat into Dortch's targets. I would go Reynolds, then Woods, then McKissick. Sutton or Mariota, super flex. Yeah, you got to go. You got to go Mariota. If you're playing super flex, you need to play quarterback, I think, in that spot. 60-yard field goal attempt to tie the game, and it looks like that's good. He nailed it. That was a money kick, man. That looked good from the get-go. Will Lutz ties the game at 25 apiece after the Vikings missed an extra point to go up 4 points. They missed the extra point, 3-point game. Saints march down the field, kick a 60-yard field goal, tie game in London. It's a tie game in London. All right, we're in rapid fire here, so sorry for getting off track. PPR, Sanders, Hall, Gabe Davis, who's sitting? Gabe Davis is sitting. I'd play Garrett Wilson over Gabe Davis as well. Cooks, London, I'm playing London over Cooks. Reynolds, Dubs, I'm playing Dubs over Reynolds. Waller over Njoku. I'm playing Bateman over Devonte and Palmer. Mooney. This is the first question, Tyler, I've seen with Mooney. Honestly, go with Mac Daddy Hollins. There's no Hunter Renfrow again. We got to keep benching Darnell Mooney till he gets more than a few points. And he gets the Giants this week, and the Giants got torched by CeeDee Lamb on primetime in their last game. It's like that gave me some confidence about Mooney. But now, again, horrible weather game. Not horrible, bad weather game for the Bears. Rain, light wind. It's like the writing's already on the wall for Mooney. He's going to have another week under 10 points probably. So I'm playing Mac Daddy Hollins over Mooney. Hunt or Patterson? I like Hunt way more than Patterson. Hunt has the number one offensive line this week. Mike Williams, DK, Terry, Dortch, Rashad Penny, Clyde, pick 3. Yeah, so I'm not starting Dortch. So get him out of here. I'm not starting Clyde either. Get him out of there. And then we only have 4 guys left. And of those 4 guys, I'd probably bench Penny. I'd play Mike Will, DK, and Terry. Pick 2, Jamal, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm okay going Jamal and Deontay. It's either Jamal and Deontay or Mike and Deontay, I think. But Jamal is such a safe play, Sam, that I think you go Jamal and Deontay Johnson. You bench Mike Evans. Definitely bench Chris Godwin, who you just can't trust coming off the injury. So, yeah, I would bench Chris Godwin this one. CD, Herbert, Garrett Wilson. That's a solid 3 to start. I like Knox a little bit more than Conklin. I know Conklin's been much better than Knox, has much more targets than Knox this season. I personally think Knox has a much better chance at a touchdown this week, though. And at the end of the day, that is really what it comes down to at the tight end position when you're getting this deep into the tight ends. It's who's going to fall into the end zone. And we have Knox, who's in a 50-point over-under game, tethered to Josh Allen. And then we have Conklin, tethered to Zach Wilson, and what's surely a much lower over-under. So, yeah, I'm okay going Knox over Conklin. I think that process makes sense. Breece Hall, A.J. Dillon or Jeff Wilson. I'm going A.J. Dillon over Breece Hall, over Jeff Wilson. James Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Aaron Jones. Pick 2. Got to start Aaron Jones. I'm okay going with Antonio Gibson as well over James Robinson, but it's definitely close. Part of me, though, is just like this could be the last week for Antonio Gibson with Brian Robinson return looming. So I kind of want to get what I can out of him. Thanks, Big Dog. I got you. Eric, Jeff Wilson or Akers? Yeah, I'm not starting Akers over Jeff Wilson. I'd definitely go Jeff Wilson. Juju or Dubs at wide receiver 2? I'd go Juju over Dubs this week. Hollywood Brown's got to be played over Brandon Cooks. Guys, Hollywood Brown had 17 targets last week. 17. I mean, that is an asinine amount of targets. That is way more than he's probably going to get this week as Justin Jefferson ices the game with a really deep catch, just walking into Saints territory. I don't know if the Saints have any timeouts left, but yeah, that was like a 40-yard play for Justin Jefferson there that more or less seals the game. It's the tie game. They're definitely in field goal range, though they did just miss an extra point, so I guess we shouldn't consider it a lock for them to hit this field goal. I would go A.J. Dillon over Jeff Wilson. I would hold Hollywood Brown, but as the DeAndre Hopkins suspension comes to an end soon, I do think we're going to see Hollywood Brown see a lot less targets. Still valuable targets, I think, that he'll see deep targets in this offense, but not as many once DeAndre Hopkins returns. So that could be a case to trade him. Judy or Josh Reynolds, I definitely would go Judy. Allen Lazard, Richie James, Greg Dortch, or Josh Reynolds. Also, if CMC is out, Eno Benjamin or Rashad White. Yeah, I'd play Rashad White over Eno. I don't feel great about either of them, though. They both obviously have a really low floor, but we did hear Rashad White talked up a little bit from the coaching staff, from the offensive coordinator this week. As for your first question, I think Richie James or Josh Reynolds is the play. I don't really trust Allen Lazard. Yeah, let me pull up the wide receiver rankings. I'm seeing someone say I didn't answer their question. Let me see if I can get to that. Yeah, see Joel. Oh, here you go. Hunter Pierce. Yeah, I'd go Hunt over Pierce. Sam, should I trade Bateman and Ayuk for D? No, I would not do that. Yards, I wouldn't do that. Not only you're getting a 0 in your bench, like you're getting a hole in your whole lineup, in your whole bench until Hopkins comes back. But I also think Bateman could easily be just as good, if not better than Hopkins the rest of the season. Full PPR, choose one RB, one wide receiver, and a flex. Brees, Mondre, Dubs, Dortch, London, Sutton, McKenzie, and Hollins. You got to start London. You got to start Sutton. Those are your receiver and flex. And then I would probably go Brees over Mondre this week. Hawkinson over Njoku for sure. I played Lockett over CEH. And I would play Devonte over CEH and J-Rob too. So I'd go Lockett and Devonte Jamond. With this one, I would play Hollywood over Devonte Smith this week. Jimmy G or Justin Fields, you cannot start Justin Fields. I don't think you can start Justin Fields. As bad as Jimmy G looked, like Justin Fields has thrown the ball less than most quarterbacks have thrown it on average per game this entire season. It's just brutal. So yeah, I don't think you can start Fields. I'm okay going Zeke over Judy. Again, this is like more of a floor ceiling decision. Alex, do you want to go for the ceiling with Judy because his ceiling is much higher than Zeke's? Or do you want to go with the floor with Zeke? He's going to see another 15 carries, probably have a chance at a touchdown. Like he'll have one catch. I think he's had one catch, 15 carries each of the last 2 games. So that's like a decent floor. Obviously, that's a much better floor than what Judy has. Garrett Wilson or Terry? Yeah, I would lean towards – I personally have been leaning towards Terry on this live over Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson could be the guy when I do my recap of this Sunday morning live stream this week that I look back on and being like, why was I sleeping on Garrett Wilson so much? And it was because of Zach Wilson, but also the talent for Garrett Wilson is so much there. But yeah, I'm going Terry. I'm going Terry over Garrett Wilson. I'm okay going Terry over Devonte too. Again, I personally would go Zeke over Judy, but Judy has a higher ceiling than Zeke, in my opinion. All right, so it's 3rd and 9, and the Vikings run nowhere. Looks like the Saints are out of timeouts. 1 minute left. They're going to kick a field goal to try to win. They did just miss an extra point, though. So hold your horses. We do not know if this game's going to end or not. I like Goff more than Russ. I think we got to bench Russ until we see. I traded Eckler for Tyreek. Yeah, that seems pretty fair to me. I am a little bit nervous about Tyreek, though, without Tua. All right. We are live on YouTube and TikTok right now. I'm going to be wrapping up the live in just a minute here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. I'm live every single Sunday morning from basically when I wake up until 30 minutes before kickoff. And then I'm also live every Thursday morning, also posting daily content on TikTok, posting weekly content over on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the follow button on TikTok. Seriously, helps me out so much. The number one place you should go. If I didn't get to your start sit, and I tried to get to as many start sits as I could, I maybe answered 1,000 start sits on this live stream. No joke. But if I didn't get to yours, and I'm sure I didn't get to everybody's, the best place to go, you guessed it, it's the WalterPicks app. It's completely free to download in the iOS and Google Play Store. It is completely free to do start sit comparisons. It's completely free to analyze as many trades as you want. There are premium features in the WalterPicks app that do cost money. And by the way, that's the number one way you could support me, but you don't need to do any of the premium subs to get access to some of this free stuff. Vikings win, by the way. Well, I guess there's still 24 seconds left, but they're up by 3. So yeah, if I didn't get your start sit, head to the WalterPicks app, check it out. It will take into account your custom league settings as well. Guys, time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'll be back live, as always, on Thursday. I'll be posting my recap of this live, hopefully sometime tomorrow or Tuesday as well. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.